In a sterile hospital room, a desperate cry shattered the silence. I refuse to die, I need to live. Kim Yisak's chart revealed a medical anomaly, a terminal, unheard-of curse. The doctor's face went pale. "They'll name this plague after you." "My condolences," he muttered. Yisak froze, crushing the diagnosis in his fist. A final verdict, 6 months of life remains. Stepping out into the sea of people. Yisak wandered like a ghost, his mind reeling. "This can't be happening," he gasped. As the traffic light flashed, red bitterness consumed him. I slaved away like a mindless drone. Things were finally getting good, and now it's over. Dazed, he stumbled into the chaotic traffic. "Hey, move, you're gonna get hit," someone screamed, but time had already run out. Yisak hit the pavement, coughing out a jagged breath. "Just a few months left. It's a joke. It's a total scam." He clutched his lottery ticket, the jackpot winner on the day he was dying. Slumping against the freezing asphalt, he choked out, "I'm not ready. Please, I want to live." Rain and tears soaked his winning ticket as he made a final desperate plea. "Anyone help." With his dying breath, he howled, "Save me," the universe answered, but with a twisted catch. "Now a literal pile of bones," he groaned. "I asked for life, but not like this." "Stuck in a void," he grumbled, "a bald skeleton. Seriously, I can't even enjoy a meal now." Suddenly, nightmares lunged from the shadows, glowing red eyes fixed onto the lone bag of bones. His first trial began. "You're all dead meat," Yisak bellowed, unleashing a massive broadsword. He dived into the fray, his blade painting the ground red with every brutal swing. Then, danger sparked. He spun just as a hulking beast lunged its claws, ready to shred him. Yisak met it with a lightning-fast bash to the jaw, launching himself high into the air. He buried his steel deep into the beast's flesh. "Time to end this joke," he hissed. Pure annihilation swirled in his palm. "Begone!" The monster shrieked as Yisak locked onto his final target. Descending from above, he prepared the kill shot. A wicked grin stretched across his skull. The beast's death rattle shook the wasteland. As silence fell, a system chime echoed in his head. Rebel forces purged. It all started when he was summoned as a mere bottom-tier skeleton. He ascended, evolving into a legendary immortal lich. "Hail, the eternal sovereign," his subjects cried. He saved the demon race from the brink. "I'm bald as a rock, but I'm king," he mused. His minions cheered mindlessly. "All glory to the skeleton king, King Isaac." "It's Yisak, you idiots," he snapped. With a flick of his fingers, he vanished. "Later, losers. I'm taking back what's mine." His mission: slaughter everyone until he regains his human skin. Ready to defy the heavens, the Skeleton King marched to confront the gods who played him. He stormed the celestial halls where the gods sat in luxury. Yisak didn't hold back. "Job's done. Now make me human, like we agreed." The gods stared in absolute shock. They never expected him to finish a 5-century quest in record time. However, Yisak smelled a rat. "I heard your little plot. Why the holdup?" he growled, losing it. "I've paid my dues," the lead god smirked. "How about just one more favor?" Yisak seethed. The realization hit. "Think I'm as hollow as my skull?" His eye sockets burned with crimson rage. "You think I'm some pushover gods or not, you're toast." Murderous intent exploded. "Hey, you scammers, you never planned on turning me back." Two goddesses trembled. "He knows," one hissed. "I told you this would happen," the other panicked. Hellfire energy swirled around the Skeleton King. Yisak flexed his immortal power, a force that terrified the gods themselves. "If I don't get my body..." The gods begged for mercy and more time. "Then you'll pay with your divine blood," Yisak roared. Yisak lashed out, cursing the traitors. "Time for you high and mighty jerks to join the Bone Club." Dark magic surged, blasting the gods off their golden thrones. The Skeleton King laughed at the chaos. But as he watched them scramble, he suddenly froze. He stared at his hand in total disbelief. "What is this? A freakish energy surge is stripping my mana and locking my limbs." Suddenly, a god's voice booms. "Pathetic." With a nasty sneer, the auburn-haired deity brandished a shimmering, holy relic. "Sign your name here and you're frozen forever, regardless of power." On a mystic centipede's back, forbidden runes glowed with malice. "Behold the pinnacle holy relic, calamity expulsion," the god proclaimed. "Now rot as an insect," Kim Yisak quipped. "Couldn't you pick a cool caterpillar instead?" the god scoffed. "Why focus on hair, you bottom feeder?" Suddenly, the relic erupted into a blinding, violent flash of light, shocking the deity. "You absolute clowns," Yisak spat, meeting their gaze with zero fear. "I'd rather go nuclear than live as a bug," he roared while volatile energy detonated from within. As the god panicked, he hurled one last curse: "Eat shit, losers." A massive explosion incinerated the Skeleton King. The savage shockwave pulverized the sanctuary. Blown back, a god cried out in total disbelief. "That psycho, did he seriously self-destruct?" Searching the wreckage, two gods located the centipede. One asked frantically, "Is he gone?" The Auburn god sighed. "The Demon King's soul should be sealed now." The deities converged. "Every fallen Demon King bolsters our divinity," one remarked. The Supreme God then declared, I'll craft the perfect vessel below to annihilate every demon. Don't worry about my path, he commanded. Select a worthy soul for the Saintess's host. He stared coldly at the bug trapped in his hand, picturing that prideful skeleton king. With a sadistic grin, he vowed, I'll torture him like a pest forever. My head. I must be losing it, played by those gods again. But why is everything so bright? Can't I shield my eyes because I'm an insect? And what's this warm, soggy sensation? Wait, hands, is this a human shell? Did those bastards fail, or did they just botch the seal? Suddenly a voice shrieked, Oh my, your holiness! A woman gasped. The saint has finally opened his eyes. He froze in confusion. The saint. While the woman hovered, the man beside her muttered darkly, Honestly, you're better off staying asleep. Are these my nannies? Am I truly human now? No choice then. The nannies traded wicked smirks. Forgive us, your holiness. I know you've just returned to us. But you need to sleep forever. With a twisted smile, the man shoved a milk bottle forward. Forgive me, but it's time for your eternal rest. He ruthlessly jammed the milk bottle into the infant's mouth. But the child wielding a demon king's iron will stubbornly looked away. The man panicked. Why aren't you drinking? Isaac fumed. No way am I swallowing that sketchy sludge. The nanny called young master Isaac Tilda. That name made Isaac freeze. He was stunned, Isaac. He remembered his minions always mispronouncing his name as Isaac. Did those divine idiots typo the seal? In the incantation. That's it. That's why I wasn't sealed, but reborn into this human body. Isaac mocked the brainless gods and roared. Now, a tiny powerhouse punch sent the bottle flying, leaving the man cursing. The nannies scrambled to restrain the baby while the man shrieked in terror. No help how is a baby this strong, forced to swallow that vile vegetable sludge. Isaac raged internally. Are you trying to kill me with this trash? I just became human. The infant's crimson eyes narrowed, sensing a disturbance. A dark aura was infiltrating his tiny frame, from the assassins posing as nannies. Meanwhile, at the Hela Empire's central holy temple, a crafty old bishop marched through the marble-paved halls. He wore a sinister smirk. That brat should be dead by now. Suddenly, a commanding voice shattered his dark thoughts. You're looking awfully joyful. Bishop Emperor Alexander Heathcliff Hela, of the Holy Hela Empire, appeared with majestic poise. The bishop's group bowed instantly. We greet the son of the empire. The emperor's eyes narrowed. Why are you here? The old bishop replied with a knowing grin. We're visiting the Eshwa family's saintess candidate. Alexander Heathcliff Hela let out a sharp scoff. You sound like her presence is such a heavy burden, he added, his voice dripping with suspicion. But we'll have a major crisis if things go sideways again. Just as the bishop prepared to dismiss it, a terrified scream pierced the air, jolting everyone. A maid scrambled over, gasping the news. Young master. Wait, young master, you're being too reckless. Boots thundered down the hall as the emperor kicked the door wide. His face was a mask of panic. What happened? The maid turned her eyes wide with pure, unadulterated horror. Young Lord Alexander Heathcliff, the bishop's smugness instantly withered, replaced by a look of absolute soul-crushing shock. The crowd gushed over the baby's squishy, adorable face. Meanwhile, the bishop stood there completely and utterly frozen. No way. He chugged 15 bottles of that nasty juice. A mountain of empty containers surrounded the crib. He growled in disbelief. That wasn't just healthy juice. See, just a few minutes ago. Kim Yisak felt a strange, surging heat flood his veins. This wasn't death. This was a total level up. A drop of toxic green sludge fell. They called it holy poison, a venom that rots divine power from within. Usually it destroys the body slowly. But for a former demon king, this demonic concoction, it was basically a gourmet meal. His inner skeleton self-cheered. Mana for me. This is a total win. This stuff is fire. The baby wailed for seconds, leaving both nannies looking absolutely terrified and confused. The male nanny smirked, thinking the poison hadn't hit yet. He kept feeding the child, playing right into Yisak's hands. Yisak was loving every second, low-key obsessed with how perfectly this new body absorbed every drop of mana. Fully charged, the tiny lord focused on his next move. He dove straight into his own subconscious world. Reaching the depths of his soul, he found his sanctuary. It was time to forge his first mana core. He locked in, compressing the raw magic he'd just swallowed. The energy started swirling like a violent hurricane. He crushed the power into a glowing orb, but then boom, a sudden mana surge nearly blew his mind. A mana core should be one of 3 primary colors. What the hell is this? Yisak stared, completely stunned. Why is it pure white? Then he realized the color didn't matter. The raw power in this tiny core was insane. A sinister winning grin spread across the baby's face. This level of potential was absolutely terrifying. This is way better than I expected. He gazed at the orb. If I play this right, I'll be a menace. His old name Isaac echoed in his mind. And with it came the one rule he lived by. Survive at all costs. Memories of the Skeleton King's despair flooded back, fueling his new determination. I even managed to bring back my legendary buffs and skills. His old school spells had successfully transferred over. Back in reality, the nanny whispered, "Is the brat dead yet?" The woman checked the body and shrieked. Her partner yelled, "Wait, he's still freaking alive." Suddenly, the baby pointed a finger and let out a tiny gurgle. The two assassins froze in their tracks. The kid flashed a wide, cheeky grin, basically demanding another round of that spicy poison juice. Emperor Alexander let out a massive sigh of relief. Thank God. But the bishop, he was glaring suspiciously. His eyes were searching for clues, making Yisak go into high alert. The bishop's gaze landed on the floor. He spotted the empty bottles, his suspicion growing. I can't let them catch on, Yisak thought. He immediately pulled out his ultimate weapon, a 10 out of 10 angelic smile. The bishop fumed, totally frustrated. He should be hacking up blood, not giggling. The bishop froze as the infant laughed right in his face. Flashback. The one who becomes the saint rules the entire empire. A voice echoed through the Holy See. What a joke, Cardinal Harry Barrett spat, disgusted by the low-tier nobles trying to hype their kids. The bishop smirked. Relax, we're taking out the competition. Barrett nodded coldly. Good. Very good. But then, the bishop dropped a bomb. A new saint candidate had appeared. From the house of Eshwa, Barrett's eyes instantly turned murderous. The bishop looked genuinely worried. The emperor's right hand, they're untouchable. Barrett slammed his golden chalice onto the floor in a blind rage. He'll be a corpse before you even arrive, he hissed. Just go and confirm the kill. I've already made sure of it. The saint belongs to my house. Barrett's evil smirk faded as the memory ended. Back in the present, the bishop was shaking. He was supposed to be dead. How is he still breathing? He was screaming internally. Suddenly, Emperor Alexander walked in. How very interesting. Look at that platinum hair, Alexander noted. Just like our empire's first founder. Don't you agree, Bishop? Yisak's eyes went wide. So, this is the big boss, the emperor. Alexander just smiled, looking totally smug. His aura outshines the Pope himself. The final saint candidate has arrived, and the revelation left Kim Yisak completely floored. A saint candidate impossible. The bishop's blood boiled as he realized the emperor was already falling for the brat's act. I must stop this, he hissed internally, stepping forward with a low bow. Your Majesty, I request permission to inspect the infant. Alexander's gaze remained cold. State your reason. The bishop stood firm, claiming something was deeply wrong with the boy. No normal baby gulps down vegetable juice like that, Alexander just shrugged. Since when is a saint's diet a mystery? Yisak wanted to facepalm. How could a literal demon king be mistaken for a holy saint? Yet the bishop refused to back down. I insist on an examination. But as he spoke, a sinister wisp of dark mana began seeping from the baby's small frame. Undigested demonic energy, Krap Yisak's heart hammered against his ribs as he realized he'd just made a massive, potentially fatal blunder. Am I busted? Dread washed over Yisak as the bishop's hand crept closer. Turning to the emperor, the old man's face went grim. I sense a foul demonic stench coming from this child. A wicked, triumphant smirk slowly stretched across the bishop's crooked lips. Suspicious, isn't it? Yisak cursed the man's entire bloodline. Sweat poured down his face as his mind raced. Does he actually know? The bishop went for the kill. This brat is a fraud. I demand a holy inquisitor be summoned to handle this impostor. Mind your tongue, Alexander barked, defending the child's holy status. But the bishop was ready, with a devastating political countermove. The Pope already chose the Barrett heir as the true saint. Alexander fumed at the church's absolute audacity. Disgusting. Meanwhile, Yisak connected the dots instantly. This wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a straight-up hit job to erase him. Fine then. Yisak shifted, bracing for impact. The bishop snatched him up, his voice dripping with arrogance as he barked orders. Bring the inquisitor at once. Suddenly, a powerful hand cut through the air, halting the bishop's scheme in its tracks. Alexander's royal aura flared. The Eshwa house is my most loyal ally. You will not lay a finger on them. Delay this inspection for another time. Crushed by the emperor's overwhelming pressure, the bishop was forced to yield and bow. As you wish, sire. The bishop's smile turned oily. Though I should mention my recent private audience with the Holy Pope. Alexander's face darkened. The church was delaying the prince's coronation until a saint was officially crowned. It was a clear threat. Pure political blackmail. The Vatican wouldn't validate his heir unless Alexander surrendered and accepted their puppet candidate as the saint. Listening in, Yisak felt a surge of pure annoyance. So that's their game. These holy guys are absolute petty trash. Forget being a saint, the risk is too high. One slip and his cover was blown. But the snake-like bishop wasn't finished. Let's test the boy now. Yisak gritted his baby teeth. Fine. If I'm human, this holy ritual shouldn't hurt, right? The bishop began his grand declaration. But mid-sentence, a heavy object slammed directly into his smug, wrinkled face. Before he could finish his threat about destroying demons, his jaw shattered. Disbelief colored his face as blood sprayed the floor. The perpetrator, baby Yisak, grinning like a menace. With blood on his tiny fingers, he hoisted his makeshift weapon high. Eat this, you old hack. Let's see how you handle a baby's wrath, the bishop shrieked, clutching his ballooning cheek. How could a simple bottle hurt this much? Suddenly, a blinding radiance began to erupt from the child's tiny hands. The crowd gasped in pure shock. That golden glow. It's divine power. The child really is the chosen saint. Wearing a manic grin, Yisak swung the radiant bottle with legendary force. He giggled innocently while raining down absolute holy destruction. Internally, he was roaring, "Catch these holy hands, old man." A brutal storm of strikes hammered into the terrified bishop. Golden arcs sliced through the air. As he was pummeled, the bishop's eyes widened. This isn't faith, this is pure, raw mana. Alexander's eyes sparkled with pride. Look at that magnificent light. Meanwhile, Yisak began channeling energy for the finishing strike. Time to overclock this bottle with magic, Yisak thought. I'll end this clown while maintaining my cute baby cover. You little monster, what are you doing? The bishop snarled, though the onlookers completely misinterpreted his desperate, terrified screams. They thought he was praising the divine power. But Yisak noticed something weird every time his demonic core flared up. A trace of holy light answered it. Strange. Hellfire and holy light shouldn't be able to occupy the same space. It's that white core of mine. Across from him, the bishop was trembling, his face twisted in a mask of agony. Reaching his breaking point, the bishop slapped the bottle aside and screamed a desperate accusation directly at the emperor. This boy is a heretic. We must perform a violent exorcism right now. The bishop's frantic plea hung in the air. Alexander just stared at him with pure disgust. You pathetic snake. Gagu Yisak giggled, though his thoughts were far darker. I wasn't going to do this, but you asked for it. His tiny hand pressed against the bishop's chest. Suddenly, a pulse of violet corruption erupted. Well, well, look at the dirty little secret you've been hiding. Yisak extracted a shriveled demon limb. Clad in bandages and a golden rosary, the bishop stood paralyzed, icy sweat, drenching him as his dark truth surfaced. Horror surged as he realized his totem, a high-level demon corpse sealed to feast on dark energy, was out. How can this brat know about my totem? He panicked, met only by Kim Yisak's bone-chilling smirk. Terror twisted the bishop's features. He tried to bolt, but a demonic claw violently jerked him back. Watch carefully, you scum, the child's voice echoed mentally. This is the price for annoying me. Behold your karma. Suddenly a geyser of void-black demonic energy exploded from the totem. A finger snap echoed. Arg, a demon, impossible. The bishop's frantic shriek pierced the air. A massive shadow loomed. Time to defend yourself, you filthy amateur, Yisak chuckled with pure malice. The emperor and his elite guard stood paralyzed, gaping at the monstrosity that had just appeared. A dark lich here, Emperor Alexander's roar thundered. Bishop Martha Burritt, explain yourself. How dare you unleash a demon in this sacred temple, the bishop stammered. It was the brat. He threw it. How can a seal just break? Alexander barked. Troops, shield the young master from that beast, and seize that traitorous bishop. A guard lunged, snatching Kim Yisak from the bishop's trembling grip. Yisak smirked inwardly. Idiot, you fell for it. The shadow lich materialized right in the middle of the formation. Curious, Yisak wondered how the bishop would cope. Instead, the shadow entity hissed a singular, chilling order. Slaughter, slaughter, it shrieked, locking onto its prey. Kill the saint. Yisak froze in utter disbelief. Stunned that his own summon was hunting him, Yisak watched as the lich lunged straight for his throat. The terrified guard clutched him tight as knights charged, ready to lay down their lives for the heir. I have the child. Why is it coming at me? The guard screamed. Yisak simply closed his eyes. The knights should handle this, Yisak mused, just as a warrior was sent hurtling through the air. A helmet tumbled away, revealing a grinning skull. It's undead, the guard shrieked. Meanwhile, the lich kept screeching, execute the saint, while other demons howled. Rescue our imprisoned king. Yisak sighed as the guard faltered. Fine, I'll deal with this myself. His crimson eyes ignited with power. Nobody will notice a little magic in this chaos. The lich lunged, making the infant mentally groan. Why is everyone out for my blood again? Yisak glared. You dare attack the one who summoned you. Behind that infant face, Yisak's eyes burned with royal fury. His true soul let out a silent roar. You mindless pests. The lich froze, sensing the nightmare before it, the skeleton king. Back in the real world. Yisak blinked in confusion. Suddenly, a blinding pillar of holy light erupted from his tiny frame. The divine flare blasted the shadow back. Alexander and his men stood speechless at the impossible display. The lich wailed as the sacred radiance vaporized its form, turning its shadow body into literal ash. It's retreating, a guard yelled as the monster fled the holy pressure. A wave of awestruck whispers followed. That was pure divine energy. Master Yisak banished a high demon. Amidst the cheers, an official cradled him. Truly a miracle child, the man beamed. Meanwhile, Yisak stared at his own tiny hands, completely baffled. Wait, is this actual holy power? Suddenly the realization hit him like a freight train. Wait, no. I'm bone dry. A terrifying thought crossed his mind. Is this body literally turning my mana into divinity? As Yisak spiraled, the restrained bishop continued his desperate screaming. Release me at once, you imbeciles. He pointed a trembling finger. That infant is a heretic, a parasite infesting our sacred land. Your Majesty, let me prove it, the bishop begged. I will strip away his mask with an exorcism. Silence. Alexander's voice cut like a blade. You dare slander a candidate for sainthood. His eyes narrowed dangerously. I won't tolerate this even if you serve the Holy See. The bishop froze, realizing he was truly trapped. He gnashed his teeth in fury. If the emperor kept digging, they'd uncover the truth about the intruder. Collapsed on the floor, despair turned into venom. To save my family, I'll do whatever it takes. Decision made. A massive glowing wolf spirit erupted as he screamed, Die Yeshua family, die with me. Saint Candidate my foot. The golden beast lunged, aiming its fangs directly at the emperor and the child. Alexander growled. Finally, the rat shows his true face. Inside, Yisak just watched with pure cold contempt. Does he seriously think this pathetic toy can end me? But as the toddler braced for impact, a cold realization struck. Wait. Looking at the snarling wolf mirrored in his panicked eyes, he realized his mana was bone dry. Then, out of nowhere, a jagged bolt of frost-blue energy shredded the air. The spirit wolf shrieked in agony, completely crushed by a mysterious, overwhelming force. A chilling voice sliced through the gloom. Who dares lay a finger on a direct descendant of House Eshua? Blue fabric billowed in the wind. An imposing figure emerged from the freezing mist. The emperor gasped in disbelief, lamped in. Those are the knights of the Eshua clan. A silver-haired man approached with an icy, suffocating aura. It was him, the seventh son of the legendary Eshua family. Riley Eshua didn't hesitate for a second. He pointed a lethal finger at the attacker. Execute that bishop. Now. As the guards grabbed him, Kim Yisak thrashed wildly. Get off me. Don't let those filthy Eshua hands touch me. Suddenly he froze. Wait. Eshua Riley hoisted the toddler up with a stern gaze and commanded, Stay quiet. As the name echoed in the kid's mind, a sea of Eshua knights dropped to their knees, roaring a thunderous welcome to their young master. Riley glanced at the boy. Sorry, I'm late, Isaac. A nearby official watched in silence, secretly awestruck by their absolute authority. Riley flashed a rare smile. It's nothing big, but we brought a little something for you. One knight peered in, half expecting a shimmering gold bar. With a proud grin, he unveiled the surprise. It was a model of the decapitated skeleton. King Isaac stood there speechless as a whole collection of gruesome films appeared. From the skeleton king being burned alive, to him getting crushed by the saintess, Isaac was traumatized because they looked oddly adorable. Tears streamed down the knight's face, moved by the boy's joy. Inside, Isaac was screaming, How am I supposed to survive this madhouse? Outside, the knights cheered, convinced their master was crying tears of happiness. Trapped in those giant arms, Isaac felt utterly helpless. He let out a heavy, soul-tired sigh. How did I end up in this lunatic family? Suddenly, his crimson eyes sparked with a sharp light. He whispered the name. Eshua, wait, Eshua. Suddenly, memories flooded back the face of the saintess who had come to end his life. It was crystal clear now. He remembered the declaration of war from the 45th saintess of the Eshua bloodline. Then came the roar of the 61st saintess Ox Eshua. Every single one of his arch-nemeses. They all carried the name Eshua. Isaac panicked. Damn it, I reincarnated into the saintess's family. What kind of karma is this? He cursed his luck as Riley stared ahead with ice in his eyes. Suddenly, an old bishop began shrieking like a maniac. Heretics! Where did you find that thing? He screamed, pointing a trembling finger at Isaac. I'll expose you all. The Eshuas have lost their minds. The bishop raved, completely oblivious to the danger. Riley had already unsheathed his blade. The bishop's final curse about ending the Eshua bloodline was cut short by cold steel. One swift, merciless strike silenced the man forever. Riley casually sheathed his sword, his expression unchanged. Be grateful for Eshua's mercy, Riley muttered to the corpse. At least your head stayed on. Isaac couldn't help but smirk. Killing someone just for this guy has some serious backbone. Beside him, a knight tried to soothe the scared baby. Young master should only hear beautiful things, as Isaac internally called them, psychos. He glanced at the skeleton toy. The blue Eshuas. He remembered they were powerhouse legends. The knight even started humming a bone-chilling nursery rhyme. Isaac realized his old minions weren't exaggerating about these freaks. Right then, Emperor Alexander stepped forward. It seems I'm in this child's debt. The emperor locked eyes with Riley and dropped a total bombshell. Tell your lord the imperial palace will be raising this boy. Riley stood there completely stunned. Your Majesty, you've got to be joking. Meanwhile, Isaac was feeling pretty smug. Wait, am I getting scouted by the emperor? Alexander explained that the Holy Kingdom would hunt the boy down. No matter how strong the Eshuas were, could they actually keep him safe? The emperor's question hung heavy in the air as he listed the coming threats. The Pope would never approve, especially since Isaac's hair was a sacred symbol of the Holy Kingdom's founders. Plus, apparently the Skeleton King was hunting him. Isaac froze. Wait, I am the Skeleton King. Why would I hunt myself? An official chimed in, refusing. Your Majesty, he's an Eshua. He belongs with his own kin. Riley pulled Isaac closer and declared, whether it's the Pope or the Skeleton King, House Eshua fears no one. The Emperor smirked. If the Skeleton King ever shows up, I'm sure the former Saintess Melissa would be thrilled. Isaac's head spun at that name. Riley stood firm. There's no way I'm handing over Saintess Melissa's direct descendant. Isaac's world shattered. Melissa. She was the most terrifying, unhinged saintess he had ever fought in his past life. Before he could even dream of godhood, reality dealt him a fatal blow. He was the direct descendant of his greatest enemy. How did my life end up like this, and what exactly is a saintess? Basically, they're divine nukes forged by the gods themselves. After the Holy Nation failed to stop the Skeleton King, these women became their last hope icons of the front lines. Everyone believes they're destined to slay the Skeleton King, but the truth is way messier. See that king. He's a total monster with zero mercy. Yet looking back at his memories, he never actually laid a finger on a saintess. Doing so was a trap since the gods would just send a more broken successor. This realization hit the kid like a freight train. Saintess Melissa, his most terrifying nemesis ever, was actually his own ancestor. Relai Eshwa just beamed with pride, totally clueless that the baby in his arms is the very enemy his family is sworn to hunt. Emperor Alexander just watched in silence. While Relai bragged about the Eshwa family's elite protection, a junior knight suddenly cut in. He started glazing the martyred Melissa, making Kim Yisak scream internally, "I never killed her, you idiots." The fake news rumors kept spreading, and Yisak was trapped in his own head trying to debunk them. "It's okay." Relai cooed, trying to soothe him, but Yisak was drowning in pure despair. "I am definitely not okay." The man picked the boy up with a warm smile. "We're so glad you were born, and we only have one wish. Just don't grow up to be like that absolute trash Skeleton King." Ouch. Talk about a backhanded blessing. Those words felt like a hex bringing back trauma from his past life as a boneheaded tyrant to haunt his innocent mind. He could only offer a silent apology to the parents he never knew. "My bad for being a villain." Alexander kept talking business, noting that 150 years had zipped by. Yisak did the math, and figured Melissa should have died of old age long ago. Meanwhile, the Emperor ranted about the rising demon threat. A kid with holy blood is a high-tier asset for the Empire. Plus, the Eshwa family is currently out of saintesses. Alexander dropped the ultimate bomb. The boy's mother vanished a year ago. Yisak felt like he'd been struck by lightning. The truth was wild. His mom was a saintess. Relai quickly jumped in to say the boss lady was still alive. As Yisak tried to process this absolute mess, the next name he heard was a literal nightmare. Lady Melissa is coming back soon. Alexander joked about her cheat code lifespan, but Yisak was losing it. His worst nightmare was still alive and well. Panic set in. He knew better than anyone how lethal Melissa could be. To survive this mess, his tiny hand moved on instinct. He grabbed the Emperor's finger tight. Yisak activated his max-level acting, giving him the puppy eyes. "Please take me." Alexander's cold heart totally melted. The Emperor gloated at Relai. "See, the kid wants to live at the palace too." Relai just sighed. "He's just being clingy, sire." But Alexander kept pushing. "The Eshwas are great at training saintesses. But when it comes to a saint, you're total noobs." Relai snapped back. "He's the first one ever. Your palace doesn't have a clue what to do." The debate turned into a petty tug-of-war, making the subordinates freak out. "The young master is going to snap in too." Facing actual death, Yisak screamed in his head. "I'm going to the palace. I don't want to die." Suddenly, a warm surge of life energy was flowing right out of the Emperor himself. This was his ticket out. "I'm not missing this boat," the kid vowed. The Emperor smirked, as if he'd heard the kid's choice. But in that exact moment, a shiver ran down Yisak's spine. Miles away, a disgraced bishop was begging for his life under the cold moonlight. "I'm innocent," he wailed. "That thing used mana. It's a demon tool." A cold voice hissed from the dark. "Are you suggesting the gods would bestow power upon a lowly demon?" The old man wailed in terror. "But it was mana, I swear." A blade touched his face as the mysterious leader slowly whispered. "The Holy See has a specific name for those words." A flash of steel silenced the bishop forever. Blood sprayed the cardinal's face as he muttered blasphemy, ignoring the mess. He gave the order. "No hit squad needed. Let the Emperor take the kid, then we strike." Inside the cozy palace room, Yisak suddenly shuddered. He could feel a lethal threat waiting for him. Deep in a dark forest, hooded priests huddled together, weaving a wicked plot. The leader barked, "If the Emperor wants the kid, fine. We'll just target him inside the palace walls." Their murderous intent practically reached Yisak. This time, there would be no escape. As the sun rose on a new chapter, Yisak lay in his crib, replaying his life-altering choice. "Destination Eshwa," he declared, leaving his sobbing undead legion behind in a sea of grief. What sparked this? Just days ago, a blinding radiance exploded, sending waves of pure terror through the witnesses. Emperor Alexander stood frozen as divine light pulsed from the infant, while a grim official barked a warning. He claimed House Eshwa was a viper's nest. Reli Eshwa merely smirked at the ruler, his voice dripping sarcasm. "You think we only stockpile mana shards and monster carcasses?" The Emperor realized this was their key to survival. Reli dropped his ultimate bombshell. Their crown jewel was the actual corpse of the legendary Skeleton King. Yusak's jaw hit the floor. My literal body. You have it, he screamed internally as Relly grabbed his hand. Relly gave it a thoughtful squeeze, oblivious to the baby's crisis. Should have led with that, honestly. Then, suddenly, Yusak pointed a tiny finger at Relly, flashing a dazzling baby grin. The choice was made, destination Eshwa. Relly the man of iron turned into absolute mush, stuttering out the child's new name, Isaac. Back in reality, Yusak sat in the carriage weighing the cost. Saying goodbye to palace luxury was necessary. It was the only path to his original form, a vessel of pure mana and nightmare-inducing power. A physique capable of humbling actual gods. His survival instinct screamed that this was his one true shot. Sticking with Relly was his lifeline. Meanwhile, a loyalist whispered, "Why is the church still hunting the young master?" Relay let the truth slip. The gods had dropped a prophecy that changed the fate of the world. The saint was destined to be adopted as a child of divinity. Yusak blinked. What kind of plot twist is this? If the saint became the pope, they'd wield absolute authority as the supreme king of priests, commanding holy knights equal to the emperor. This threatened the Barrett family monopoly, igniting a brutal power struggle. Their trek in the luxury carriage was smooth until an attendant burst in panic etched across his face. "Lord Relly, we've hit the duchy, but there's trouble." An armed squad was already blocking the city entrance. Standing firm, the captain gave a stone-cold glare. "My apologies, but entry is strictly denied today." Relly's temper flared instantly. "Are you blind? Take a good look at the Eshwa family crest right now." The guard's face twisted into a demonic sneer. "That's exactly why you're staying out." Shadows began to boil. Malicious entities clawed into reality, dripping with bloodlust. Their prey, the infant carrying the saintess's sacred blood, demons. Yusak was reeling. "I strictly banned raids on human lands. Is this the new Demon King's doing?" A demon general roared his voice, shaking the earth. "Orders from the top, every saint dies today. In the name of the great skeleton king Lord Isaac we strike." Yusak was absolutely fuming in silence. "I never said that, you idiots." Suddenly, a blue lightning bolt vaporized a demon before anyone could blink. The demon general recoiled in shock as Relly stepped forward. "You, that cursed holy knight." Relly's gaze was lethal. "Running your mouth in front of an Eshwa exorcist, death will be a mercy. Watch carefully." His hand gripped the hilt as radiant holy energy swirled, focused on protecting the innocent. Eshwa wipes out the darkness. Realize power exploded as he swore to hunt every last demon down, even to the pits of hell. Relay spat in disgust. That skeleton king is a real piece of work, sacrificing his own pawns just to cheat death. Cowardly, the demon horde erupted in pure offended rage. One monster lunged, screaming, "Mind your tongue, human." The entire demonic army roared in unison. They were ready to die. Never insult King Isaac. Everything for the Lord's resurrection. Nearby, an Eshwa knight unsheathed his blade, forming a human shield to protect the carriage behind him. A massive blast sent him flying, but he held the young master tight. "Hold on, little lord." Tucked under the knight's arm, Yusak's brain was short-circuiting. "Seriously, who is out here catfishing as me?" They bolted into the woods, seeking cover. The knight carefully set Yusak down on the forest floor. "Stay right here." A shimmering magic circle flared to life around the boy. Yusak raised an eyebrow. "A barrier." Yusak poked the glowing wall, impressed. Even a high-ranking demon would have a hard time cracking this shield. Not bad at all. But then a realization hit him. If nothing can get in from the outside, then nothing from the inside can leave either. Yusak shut his eyes. This was his chance to move. Survival mode activated. Release the mana. In a void of cosmic energy, the boy's voice echoed. "Heed my call." Whisper, a creepy specter with a jagged smile and piercing crimson eyes, drifted into existence. It bowed low, its voice dripping with reverence. "Oh, mighty sovereign, my eternal master." Kim Yisak cut the drama short. "Chill out. One more sound and the barrier guards will sniff us out." The spirit's excitement was palpable. "I truly feared your light had faded forever. Great one, it is an honor." This was Whisper, an automated tracking spirit Yisak forged back in the day to avoid the grunt work. "My lord, your cruelty remains unmatched. Truly taking over a helpless infant is a stroke of evil genius." Yisak stood there, stunned, his mind blank at the compliment. "Listen here, you little." The phantom's rage flared. "Those wretched gods actually dared to touch you, silent scout," the area Yisak barked. Crimson light pulsed from Whisper's eyes as it began a high-altitude scan mapping out the battlefield. Distance locked at 100 meters. The radar immediately pinged multiple hostiles in the vicinity. 88 targets confirmed. All demons, but don't worry, they won't reach you. Nearby, a masked fiend plotted. "If reinforcements arrive, our window closes. I must wipe them out before the Ashua clan catches wind." Yisak steeled his resolve, ready to burn through his mana. But suddenly Whisper's reading flatlined. "Wait, the count is plummeting. 51, 31. Targets are vanishing at an impossible rate." The source, Relay Eshua, and his elite knights were tearing through the demon ranks like a hot knife through butter. "Young lord, movement ahead," a knight barked. Relay didn't hesitate. "Form up, shields ready." The masked demons were being slaughtered with only 4 left standing. Finally, our reinforcement is here. A bloodthirsty vampire-type demon descended from the shadows. Join us. Today that saint dies by our hand. Hearing the word, Saint Whisper's gaze narrowed. It seems the stakes just got a lot higher. Without warning, a tidal wave of violet energy erased the remaining demons. Glory to the Skeleton King. The Eshua Knights froze, paralyzed by the sheer weight of the dark aura suffocating the air. All enemies eliminated. A Shadow Lich has entered the field, Whisper reported as a titan emerged. The colossal specter roared, its voice shaking the earth. You filth dare touch my king die. Inside his protective bubble, Yisak was panicking. What is wrong with this guy? He's way too extra. The Lich's red eyes burned with madness, its fury spilling out in a terrifying monologue. My king, my only lord, how dare these mortals trap your soul in such a pathetic tiny vessel? Loyalty had turned into a twisted obsession. The phantom let out a bone-chilling warning to the knights. Avert your filthy eyes from his majesty, or I will tear them from your skulls. R'lyeh was baffled. Yisak groaned, realizing the situation was spiraling. Great, now he's outed me as the Skeleton King. Knight's defensive stance R'lyeh commanded, unaware that Yisak was currently scolding his own subordinate. Yisak tried to tell the Lich to back off, but it came out as adorable baby gibberish. The knights were horrified, sensing the insane mana radiating from the infant. Just hang on, young master. They promised to protect him, but were met only with the demon's chilling, mocking laughter. Delirious with joy at being acknowledged, the Lich's killing intent exploded, nearly crushing the knights. Lord R'lyeh, it's going for the kill. I'm coming for you, master, the Lich screamed, bypassing the front line. R'lyeh's heart stopped. It's aiming for Isaac. That monster is going straight for the baby. You pathetic holy knights, how dare you cage my master in this pathetic bubble, the Lich shrieked. Yisak saw his chance. I can't let this mana go to waste. Break this damn barrier now. The Lich obeyed instantly, swinging its massive shadow scythe with world-ending force. The barrier shattered into a million pieces with a deafening roar. As you command, my liege. Finally, Free Yisak reached out and patted the terrifying monster. Good boy, he babbled. Now stop the drama and go to sleep. The Lich froze its mind, completely failing to process the order. My master, the legendary monster, stammered, looking like a lost puppy as it began to fade. Yisak's power flared, forcing the massive entity to shrink down into a tiny, harmless totem. R'lyeh could only stare in pure horror. Did that baby just turn a high-ranking demon into a toy? Demonic Hand a Knight roared, his eyes wide with shock. He turned a demon into a totem instantly. Is this kid for real? The Azure Knights erupted in cheers, but Kim Yisak smirked inwardly. That wasn't holy power, idiots. It was pure magic. Riley remained doubtful. Yet another knight piped up. Hey, true legends are always born in the heat of battle, right? He figured the beast sensed the kid's overwhelming pressure, forcing it to launch a desperate, suicidal frontal assault. Scooping the boy up, the commander declared to Riley, "This kid is a total saint, no cap." Riley brushed off the hype, but couldn't deny the truth. Saint or not, this brat was definitely built different. He clenched his jaw, dreading the Skeleton King's curse. Why a boy, though? Of all the possibilities. Suddenly, Riley's fist tightened as his gaze sharpened. All right, I've made my choice. The commander knelt, his voice echoing. As leader of the Azure Knights, I'll protect young Master Isaac with my life. The future of House Eshua rested on those shoulders. Riley nodded the oath, making his resolve ironclad. I get it now, he whispered to himself. I was a fool to let that Skeleton King's curse paralyze me. This kid will skyrocket our family's reputation, he murmured, reaching a hand toward the young boy. Riley hoisted Yisak up, grinning ear to ear. Let's head home, Isaac. Your uncle's gonna teach you everything he knows. I'll turn you into the ultimate holy knight, he vowed. Meanwhile, Yisak was screaming internally, just give me my body back. Riley promised to break the curse of his short lifespan, making Yisak completely freeze. Wait, what? Riley tossed him into the air, mistaking Isaac's terrified shrieks for pure childish joy. First lesson at home, how to trash talk, the Skeleton King Riley chirped, leaving Yisak absolutely stunned. Screw this family, Yisak cursed as the carriage rolled into the breathtaking Eshua estate. Massive statues and priceless art screamed wealth and power. Even for a former king like Yisak, the sheer opulence was staggering. Wow, Yisak breathed, staring wide-eyed out the carriage window. Seeing their riches triggered him, bringing back bitter memories of his past life where every penny was a struggle. He used to starve just to feed his men. Whisper chimed in, equally impressed, but Yisak snapped at it to zip it. Cradled by Riley, Isaac entered the legendary birthplace of the continent's most powerful exorcism magic. Feast your eyes, Riley boasted, pointing to the training grounds. What Yisak saw next was pure chaos. Knights were absolutely obliterating a Skeleton King dummy, their spears driven by raw, unbridled hatred. They hacked away, screaming curses at their arch-nemesis, as Riley watched with a satisfied grin. This is literally a cult, Yisak thought, horrified. He tried to stay calm, hoping this wouldn't ruin his plans. Whisper started teasing him again, but Yisak shut it down, ordering the shadow to resume scouting immediately. The shadow vanished with a smirk. Suddenly, the full, overwhelming scale of the Ashua Manor came into view. It was breathtakingly massive. Both Yisak and Whisper froze. There were thousands of mana cores used just for decor. The carriage halted. Riley stepped out and immediately barked orders to get Isaac's room ready. Riley wanted Isaac close, but the butler hesitated. He bowed, explaining he had orders to take Isaac elsewhere. Isaac was to be sent to the annex. The butler nervously admitted this was the fifth son's direct command. Isaac was banned from the main house. Riley snapped, clutching the boy. You want to dump him in that cursed hole. His fist trembled with rage at his brother's pettiness, but Yisak actually preferred the isolated annex. Whisper chimed in, reminding him of the prize. Master the jackpot, those mana cores are in the annex. Move it, Riley growled. No way, my nephew stays in that haunted dump. Isaac screamed internally. No, take me there. Riley ignored him, promising to read him bedtime stories about saints slaying the Skeleton King. Isaac was horrified. Is he trying to exorcise me? Suddenly, an arrogant voice boomed. So you brought home a stray bug. And now, it's making a scene, the man sneered. I already told you the brat stays in the annex. Goel Eshua, the fifth son, smirked. Long time no see, brother. Defying me already, how bold. Isaac just stared up, annoyed by this new obstacle popping up in the middle of their family drama. What a jerk, Isaac cursed. Goel barked again. Drop that thing and ship it to the annex already. Riley exploded. Are you for real? He's direct bloodline. Sending him there is basically exile. Despite Isaac's mental protests, Riley stood firm. Step aside, I'm performing the Skeleton King's exorcism ritual myself. In the chamber, Goel gripped Isaac's face with a sneer, mocking him for retrieving a literal bag of bones. Claiming he was grimmer than a Lich King, Goel hissed with pure malice, questioning if he truly carried noble blood. Riley yanked the boy back, his eyes narrowing as he wondered if this man was a holy priest or a thug. He hurled a sharp accusation, demanding to know why Goel wanted to brand this innocent child as a cursed omen. It was a clear move to sabotage his succession, leaving Isaac reeling as his grand ambitions were suddenly under fire. Disqualification was a death sentence. I need to bleed this estate dry to fuel my revenge against those gods. Goel chuckled, claiming the brat was already hexed since demons were hunting him, but a golden knight stepped forward. The knight argued the young lord was precious, radiating a saint's divine aura, which Goel found absolutely hilarious. Scornfully, Goel challenged them all, daring the saint to prove his worth instead of hiding behind pretty lies. As Isaac felt the pressure, Whisper hissed a chaotic idea into his ear. How about summoning a massive meteor? Smirking, Goel gestured toward a decaying landmark, the ancient withered tree that their family had worshipped as a holy symbol. With a sinister grin, he ordered Isaac to save that pathetic twig, the very emblem of their clan's prestige. That celestial tree was rotted by hellish corruption. If the boy was truly a saint, reviving it should be easy. Relly was paralyzed by the insane demand, while Goel secretly mocked the hopeless state of their ruined bloodline. Overhearing Goel's thoughts about Melissa's legacy falling into decay, Kim Yisak felt a surge of cold, biting irritation. Panic flared in the boy, and sensing his master's distress, Whisper chirped out, asking what had him so rattled. Screaming internally for the spirit to use its eyes, the boy snapped and launched Whisper straight at the monument. Relly was still mid-shout, protesting that the divine tree had been a lost cause for over 70 years. He barked that expecting a toddler to fix a 7-decade curse was beyond delusional and completely insane. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted, forcing both men to whirl around in shock as the impossible began to unfold. Vibrant emerald foliage suddenly burst from the blackened branches, restoring the ancient tree to its former majestic glory. A blinding radiance erupted as the tree breathed again, leaving Goel speechless that not even holy magic could save it. Kim Yisak flashed a subtle, smug smirk, watching the chaos unfold, with the satisfaction of a master puppeteer. It was light work. He'd simply spotted the demonic sludge choking the roots and ordered a thorough cleaning. While Whisper let out a satisfied spectral burp, a baffled knight rushed over to ask Relly how he'd done it. Stunned into a daze, Relly could only mutter that he hadn't lifted a single finger to help the tree. The knight's gaze widened, slowly turning toward the infant in Relly's arms as the truth hit was at Kim Yisak. Meanwhile, our little protagonist was mourning the lost mana, sighing over the power he'd just flushed away. Whisper offered to barf it back up, but their bickering was drowned out by the knight's thunderous cheers for Isaac. Goel's face twisted in denial, scoffing that a mere infant couldn't possibly possess such world-shaking divine power. He insisted there was a secret accomplice convinced that Relly was the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. Cornering his brother, Goel demanded the truth, accusing him of orchestrating the entire miracle just for show. Fury boiled over as Goel seized Relly's collar, roaring that he'd stolen the Saintess's power for a piece of trash. Amid the violent outburst, Kim Yisak observed them comparing these pathetic descendants to his legendary ancestor Melissa. This clan was a sinking ship, and he noticed that the eldest brother looked nothing like their noble matriarch. Yet Relly was her spitting image. A realization struck Yisak like lightning. They were actually half-brothers. He looks exactly like the Pope. As Goel continued his verbal assault, Yisak realized a massive scandal was brewing. A wicked grin crossed the boy's face. If there was another rival, he'd relish the chance to utterly crush them. Raleigh stood his ground, defending the child's right to the throne as the true heir of their eldest brother. Goel spat on that idea, labeling the eldest brother a coward who'd abandoned his post when the family needed him. As the dark history spilled out, Yisak finally understood why he was being treated like a stain on the family. Goel doubled down on his venom, calling the boy a filthy half-breed brought in to pollute their sacred lineage. He leaned into Relly's ear, poisoning his mind with doubts about whether the kid even shared their blood. That final slur was the breaking point. Relly's fist connected with Goel's jaw in a bone-shattering display of rage. Watching the brotherly brawl with pure amusement, Yisak realized this chaos was the perfect goldmine for top-tier information. While Knight scrambled to intervene, the boy's mind was already 3 moves ahead. Luckily, this family is a fractured mess. Tearing them apart will be light work. A sinister smirk crept across the toddler's face. That wretched woman's household. I'll burn it all down. Whisper snickered, mocking how his master's genius had shriveled inside this tiny infant frame, only to be met with a sharp zip-it from Kim Yisak. Deep within the opulent Eshua estate, a high-stakes showdown was brewing. Perched on the table, Kim Yisak glared at the faces he absolutely loathed. This is getting on my nerves, he fumed, a vein throbbing on his tiny, irritated forehead. The assembly opened with venomous whispers. Scornful that the heir was a failure, Goel Eshwa spat insults at the boy's mother, claiming a low-born nobody had zero business being a saint. Amidst the rising chaotic atmosphere, an icy female command cut through the noise, demanding silence. That was Hannah Eshwa, the cunning second wife and acting boss. So why bring this brat here, Hannah pressed. In that moment, Kim Yisak knew she was the primary threat. Goel instantly barked in support of his mother, snarling at Riley to cough up a real answer. Riley blew him off coldly, demanding to know the whereabouts of his father, the true king of the house. Hannah sneered that he'd left thanks to the drama over the saint candidates. Riley couldn't mask his bitter disappointment. Suddenly, an old butler burst in, breathless young Master Isaac has brought the divine tree back to life. Goel leaped up, screaming it was just a fluke, a mere answer to the family's collective prayers. A family elder chimed in, insisting a mere toddler couldn't possibly pull off such a legendary, extraordinary feat. Hannah's smirk sharpened as she delivered the final blow. More importantly, you have absolutely zero proof. The resident priest called it a divine blessing, making Kim Yisak roll his eyes in secret, heavy disgust. You want receipts? His tiny hands reached out, ready to shut them up with a sudden surge of raw power. Stunned silence gripped the room as Kim Yisak unleashed a cyclone of pure holy energy, forcing the doubters back. This pressure, an elder shrieked. As the boy condensed the lingering demonic filth into a shimmering crystal, he roared internally, "This is the tree's power, you moron." A heavy, suffocating silence filled the hall. Riley stepped in, explaining that Isaac had purged the demonic rot that was eating the divine tree alive. The priest stood frozen. Impossible. How could an infant manage this? The elders began whispering in reluctant awe. That exorcism was high level. The tree was nearly dead. Goel slammed the table, howling, "This is total garbage." "You're saying that little lump of meat has this power?" Riley stood firm, declaring Isaac exercised it by instinct. "Nice one, uncle," the boy thought. Riley pressed on. "This child achieved what our family couldn't in 70 years. Goel went ballistic, turning toward the Council of Elders with a crazed, desperate look. "We can't buy this insane story," he shrieked, arguing that the news would turn their noble family into a joke. Goel spat. "Look at him, he's probably some beggar's brat," but Kim Yisak just casually cleaned his ear, bored. Riley Eshua placed a hand over his heart solemnly, vowing, "Elders, this child is destined to be a saint." Hoisting Kim Yisak high, he boomed, "He might even become the Pope." Overjoyed, Riley lifted his nephew toward the heavens. "And one day he'll slay the skeleton." King Kim Yisak froze instantly. "Okay, I take back everything I said." The Skeleton King's name sent a shockwave through the room. Hannah smirked wickedly. "You're just digging your own grave." Seizing the moment, she challenged him with a predatory glint. "If you're so confident, let's put the brat to the test." Hannah finished, "I'll demand entry to the holy artifact vault within the Black Forest northwest of the Hela Kingdom." Far away, on a blood-soaked battlefield, the Eshua Patriarch slammed his heavy blade back into its scabbard. After obliterating the monsters, he growled, "What a total waste of my energy." A knight dropped to one knee. "Lord Patriarch, we have news." The knight bowed, reporting that the vice family had requested access to the vault. Eli Eshua's voice was ice. "I already said it. The Holy See isn't allowed to step foot in that place." "It's not for them, sir. Your grandson actually saved the divine tree," the knight stammered quickly. "The vice head wants to use the vault to verify if the boy is truly a saint." Eli paused, skepticism thick. "A saint," he roared, spinning around in a fury. "Why on earth is there a saint in my house? I refuse. That vault is a death trap for anyone but a saintess candidate. Don't start a pointless civil war." Suddenly, a commanding voice thundered from behind. "Let them go!" Matriarch Melissa appeared, eyes sharp. "It's for Isaac." "Isn't it obvious?" She flashed a knowing smirk. "Saving the divine tree. Now that's a genius in the making." Melissa leaned in, her voice cold. "Since the vault is open, let's dump every saint candidate inside." "Even him," the knight gasped in terror. "But madam, an outsider's child. That's too dangerous. He might steal our greatest relic." Melissa's grin widened mysteriously. Finally, her master plan was coming into focus. "With that artifact, we'll erase the Skeleton King from existence." Her eyes sparked with ruthless ambition. "Announce this. Whoever secures the treasure will be rewarded beyond measure," she commanded. "Let the word spread. They'll receive a prize even the Pope couldn't offer," Melissa promised. "It's not just about the Saintess heirloom. I will personally hand down our family's most lethal secret techniques to the victor." Melissa Eshua's smile was pure ice. "To the winner, I'll give everything I possess." The Eshua Vault, a tomb of ancient relics and forbidden arts, was finally unsealed. Once it hosted deadly trials for Saintess candidates where life or death was decided by a single item. But the body count became too high, and the vault was locked away. Until today. A chilling voice hissed through the silence. "Can you actually survive and grab the loot?" Whisper teased. Kim Yisak frowned, hating the interruption. "But deep down, aren't you hyped too?" Whisper poked. Yisak couldn't deny it. Pure, unadulterated excitement coursed through his veins like lightning. "They say the Skeleton King's corpse lies within." A young knight yelled, buzzing with hype. He hoisted Yisak up high. "Big news, young master, the matriarch has officially opened the vault. The 5 great families are sending their best, but Master Isaac, you're definitely going to crush them." Yisak just smirked. A wild plan was forming. The more rivals, the better the show. Total chaos was his favorite smokescreen. Suddenly, Reli Eshua grabbed him, dangling him upside down. "Watch your back, Isaac," he warned. "Wartime demons are prowling that vault now." The knight froze. Yisak didn't flinch. If they were captured, they're rank 6 at best. Light work. He figured a quick flex would scare them. The knight's face went pale as he shrieked in terror. A rank 8 demon and a rank 9 dragon. Riley just shrugged like it was nothing, leaving Kim Yisak floored. These Eshua lunatics are beyond saving. Who keeps a literal dragon in a nursery for rituals? Whisper tried to calm his nerves with dragon lore, then suddenly went dead silent. Yisak's heart hammered against his ribs. Crap, we are cooked. Dragons are pure nightmare fuel. He remembered the time he had finessed 70 of those scaly monsters. The boy was panicking about his soul being exposed, but Whisper saw nothing but a massive level-up opportunity. No more playing around. Yisak had to move now. He started crunching the numbers. "The vault has top-tier threats and I am barely rank 6. Time to snatch those monocores." His eyes locked onto the prize, the massive, magnificent annex of the Eshua family. The heavy doors to the ultimate stash stood before him. Yisak and Whisper slipped inside like shadows. Mission success. Whisper grabbed a dusty tome and whispered, "Master, you good," but Yisak had completely paralyzed. The title read, "Holy Arts 10 Ways to Delete the Skeleton King." Yisak looked absolutely soul-crushed. "Teach me how to use holy power before the high-level stuff," he screamed in total silence. He toyed with using mind control magic, but Whisper shut that down fast. "You trying to nuke everything." Yisak let out a heavy sigh. "Theory only gets you so far." Suddenly, a warm hand hoisted him up. "You look drained, kiddo." Riley Eshua scooped him up, thinking the little guy just had a long day. All Yisak wanted was a nap. As Riley walked off, a curious knight spotted the abandoned book. Riley rested a gentle hand on Yisak's brow. Suddenly, a massive wave of holy energy surged through him. "Wait, a holy art!" Yisak was internally vibing in his crib. "Let's go. That was sick. Hit me with some more moves, uncle." The boy knew he had to get these guys to leave. His target was still that building. To clear the room, he face-planted and faked a deep sleep. Riley and the knight fell for it. They praised their perfect child and finally decided to dip. Whisper laughed at their cluelessness, but then Riley ordered, "This totem is risky. You keep it safe." Yisak was shook. He watched the knight lock away, his very first masterpiece for safekeeping. He screamed in silent agony. Watching his totem be hauled away, his main mana source evaporated. He locked back in quickly. Fine new objective, the mana cores. The great crib escape was on. Whisper was grumbling about his slow crawl, but Yisak had a plan. "Just pop the lock, Whisper." Suddenly the door slammed shut, sending the poor kid tumbling head first. Yisak ended up as a floor pancake. His uncle had sealed the room with holy magic. Whisper warned that breaking it would cause a scene. Trapped Yisak gave the door a pathetic little punch, feeling like his brain was about to short-circuit. Magic was off the table, leaving him with only baby muscles. He funneled every ounce of nascent strength. He pushed with everything he had, but no luck. "How do I escape?" Suddenly the door creaked open. Yisak lost his balance and fell. Standing there was a strange kid with a bandaged hand looking down. The boy sneered disdainfully. "He is just a brat who cannot even walk properly yet." "Is this scrub really my rival?" Whisper growled. How dare this peasant look down on my master? Shuri gripped his bandages in disbelief. No way, a literal infant made a totem that I could not make. In a flash, Goel Eshua had tested Yisak's light. Now, Shuri Eshua was radiating pure ambition. I am the one who is going to be the saint you think you can snatch my throne. Shuri ranted as Yisak grabbed his leg, causing a milk bottle to drop. Shuri tripped and face-planted hard. Yisak cackled gleefully. Perfect, this clown is going to be my ticket out of this cursed mansion. Found my ride. Do you even know who I am? Shuri barked while Yisak put the pieces together. He looks just like that uncle, definitely his son. And you really tried to attack me with holy power. You bastard, Yisak thought, hoisting the milk bottle high. He launched the bottle straight at Shuri. Catch this, L, Whisper cheered, nice shot, master, while Yisak issued a cold, imperious command. You arrogant brat, you are my new horse. Shuri clutched his head as holy power began erupting. You annoying pest, Shuri roared, conjuring a radiant barrier to deflect the flying milk bottle. Yisak just stared with amusement, Shuri's arrogant thoughts echoing inside his mind. Shocked that a kid my age can wield level 3 holy defense. With a wicked grin, Shuri hissed, the real show hasn't even started. He triggered level 3 offense Holy Light as a massive crest glowed underfoot. Eat this, Shuri fired twin searing rays. Yet Yisak simply shrugged, thinking, looks delicious. He flashed a satisfied smirk. Thanks for the free snack, loser. Shuri's jaw dropped when a massive wave of power swallowed his attack whole. He let out a terrified shriek. What insane level of holy protection is this? While Shuri spiraled, Yisak's eyes sparkled with pure chaotic joy. Appreciate the entertainment, Yisak laughed internally. Shuri, drowning in his own helplessness, wailed, this is impossible. Yisak leveled a finger at his foe, throwing out a cold taunt. Hold on, Shuri begged, his struggle completely useless. The light faded as Whisper slithered out from the master's shadow. The spirit nervously questioned if it should execute them. Kill who? Yisak wondered with total indifference. Seeing he wasn't dead, Shuri blinked in utter confusion. Wait, what? Shuri's face flushed red with shame. Stop faking if you can't actually aim. He started acting tough again until a blood-chilling voice stopped him cold. How dare you? Shuri's pupils shrunk, ice-cold sweat drenching his back. A humongous shadow beast surged forth, bellowing, protect the king. It snatched Shuri's ankle as he scrambled to run. Seeking death, the beast snarled. Shuri's knees buckled, leaving him trembling and stuttering in absolute mind-numbing fear. Yisak just patted the monster's claw like a pet. He hopped onto his subordinate's shoulder, looking totally relaxed. What's the holdup? Yisak asked silently. With a devious grin, he commanded, move it, you useless brat, carry me. I am Shuri Eshwa. A determined young voice pierced the darkness. He swore he was chosen by the heavens. Shuri gripped his hands tight, swearing to flee this rotten clan and seize the title of Pope himself. That epic dream shattered when a toddler leaped onto his spine, forcing him to become a human taxi. To the annex now, Yisak barked. Shuri wailed in agony as a dark presence loomed right behind him. Walk or I'll shred your soul, pathetic human, it hissed, sandwiched between a demon infant and a nightmare. And the ghastly shadow Shuri yielded. He tossed his grand dreams aside, weeping silently into the night. Survival first, please someone rescue me. Shuri trudged through the moonlit garden with Yisak strapped to his back. He obeyed every tiny babbling command. Left, I told you, left, Yisak screamed, pointing his finger like a tiny tyrant. Are you asking for death? Go right, the baby snapped. Shuri's heart hammered as he drenched in cold sweat. Suddenly, Shuri stopped dead. His face drained of color as he stared ahead, trembling. Wait, please tell me. This is it. The Eshwa mansion's second annex loomed, a forbidden cursed ruin famously whispered about as the haunted house. Why would this psycho bring me here? Shuri spiraled, remembering the master's strictly lethal warning about this dead zone. While Shuri shook, Yisak wore a cunning grin. Wow, there must be thousands of spirits hiding in here. The decaying manor reeked of thick, vengeful mana gathered over decades. Time to go inside, Horse Yisak cheered. Move it, Yisak demanded, but Shuri refused, head thrashing. Never, we'll die. Suddenly, the shadow beast materialized again. Its voice snuffed out his last bit of hope. Silence, dog, move. They crossed the threshold of the ruin. An icy dread wrapped around them. Shuri's trembling steps and pathetic sniffling echoed through the pitch-black hallway. What a dump, Yisak thought, completely ignoring the absolute terror on Shuri's face as they moved deeper. His blood-red gaze scanned the gloom for the source of corruption. Then his eyes locked onto a massive sealed portal. Hold on, Whisper manifested, reporting, My lord, this entire structure is bound by a high-level spiritual seal. Please, let's leave, Shuri gasped, his panic peaking. His desperate plea was answered by a violent hair pull. Ow. What now? Shuri barked. Mid-whine, he halted abruptly in front of a gallery of ancient dusty portraits. The past patriarchs, Shuri muttered, oblivious to the trap. Yisak let out a mocking sneer. By the way, you want the patriarch's throne. Keep dreaming, kid. That seat already belongs to me, the boy declared coldly. Without warning, he smashed his milk bottle against a portrait, obliterating the complex magical ward instantly. Shuri froze, eyes wide at the carnage. The holy portraits, you absolute maniac. He shrieked as the feedback blasted him back. Yisak just shrugged. Should have thought twice before warding some dusty art. The ward is shattered, my Lord Whisper confirmed. Jackpot Yisak cheered, giving Shuri zero time to even breathe. The kid forced him through the fresh gap. You maniac, stop breaking things and running, Shuri shrieked, hauled into the void. Kim Isaac just babbled with glee, diving headfirst into the hidden corridor. He cheered as a secret chamber appeared. It hummed with mystic power. Whisper, seal the entrance, the toddler commanded his phantom servant. Fearing he would miss out, Shuri Eshwa scrambled forward, howling. Hold up, wait for me. What is the plan now? Kim Isaac smirked, firing back. A brat like you could not handle the truth. Right before the threshold slammed shut, the boy settled down, bracing for a crucial ancient ritual. Time to go to work. Azure Mana began spiraling around him. Outside, Shuri hammered the door. Open up. Get out here or I am snitching, the boy barked empty threats. I will make the elders kick you out. Suddenly, a chilling voice froze Shuri in his tracks. A powerful white-haired patriarch loomed behind him. He hoisted Shuri up, demanding, explain yourself. Shuri tried to speak, but a furious old woman cut him off. What is this, Shuri? The annex is strictly forbidden. Her accusation hit like a physical blow. Shuri blinked, totally lost. Wait, what? They claimed witnesses saw him dragging Isaac into the restricted zone. Shuri stammered, but admitting he used holy magic to haul Isaac only made him look more guilty. The patriarch sighed. You have crossed the line, Shuri. Tormenting an infant, he gripped Shuri's shoulder firmly. Talk, where did you hide Isaac? Shuri could only howl his innocence in pure desperation. Before Shuri could explain, Isaac locked himself in violent thuds and crashes erupted from behind the heavy door. The patriarch sprinted over, panicking. Isaac, are you in there? He pressed against the door, face pale with worry. He strained to hear, but in the shadows the performance began. Isaac's pathetic, heartbreaking sobs filled the air. The old lady charged forward, blaming Shuri. Are you okay, Isaac? Poor baby, look how traumatized he is. The white-haired man cradled the victim. Thank goodness he is safe. He is shaken up but physically fine. He gazed at the child with a mix of relief and suspicion, then shot a glare at Shuri. Know your place, he barked. Shuri stammered. But I am innocent, I swear, he did this on purpose. As he was carried off, Isaac flashed a secret mocking grin at the shell-shocked Shuri. That innocent baby face vanished, replaced by a devilish smirk, as he thought to himself. Delicious, thanks for the meal. Shuri grabbed his head while the clueless adults watched him in confusion. Why is his blood pressure spiking? Snuggled in safe arms, Isaac mentally tallied his massive gains. I just scored a century worth of mana. Concentrated energy shimmered in his tiny palm while he plotted. With this much power, the plan is a go. His wicked look was mistaken for post-traumatic shock. The scene shifts to a sun-drenched, opulent estate, signaling the start of a brand new chapter. Isaac sat reading when Reli's voice broke the silence. Isaac, I have someone special for you to meet. Reli Eshwa entered with a girl in uniform. Meet Ashley. She is your new personal guardian. The woman stepped forward, announcing Holy Knight Ashley Lark at your service. She knelt before the tiny master. I will serve you until my pulse stops. Isaac's eyes narrowed. Is she a spy sent to watch me? He let out a loud babyish wail to test his new nanny, demanding her full attention immediately. Hey you, the boy erupted in a tantrum, waving his arms and shouting for attention. I do not want you, beat it. A dark, oppressive aura flared out, paralyzing Ashley and Reli in pure shock. While Ashley panicked, Isaac shot Reli a defiant look, ignoring the maid's frantic cries of concern. Isaac was just annoyed. Why is this family so unhinged? Reli simply smiled, gently calling the boy's name. Isaac, here is my gift. He opened a box to reveal a plain ring. Isaac internally rolled his eyes. He thought the Eshwas were broke, giving trash for a birthday. Suddenly, Ashley gasped in disbelief. Is that the Saintess's relic? Reli nodded, confirming the elders had handpicked this legendary treasure for him. Isaac's eyes turned crimson. Wait, this is legit. Flashbacks of his past life hit him like a truck. It was the very artifact the holy maidens used to seal him. Now, it was in his tiny hands. The ancient relic began to pulse with warmth. Isaac smirked. It is low on charges, but I can fix that. I know exactly how to restore it. Suddenly he sensed a new threat. A man stood nearby, arms crossed. Gritting his teeth as fury blazed in his eyes, Kim Yisak shot a glance over. One look at that thug-like expression, and he knew the threat was dead serious. Riley spun around with a sunny grin to welcome him. Aha, my dear nephew, Isaac Goel. Eshua's entire vibe shifted instantly. Wearing a smile that was both blinding and bone-chilling, he purred. You get more precious every single time we meet. He stooped low, breathing poison into the boy's ear. Kim Yisak recoiled in pure revulsion while a silent scream caught in his throat. Yisak raged inwardly at Goel's insanity as the situation turned south. That snake had actually tampered with the blessing device behind everyone's back. Goel burned with envy, seeing the artifact slip back into Yisak's grasp. Rewind to their last meeting where Riley had laid down the law. He detailed a plan for total fairness, leaving the old matriarch stunned. Meanwhile, Goel had been begging like a desperate man. Goel whimpered, "Please give my son a chance too," but his pleas hit a wall. In a memory, a noblewoman iced him out completely. "Shuri already got his blessing," she snapped. "Stop being greedy." Goel gritted his teeth, his master plan crumbling to dust. A mere toddler had wrecked his heist. Returning to the now, Goel strutted toward Riley, masking his malice with a plastic smile. He trashed the gift as total garbage before acting insulted. Then he pivoted to Yisak with a sly, predatory smirk. "My sweet Isaac, why settle for such trash?" Goel smirked, popping open a case to reveal a breathtaking glowing ring. He bragged that the ring held countless blessings from the Holy See. Riley stiffened, feeling the sting of those condescending words. Goel was shamelessly flexing to belittle him before the boy. As Yisak reached for the box, Goel let out a victory cry. He thought he had secured the win, but instead a thunderous slap cracked right across his smug face. "Beat it," the boy hissed internally. Kim Yisak snatched the case, his face twisted in absolute pure loathing. He cursed the foul object that stank of the Pope's influence. With a violent swing, the boy yeeted the gift into oblivion. Ignoring Goel, who staggered back in shock, the ring soared through the sky before plunging deep into the fountain. While Goel shrieked in agony, Riley stood frozen, paralyzed by the sight of that legendary treasure being tossed like trash. A priceless artifact was gone in a splash, yet Yisak just stood there, looking incredibly proud of his actions. Instead, the boy beamed while holding the modest ring Riley had gifted him. Riley's confusion melted into a wave of pure joy. Overwhelmed that his nephew chose him, Riley shouted Isaac's name in tears, while his knight let out a triumphant roar. Goel's goons scrambled desperately through the freezing water. Little did they know, Yisak was low-key laughing after casting a secret spell. He used mana to make the ring weigh a ton, earning mad respect from the shadow guards. He then signaled his loyal henchmen. "Go retrieve it tonight," he commanded, getting a shaky nod. Watching the pathetic losers, Yisak was already 10 steps ahead. He would flip that treasure for serious cash, while Goel rotted in despair. Meanwhile, Goel's blood began to boil with murderous intent. Goel's knuckles turned white, cursing the brat who'd wrecked his dignity. Back in his office, he had a total mental breakdown. He howled about the fortune currently sitting at the bottom of the pond. Then Goel Eshua wiped his face and sneered. "Whatever that kid can't even activate the Elder's Ring," he scoffed. But then a knight dropped a bombshell of truth. The ring required the holy energy of 20 people to awaken. Goel's lips curled into a wicked, calculating grin. Only 10 losers will show up to his first birthday party anyway. Cut to the next morning, at the Eshua estate. The celebration kicked off, but it wasn't just a party. It was a stampede of noble carriages that defied every expectation. Ashley Larch rushed in beaming. "It is insane, young master. 148 saint candidates have arrived. 4,000 nobles and their staff flooded the grounds." She rattled off a list of dukes, marquises, and even the emperor himself. But Yisak just looked done with life. Are the gods so lazy they are just handing out saint titles like candy, he wondered. Seriously, Riley Eshua was equally floored. "Wow, I honestly thought everyone would smell a trap and stay home." A booming friendly voice echoed from the rear. Not a chance they would miss this old pal. Count Simon Regis, the tycoon leading the merchant guild, stepped out and gave his old buddy a massive greeting. Riley blinked in shock, but Simon laughed. "I had to come. Every noble house in the empire is losing their minds." He cracked up. Word got out that even the bottom-tier Eshua members were coming, so nobody wanted to be left out. They figured it could not be an ambush, Simon added. Plus, the Eshua lady put up a legendary prize. Who could resist that? Yisak tilted his head, his curiosity piqued about what kind of loot was on the line. When Riley guessed the Pope's kin might show, Simon spat in disgust at the mention of those arrogant Barrett snobs. Riley tried to hush him, but Simon roared for the whole world to hear that his own son was a saint candidate too. "That is exactly why you need to shut it," Riley hissed, glaring sternly at his boisterous friend. Grabbing the handle, Raleigh mentally groaned about his obnoxious friend's lack of manners. While Simon's chatter continued, a chilling voice cut through the air. "Ancient proverbs never lie." Raleigh gasped in horror. "Cardinal Barrett." The high priest responded with a predatory twisted grin. Making no effort to hide his disdain, he thought. The pathetic Eshua weakling is celebrating. Hopefully he finds some dignity in the vault. I wanted to see that face. Looking for the saint candidate, his gaze locked onto the child Ashley was holding. What luck! Barrett clutched his chest, raising his voice with a sickeningly fake piety. "May the Eshua candidate bring glory," he lied. Suddenly, a dark premonition hit Raleigh. Cold sweat beaded his brow. Had they walked straight into a trap by the sea? He realized candidate numbers had suspiciously surged to 148 in just a single week. The church flooded the gates with trash. If that mob gets into the vault, they'll swarm the weakest targets to grab power. They might use the chaos. Isaac is in mortal danger, Raleigh concluded as the horrific truth finally dawned on him. Eshwa sons were famous for two things, their legendary beauty and their total uselessness. For those seeking noble blood or church favor, an Eshwa child was easy prey. Deep in the shadows, a command was whispered, "Let's toy with that Eshwa brat." "No need for a kill," the voice hissed. "Just render him completely helpless." The order was clear. Lace the boy's water with a potent type of holy poison. Using holy toxin, they aimed to show the Eshua child the world's brutal reality. The goal, humiliate him publicly and terrify the other candidates into submission. They'd prove Eshuas were frauds. Instead, Kim Yesok downed the poison with delight. "This stuff is incredible," he cheered. The surrounding candidates froze in absolute shock. "How many bottles has he finished?" A boy trembled. Kim inwardly begged for more. "This pathetic poison won't kill me," he roared, hurling the empty glass at Shuri. While other children sobbed in terror, his manic demands turned the gala into nightmares. The conspirators panicked. "What's happening? He should be sick. Did we swap the bottles?" Shuri hid his face in shame. Why is he constantly chugging the spiked water? Defending family honor, Shuri stepped forward, swearing a saint candidate could not fail. He kicked the bottle away, shouting, "Stop drinking, are you possessed or just stupid?" Kim Ye-sok offered him a clean bottle instead. Shuri shoved it aside, clueless. "This one is safe," Kim thought, clinging to Shuri's leg for the good water. Panic erupted as a blonde boy confessed. "Wait, mine was the real holy poison." A girl screamed in horror. "Are you insane? He'll die if he drinks that." Hearing holy poison, Kim's eyes flashed. He hovered midair, bellowing, "Give it to me." As dark energy radiated from the boy, the others watched, paralyzed by pure amazement. "Has he reached self-detoxification?" they gasped. Shuri just stood there, completely lost. Suddenly, a strange aura flared. A white-haired youth stepped into the flickering light. The crowd thought Kim was sacrificing himself. Shuri paled, shouting, "Kina Barrett." It was the pontiff's direct descendant, a high-tier intruder crashing their private event. Whispers erupted. Why is the pontiff's bloodline inside the saintess's sacred treasure vault? Kim Ye-sok chugged the poison unbothered. Great, so he's the final boss here. Everyone assumed Kina was the one, despite his hair defying the Barrett lineage. They remembered the family's signature messy brown hair. This white-haired kid was different. "My presence is law here," Kina sneered, claiming the vault as his inheritance. "This vault belongs to me," Kina barked, stunning the crowd. As a blinding golden aura stronger than any bishop erupted from him, Kim Ye-sok realized he was looking at Saint Candidate Zero. Disgusted by the attempt to humiliate the host, Kina spat a sharp rebuke. "You people are straight-up trash." Bullying a literal kid, really, he moved in convinced no child could ever master. Complete toxin immunity. As he knelt before Yisak, Kina figured the whole bloodline was just born stupid. Flashing a fake angelic smile, he channeled his holy light. "Don't worry, little guy. I'll fix you up." As the crowd gossiped about Kina's aura, Yisak just watched with zero interest. "Oh, check this out." Kina smugly wrapped the boy in divine light, feeling like a genius. Then Yisak suddenly blew a tiny puff of air right in his face. The golden radiance vanished instantly, leaving everyone shook. "It's gone." Kina stood there, completely frozen. He couldn't believe his eyes, staring in horror at the smirking kid. It finally clicked. This brat just shattered his holy power. A chilling thought crossed Kina's mind. Is he actually stronger than me? Tension filled the air as Shuri rushed to Yisak's side. Kina let out an absolute roar of fury. Furious that an Eshwa dared to protect his prey. But Yisak didn't back down for a second. Gripping the bottle tight, his gaze was pure fire. "How dare you look at me like I'm nothing?" Kina suddenly snatched Shuri by the collar, hoisting him up as the crowd gasped. He glared down at them with pure disgust. He wondered if these Eshwa clowns even knew who they were messing with. "You really think you can save him?" Kina mocked them. "Without me, that bottle would have cracked your skull." He let go, acting like a saint. "It's fine, he's just scared. After all, he's only a kid." Kina turned away with a sarcastic wave. "Good luck, you Eshwa losers." He kept spitting insults while Shuri desperately tried to restrain a growling Yisak. "Whatever Kina boasted, the ultimate prize belongs to me. The Eshuas will never touch the Skeleton King's remains," he barked, then suddenly turned stone cold. Shuri just scowled. What an absolute jerk. He grabbed Yisak with everything he had. He screamed, "Forget the Skeleton King, why are you acting like this?" The boy started sobbing about the elder's promise. "Apparently, whoever recovers the Skeleton King's corpse gets a god-tier skill." Those words hit Yisak like a physical blow. Shuri slumped down, whispering a girl's name in despair. Meanwhile, Yisak was absolutely seething. "What are you idiots doing with my literal body?" While the other candidates gossiped about the drama, Yisak sat in silence. His eyes were distant as he plotted his next move, remembering his godlike past. "I spent centuries mastering mana. Getting back to rank 10 is light work." But then his face soured. "How do I slip away? When every brat here is hunting it." Finally, he made up his mind. "Fine. I'll just crush anyone in my path." Yisak's blood-red eyes flared as he shouted, "Everyone listen up." Just then, an elder stepped out. He announced, "We move out soon, so pay attention." As the elder started some boring history lecture, Yisak thought, "Another lecture, give me a break." Without wasting a second, the boy started sneaking off. Shuri went into a full-blown panic. "Wait, hey you," he screamed fruitlessly. "Where do you think you're going?" Suddenly, a massive explosion shook the area, making Shuri jump. He pointed and shrieked, "Elder Isaac is gone." Yisak had bolted like a lightning strike, eager to test his new arts. The elder screamed in pure terror. "Not there, Isaac, that's the forbidden zone. If you cross that line, the entire vault's traps will trigger," the elder shrieked, completely losing his mind. "Catch that brat," he roared, chasing shadows while the other kids scattered in pure chaos. Back at the Eshwa mansion, the tension was rising. A woman fretted, "I hope the young master is safe." The silver-haired man beside her remained ice-cold. Suddenly, a magic orb flared to life, and the broadcast began. "We're live inside the treasure vault. I'll be your commentator through this summoned beast, tracking the candidate in third place." Hearing this, the silver-haired man looked actually surprised. "The first chamber is open, candidates are flooding in. Currently holding third is Amon Aegis." "That's my boy," a father cheered. "In second place, Shuri Eshua." Shuri's dad was stunned. Before shouting, "That's my son," the commentator paused, looking totally confused. "Wait, in first place, it's Isaac," he yelled. The silver-haired man and the woman stood there, completely shell-shocked. "Isaac Eshua." The name echoed as the boy blasted forward like a storm, wearing a legendary smirk. "No, Isaac, stop," the elder shrieked. Too late, his foot triggered the hidden mechanism. Shuri Eshua watched in terror as raw energy blasted the elder, sending the room into anarchy. Panicked cries filled the air. Shuri whirled around, barking at the culprit. "Are you insane? Why enter? You're ruining everything." He watched the small figure wreak havoc. Survival was already a nightmare. Now lethal traps were everywhere. Kim Yisak ignored the noise, thinking, "This is the portal to Chapter 2. He tripped more traps, leaving Shuri screeching in despair. "Legendary move, master." "That mana core leveled me up," the shadow reported. Yisak simply smirked, "Perfect. Now I can milk your power." "Go grab him," the boy commanded, as his shadow darted forward. It lunged through the frantic crowd. "I didn't expect this much heat," another boy groaned. "So that is the secret to the saint's power," Yisak muttered, leaving his friend totally clueless nearby. Suddenly, a voice shouted as Shuri was hoisted skyward. "Wait, isn't that the Eshua kid?" The confused boy stumbled while listening to the gossip. "How is he literally flying? He must be hacking," he cursed. "That is not it, you absolute morons." Pinioned by the shadow entity, Shuri screamed uselessly. "I am flying against my will. Drop me." "Master, the target is secured." The shadow slammed Shuri face first before Yisak. Shuri groaned. "Knock it off, psycho. One wrong move in room 2 and you are dead." As Shuri tried explaining the trial's rules, Kim Yisak ruthlessly cut him off. "Zip it." The boy glared at the groaning Shuri. "I do not need a lecture. Just tell me what is in the next room." Shuri gasped out one final desperate warning. "In room 2, do not attack. No matter what." Yisak scoffed. "What kind of logic is that?" "It is the only way. Just wait 3 minutes," Shuri begged. Yisak rolled his eyes. "So, a patience test. How basic." Shuri panicked. Someone already died in there. Yisak began crawling away, mocking him in a baby voice. Yeah, sounds like a cakewalk." He muttered confidently, "Don't attack. Piece of cake. 3 minutes is a breeze." His hand hit the gate. "Welcome to the Chamber of Silence," a voice boomed. Runes appeared. "Patience is a virtue. Keep your silence." Yisak sat listening to the cryptic message. "Patience leads to light." While others sprinted, Keena Barrett and his crew hung back. "Are we safe at the back?" a lackey asked. Keena Barrett flashed a cocky grin. "Let the sacrificial lambs go first." Another member chuckled. "Idiots will get stuck at the entrance." Keena pointed ahead as a blinding flash erupted, terrifying the blue-haired boy. "The show begins." Keena smirked as golden light exploded. The first trap was live. "Don't be swayed," the voice echoed. Candidates exchanged terrified looks. A smug blonde entity appeared, arms wide. "Patience leads to the light," he repeated. "You jerk," a candidate roared, lunging forward. He vaporized the entity instantly. His body turned to ash. Yisak watched in shock as the screams echoed. Another boy collapsed, cursing. "Damn it." Massive, bloody tentacles ripped through the floor. "You idiot," someone shrieked. Yisak gritted his teeth. "How can I hold back against these faces?" Trial failed, the system droned. "Face the wrath of divine punishment." Yisak clenched his fist, ready to shatter the rules. The golem roared. "We are cooked! We are dead!" the candidates wailed. Yisak channeled magic. Dark energy exploded. Lightning blasted the giant gatekeeper. A boy gasped. "What was that?" The strike obliterated the stone golem's core. Yisak frowned. "Him again." The supervisor crumbled into a pile of rocks. "This trash is rank 8, Yisak sneered. He knew exactly what this was. "My subordinates made this." Memories of the 14 demon generals flooded back. As memories surged back, he questioned, was this the Eshua legacy at work, or his own mysterious presence. Obsessed with the truth, Kim Yisak crawled into the shadows, ghosting the frantic cries echoing behind him. "Where are you headed?" A mocking laugh suddenly erupted. Those Eshua runts actually came in handy. Hands shoved through the thick brush as Nigel Seffet emerged with a smug grin leading his pack. "Told you an Eshua loser would find the path." Nigel's lip curled in a disgusting sneer. "Thanks for clearing the guard. Now beat it, the second room belongs to us." Yisak watched them icily. He calculated their numbers. Too many survivors. Nigel pointed a mocking finger, branding the Eshua name cowardly. Panicking, the boy tried to save his own skin. "I'm not with him, Nigel. Just turned away." Sowing seeds of doubt, he asked. "You saw him dance through those traps, right?" Then Nigel's eyes flashed. He locked onto the relic around Yisak's neck and snatched it, convinced it was the source of luck. Brandishing his prize, Nigel roared, "With this ring, we're invincible." But the other boy knew he was wrong. Nigel was dead wrong. Yisak's eerie silence felt off. He wasn't the type to let a thief walk away. Not without blood. Nigel, drunk on victory, barked, "We're done with you, Eshua. Back off." He grinned wickedly. "The Skeleton King's remains belong to the Sifat family. I, Nigel Sifat, will claim that glory." He lunged forward with aggressive greed. But the moment his foot touched the floor, the world changed. A blinding flash erupted beneath him. A ferocious inferno swallowed the entire vanguard in one devastating sweep. Screams of agony filled the air. The brown-haired boy froze as the terrifying truth dawned. "Isaac, you monster." Through the dancing flames, Yisak wore a predator's smile. It wasn't an accident. He had used them as bait. As the fire subsided, only charred remains and heavy smoke lingered. Kim Yisak didn't even flinch. He tossed his companion over his shoulder, stepping over scorched corpses to enter the next chamber. "Hey, thanks for being the ultimate meat shields, guys." With the path cleared, they moved deeper. Yisak narrowed his eyes, mapping his next strike. But a new annoyance quickly caught his attention. "Why are these leeches still on my tail?" Among the trailing survivors, a violet-eyed boy whispered in awe. "That has to be divine power. He's a saint after all." But Yisak was purely irritated by them. "I don't want your worship. I want you gone." Shuri Eshua, hanging on Yisak's back, was losing it. "Run, you idiots. The monster carrying me is scarier than any demon." Shuri tried to play it cool. "If anyone's a saint here, it's definitely you." Suddenly, a blonde boy interjected with a polished tone. "Honored to meet the Eshua heir. I am Paris Julius, second prince of the Julius kingdom." Yisak's mind raced. A prince, now that's a tool worth keeping. He glanced back at his ride. "Hey, Isaac," Shuri stammered. But Yisak just stared ahead. "We've arrived." A massive, imposing gate loomed. They stood before the entrance to the third chamber. A thunderous voice boomed. "Welcome, aspirants." A winged entity materialized from the radiance. "Behold, the chamber of contemplation. Show us your resolve. Prove your courage." The survivors cheered behind them. Sticking with him was the best move. Nigel sucked. "The Skeleton King is ours," the hooded supervisor spoke. "The test is simple. Defeat us for glory." Yisak's eyes narrowed into slits. Something about this guardian felt off. Was his theory finally correct? A sharp smirk touched his lips. He was right. A devious plan began to take shape. "This is going to be a blast." Yisak suddenly let out a sharp shout, making everyone jump in terror. Then the realization hit Shuri like a truck. The Guardians were lying. The first trial was selection, where Yisak had charged ahead recklessly. The second was silence, yet he hadn't held back at all. Now the chamber of contemplation. Yisak had already cracked the code based on the previous chaos. Before he could process it, Shuri screamed a warning. "Don't attack, it's a trap." But Yisak ignored him. He pointed at the statues and ordered a full charge, leaving the entire group frozen in confusion. Shuri tried to stay calm. Maybe Yisak's saint blood was finally waking up to lead them through. "Maybe I misjudged him," Shuri mused, blind to the murderous grin and the lethal energy in Yisak's hand. Without hesitation, Yisak hurled the energy blast straight at the Guardian's face. Shuri's heart completely stopped. Drowning in a surge of malevolent energy, the gatekeeper let out a primal roar. "You failed," his voice boomed like a death knell. He tightened his grip as a massive, blood-red arc of energy tore through the air, sending waves of pure terror through the candidates. Blood-curdling screams pierced the air as innocent children were caught in a devastating and violent explosion. Amidst the carnage, Kim Yesok sat casually on a boy's back, coldly ignoring the desperate cries for mercy. Shuri Eshua's face turned ghostly pale as cold sweat drenched him. A horrifying realization hit. "Hey, you absolute psycho." He screamed in fury, but Yesok only flashed a twisted, euphoric grin before closing his eyes in pure bliss. To him, this felt like home. The gatekeepers shed their disguises, revealing demonic puppets that sneered at the children's pathetic naivety. "Teach these brats a lesson," Yesok cackled, while the boy beneath him could only sob in despair. Through the frantic chaos, a thunderous blast erupted, swallowing everything in its path with hellish intensity. Within the inferno, the last survivors scrambled. Where are the Eshuas? They were standing right here just a second ago. In reality, Yesuk was chilling on Shuri's head, both shielded by a high-level level 6 invisibility spell. Suddenly, Prince Paris Julius called out, recognizing them instantly. Yesuk smirked to himself. He's got perfect timing. Paris beamed with innocent gratitude. Thanks for letting me hide too. This invisibility is seriously amazing. Yesuk just shrugged. Whatever. Seeking to repay the favor, the prince reached out his hand. Here, take this. A simple silver ring sat in his palm, a gift that would seal his doom. Am I just not used to demons? Paris wondered. As Yesuk watched with predator eyes, Paris cheered with pure joy. Thank you, I won't ever forget this. The ring flared with a radiant golden glow, but the momentary joy vanished in a heartbeat. Paris shrieked in agony as the ring violently drained his divine life force. Seeing this, Yesuk howled with laughter. He'd found the perfect, juiciest victim. His servant bowed. As expected, master, you're truly the best. Shuri stared back in terror at the monster on his shoulders. Uncle, where did you find that thing? Nearby, another candidate rallied the group. Stick together. Who here can cast defensive, holy magic? A brave kid stepped up. He summoned a brilliant holy orb. Get behind me. Then the supervisor's demonic form was finally unmasked. Brandishing a massive scythe, he roared, Repent, now die. Another student screamed for an immediate counterattack. Grabbing his chance, the young man channeled every ounce of mana into a searing beam of holy light. Eat this, but the demon swatted it away like a fly, sending him crashing backward. His teammates froze as he lay broken and still. His friend panicked, screaming, Hey, get up, what's happening? Suspended in midair, the ring now pulsed with a sinister crimson light, leaving everyone in a state of shock. What just happened? The supervisor struck again, with brutal force launching another candidate into the distance. Amidst the screams, the skeletal puppet froze, tilting its head like a glitching toy. It was suddenly confused. It drifted aimlessly. Wait, where did those little brats run off to? I thought I had them. Meanwhile, the shadow servant reported to Yesuk. All holy power here has been siphoned. Moving to the next target now. Watching the chaos from the shadows, Yesuk smiled. He whispered to the panicked crowd, his voice dripping with malice. Don't take it personally, weaklings. That doll stops once you're down. I'm just saving you from hurting yourselves further. The shadow subordinate updated him. Master, the harvest is almost complete. It's nearly over. Suddenly, a massive surge of energy erupted. A golden sun-like sphere materialized from thin air, baffling the shadow creatures. The power exploded into a blinding pillar of light, making the shadow servant shriek in absolute terror. Both shadow beasts were blasted away by the overwhelming force. As the smoke cleared, a new figure emerged. Yesuk narrowed his eyes. Finally, a boy with snow-white hair and golden eyes stood wreathed in holy flames, radiating an unstoppable presence. Isaac Eshua Kina Barrett had arrived. He locked eyes with the newcomer. I was looking for you. So you've been hiding here. Nigel Saffet trembled, sweat dripping. I knew he was gifted, but this is insane. Massive wings of holy fire unfurled from Isaac's back, summoning a spirit at this age. This is impossible, Nigel screamed. Kina Barrett confronted Yesuk. I was genuinely impressed that someone managed to take down a demon solo. He sneered, cutting through the lies. Or did you just lure everyone into another trap, exactly like the first floor? Yesuk just smiled, but those he'd saved rushed to his defense. No, you've got it all wrong, one candidate yelled. That boy did everything for us. He even guided us through the maze. Watching this ridiculous scene, Kim Yisak inwardly scoffed, wondering if these brainwashed idiots were for real. Kina Barrett let out a cold, mocking laugh. Saved. Call yourselves saint candidates. Pathetic. A dark-haired kid snapped back. Who do you think you are to judge us? While you're just hiding in the rear, the other kids swarmed to defend Kim Yisak, shouting together, He's right. Isaac is way more saint-like than you. Shuri Eshua's eyes widened in sheer panic. Wait, stop everyone. This monster of a child is literally siphoning your life. Nearby, other survivors quietly felt grateful for the assist. Without them, we would be toast. Suddenly, pure terror gripped both boys as a massive fireball plummeted from the heavens. The earth shuddered under the impact. Survivors huddled before a colossal portal, murmuring, Is that the third room's entrance? A booming divine voice erupted from the flames. Congrats on clearing stage 2. I'm the ultimate guardian of the treasure vault. Make your choice. The guardian offered the stunned kids a deal. Take the riches found here and end this trial. One boy rushed to agree, but a chilling warning cut him off. Or risk everything to challenge room number 3. Choose wisely. Kina Barrett stayed icy cool, while the others spiraled into a collective anxious panic attack. The guardian clarified, Conquer this trial, and the ultimate treasure is yours. But there is a catch. Fail and you die. That death sentence paralyzed the candidates in horror. Only Kim Yisak didn't even flinch. His shadow spirit hissed a warning, Master, that mana signature. It's unmistakably a dragon. The boy's gaze sharpened. This isn't a bluff. The danger is real. Yet one kid yelled out boldly, I'm heading to room 3. That treasure is my ticket to finally becoming the next saint. Count me in, the others roared together. I'm going too, the guardian's voice turned lethal and ice cold. You are walking into a death trap. Perched on Shuri's shoulder, Kim Yisak simply nodded. Fine, let's start the trial. The guardian's voice boomed as an unseen power shoved them toward the gate. He began his final decree. Future saints, your destiny awaits. Suddenly, a flash of blinding white light swallowed the entire group whole. The warp left them reeling and dizzy. Amidst the chaos, Kim Yisak let out a dark, amused chuckle. Then the guardian's voice rang out. The final test is simple. A massive stone titan slowly emerged. The order was absolute, kneel and worship. A candidate gasped in shock. That's a statue of the cardinal. The guardian's voice grew heavy. Only those who offer true devotion can pass into the final chamber. The kid started whispering. Wait, just kneeling and praying, that is it. This is almost too easy. To Kim Yisak, this was a slap in the face. Jaw clenched, he thought. Are you kidding me? Old grudges resurfaced. You expect me to bow to this scumbag, he raged internally. Meanwhile, another boy did not think twice. It's just a prayer, no biggie. Without a second thought, the kid dropped to his knees and folded his hands. My lord, your humble servant worships you. The statue glowed in response. Well done. You may pass. The boy leaped up, ecstatic, sparking a wave of hope. Suddenly, Shuri jerked back, shouting, Isaac, wait. A wave of pure, murderous bloodlust radiated from the boy on his shoulder. Shuri desperately tried to keep the peace. Just pray, guys. Before he could finish, Kim Yisak kicked him squarely in the gut, dragging him across the floor. Yisak clung to Shuri's leg, dragging himself forward with pure defiance. Kina Barrett, meanwhile, strolled toward the statue. Reciting the sacred chant of the Holy See, he muttered, observe. He then lowered both hands to the floor. Kina dropped into a flawless bow, his body glowing with a blinding holy aura as he spoke. This is how you honor the divine. Seeing his display, the other kids erupted in cheers. I want to do it too. Me too. One kid joined his hands, his voice shaking as he began the chant. You deserve all the glory. Suddenly, a crushing spiritual pressure from the statue hammered him down. Wait, I will do it, he screamed. Seeing this, the rest of the kids scrambled to copy him. They desperately folded their hands before the titan. The statue rumbled, its voice echoing through the chamber. The titan's gaze locked onto Kim Yisak. You there, boy. Why do you refuse to bow? Yisak scoffed internally. Only mindless sheep would kneel. The other kids started gossiping. What is wrong with him? Is his faith totally non-existent? Shuri Eshua was fuming. Hey, you little brat, he raged mentally. Don't ruin our family name. Just pray, Kina Barrett smirked, thinking, this is all going on the record. Is he begging to get disqualified? Kina mused. Talent means nothing without actual faith. What a waste. Rival gone. Kim Yisak's eyes blazed with lethal hatred as he stared down the ancient statue. Eat it, you fraud, he hissed internally. I'll die before I ever drop to my knees for you. The monument stayed stone-cold silent. Under the crushing aura, Yisak stood his ground, trembling but unbroken. Then just finish me. Suddenly, a tide of abyssal energy exploded from the stone, drowning the room. The entity within judged him. Death to the disrespectful. Blinded by fury, Yisak let out a primal roar. Bring it on, you piece of junk, he screamed, while his shadow minion desperately tried to play peacemaker. Master, stop, it's suicide. Ignoring the plea, he obliterated his own subordinate in a violent, fiery burst. Perish, he spat. But then a holy light erupted as a booming voice echoed, simply magnificent. Yisak blinked, staring at the ash in his hands. The statue proclaimed, Consider yourself past, boy. Kina Barrett was losing his mind. Excuse me, you said we had to show total devotion here. Kina pointed a trembling finger. How can this kid pass without even praying? That makes zero sense. This child alone showed true faith, the statue replied. Yisak stood there, completely stunned and clueless. Still don't get it. The voice dripped with irony. You didn't bow to God, you bowed to a rock. Kina felt absolutely humiliated. The statue mocked their failure. Does your faith require worshipping idols? Another candidate gasped in pure terror. The statue is just an idol. Panic spread like wildfire as they realized they'd been played. Observe him, the statue commanded. He didn't break even facing death. Yisak just smirked and puffed his chest out. Cut the crap, Kina Barrett snarled, unable to digest the truth. There's no way I'm accepting this. He's literally a toddler. You can't prove his stubbornness is faith. Yisak just crossed his arms, looking bored. Smirking at his hater, Kina prepared his trump card. If this brat is so holy, where's his saint's mark? Yisak flinched. Wait, what? The crowd began to murmur suspiciously. The atmosphere turned toxic. A saint candidate without a mark, fake Yisak, just gave them a smug grin. Loving the drama, Kina doubled down. He's the only one here without the sigil. Just quit already. Suddenly, the statue's voice boomed again, rattling the very foundations of the room. No holy mark. The explanation left everyone, including Yisak, speechless. That is because he is still a child. The statue remained calm amidst the chaos. A young soul doesn't require the seal just yet. Kina roared. Lies, you've been moving this whole time. Provoked, the mob started demanding their own entry. If he gets a pass, we do too. Seeing their greed, the statue posed a final question. So you all crave entry to the third chamber. A heavy, dramatic silence filled the entire space. The statue finally relented. Very well, it declared, sending the crowd into a cheering, joyful frenzy. Proceed to the final trial. Kina froze, a dark gut feeling telling him this was wrong. Why was it so easy? The statue's voice turned lethal. If you're eager to die like moths, then enter. Malevolent mana surged as the gate behind the statue slowly creaked open into total darkness. A deathly abyss waited. The candidate stood paralyzed, staring into the mouth of a literal nightmare. The magical tide hit them like a truck. Kina and the others gasped their lungs, feeling crushed flat. The statue roared, "Feel that. That is the mana of the Skeleton King." Candidates began dropping like flies. They couldn't handle the heat. What is this power? In total contrast to the screaming crowd, Yisak wore a wicked grin as his brooch started drinking up the energy. He began laughing like a madman. He recognized that vibe instantly. This is it, he screamed in his head, vibrating with excitement. My true body, the Skeleton King's remains are right there. He locked eyes on the dark gate ahead. Finally found it after my divine self-destruction, he thought, before suddenly switching back to his clumsy kid act. As mana flooded the room, a candidate pointed at Yisak. Look at him, he's actually thriving in this hell. Look at that warrior spirit Shuri Eshua just watched in horror. Brave, the kid is a literal psycho. A massive fireball flared up, its voice booming. It's not too late to run for your lives. Using Yisak as the gold standard, it warned, if you can't smile at death like him, leave now. Another candidate shrieked in despair. Damn it, how is anyone supposed to survive this level of power? The other boys were absolutely paralyzed, with fear sobbing about turning back before they ended up as corpses. But the white-haired prodigy stepped forward with zero hesitation, flatly rejecting the treasures of the second vault. He boldly commanded the group to push into the third chamber, his eyes locking onto the floating fireball. Then came the ultimate flex. Activate every single trap inside. Shuri could only stare. This guy was a total menace. The fire spirit let out a low chuckle, questioning his sanity, but the boy didn't flinch while explaining. He knew even the legendary Saintess Melissa failed to claim the Skeleton King's remains. A cunning smirk played on his lips. You're just a safety net, he realized. The Saintess wouldn't let children actually perish. His resolve was absolute. I'm not here for the easy participation trophy, he sneered, throwing down the gauntlet for one final gamble. Unleash the third chamber's true brutal difficulty. Nearby, another boy watched silently, judging the newcomer's blatant insanity. This dude is officially unhinged, he thought. The gatekeeper complied, noting this would easily weed out the fake saints. As the white-haired candidate basked in his own ego, his smug grin said it all. But another kid started spiraling, screaming that he should have gone solo instead of dragging them all down. Why do we have to suffer for your ego? Suddenly, a massive skeletal leg pierced through the thick, suffocating mist. A lone skeletal hand rested on a stone altar, pulsating with pure malice. The crushing pressure sent the others crashing down. While everyone else was dying, Kim Yisak was vibing, whispering how much this felt like the demon realm. Look, master, he urged, his eyes glued to that skeletal hand, the source of all this chaotic energy. That is your majestic form, Whisper cheered. Yisak couldn't help but chuckle at his handsome old self. Wait, I meant my body, he corrected. Shuri gasped in pure horror, realizing it was the Skeleton King's remains. All this power from just a hand, Shuri trembled. Yisak internally rolled his eyes. It's not the hand, you amateur. It's actually just my thumb, he mused, wondering if this tiny fragment was the only real piece among fakes. The hand erupted with a terrifying blast of mana, and from the abyss, a massive tiger-like guardian demon rose. A demon! Here, the candidates shrieked. They thought the second chamber held the only monster in this entire place. Yisak just gave them an indifferent look, reminding them that they literally begged to turn off the safety protocols. The guardian demon slammed its foot down the ground, trembling as it roared, labeling them nothing but pathetic insects. How dare you filth touch the king's remains, it thundered. Shuri was losing her mind, pointing fingers in panic. This is all on you, she screamed at the white-haired boy. He just grabbed her hand, promising everyone would leave. He smirked, knowing this beast was one of the 14 demon elites the Skeleton King's hand-picked inner circle. These legendary warriors were eventually captured by the Papal Institute. I've spent months researching the perfect sacred art for this exact moment, the boy declared. The treasure is mine. His eyes flared with a blinding radiance, as a massive wave of holy energy erupted from his body. Kneel, he commanded, his voice booming with divine authority that forced the giant guardian to bow in submission. The light of the Papal Institute, the kids gasped. Behind them, Yisak watched with a cold, calculating gaze. It actually worked, the white-haired boy thought, his ego reaching new heights as he scanned for his prize. Now give me the Skeleton King's body. But the guardian wasn't finished dragging its broken body back up. With bloodshot eyes filled with pure venom, the demon growled, You think you're worthy of my king? Meanwhile, chaos brewed outside. The massive stone entrance to the vault stood silent and imposing, as a group of anxious nobles gathered around a leader. "What's going on in there?" they whispered, terrified, because even their demon familiars had suddenly gone silent. Suddenly, a panicked messenger sprinted toward them, clutching a report like it was a death warrant. "The seal on the third chamber is gone," he yelled. Riley Eshwa and his assistant froze, faces turning ghostly pale. "Riley, isn't that monster one of the 14 demon elites?" the aide stammered. Riley felt the cold sweat dripping down. "A demon elite," he whispered in despair. "Everyone inside that vault is basically walking into a slaughterhouse." A guard delivered the final blow. The elders in the surveillance room had vanished after bypassing the traps. "The elders are gone," Riley realized with horror. "That means those kids are completely unprotected against that monster." "There's no way children can survive that beast," another guard shouted, charging toward the gate to shut down the ritual. But as he reached for the entrance, a blinding barrier of light suddenly materialized, ruthlessly blocking every rescue attempt. A brilliant explosion of light rocked the vault's exterior, sending Relai Eshwa into a total panic. "What's going on?" Goel Eshwa muttered, his heart racing. "Is the seal finally breaking?" Radiant holy energy flooded the stone gateway as an Eshwanite screamed, "Everyone clear the entrance now." They feared a demonic leak, but an elder cut him off, pointing toward the gate in shock. "The demon's aura, it's gone," an elder gasped immediately, pivoting toward Cardinal Hooray Barrett. "They actually took down the elite demon," a guard stammered, grabbing Relai's shoulder in pure disbelief. "One of those kids pulled it off." Relai whispers began spreading through the crowd like wildfire. "It has to be Kina Barrett. That papal blood is no joke." Retainers instantly swarmed the cardinal. "Huge W, your eminence. No wonder he's the top-tier candidate for the throne." "Hooray," Barrett flashed a cryptic smirk, acting humble. "Well, Kina simply did his best." Schemes danced in the cardinal's eyes. "Poor Eshua fools," he plotted silently. "With the Skeleton King's remains in my grasp, those idiots will be forced to kneel before me. Your honor is officially dead." Suddenly, a massive roar erupted from the crowd. "They're here." As the kids emerged, Hooray turned with smug confidence, while Goel's face turned ghost white. Goel's jaw tightened. He spotted two familiar faces stepping out from the shadows. It was Isaac and Shuri. Slow and steady, the candidates finally walked out of that darkness. Tension hung heavy as the first wave of survivors stumbled into the light. "They're banged up, but alive," an aide breathed. "Thank God no fatal wounds in this group." "Wait, where are the others?" the survivors whispered nervously. "What happened in the third chamber?" Fear clouded Relai Eshua's expression as he edged forward, his mind spiraling with dark thoughts. Cheers exploded as the final group staggered into view, looking absolutely drained and terrified. Amon and Shuri led the panicked stragglers. Desperate parents surged forward, screaming their children's names. Amon's father hugged his trembling son. "Dad, are you okay? Did they hurt you?" Amon choked out. While Goel and Hannah reached Shuri, Relai suddenly went rigid, a cold sweat drenching his skin. A terrifying realization hit him like a truck. "Isaac," he screamed, searching the exhausted faces. "Where's Isaac?" Suddenly, the cardinal's booming voice cut through the chaos. Kina Relai spun around, heart hammering. Harry Barrett blocked Kina's path, his glare sharp as a blade. "Explain yourself," he demanded, eyeing the Skeleton King's remains. Kina could only tremble in silence. "Who authorized you to reveal that thing?" Harry's voice thundered with fury. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light silenced him. From high-ranking cardinals to orphans, every eye turned toward the heavens. Paralyzed by the spectacle, a sharp-eyed cleric was the first to realize the gravity of the situation. "Look up there!" he screamed. Hovering in the clouds, a colossal golden wolf had manifested out of thin air. Clutched in its massive jaws was Kim Isaac. "No, wait!" Relly cried, desperate to bridge the distance. A stunned knight held her back. A tight shot revealed the young Isaac wasn't terrified. Instead, he looked completely satisfied. The golden beast touched down before vanishing into the distance. Relly and her companions sprinted after it in a frenzy. As they screamed his name, Relly's aide turned pale with realization. "Master Relly, that's no wolf, it's a sacred dragon." Mythical legends flashed through their minds. It was the Eshwa family's legendary vault guardian. "She's right," Relly muttered, dazed. "That's the divine guardian of our family's heritage." Relai Eshwa realized, her heart racing as the truth sank in. This overwhelming pressure definitely belonged to a holy dragon. Suddenly, a strange crunching sound drew everyone's attention. The source was Kim Isaac, who was busy gnawing on something. "Elder, look," a knight shouted in sheer panic. As they realized what Isaac was holding, the entire crowd froze in absolute disbelief. "The Skeleton King's remains, why is that in your mouth?" the elder shrieked, his face turning ghostly pale. "The brat actually brought it back," a priest gasped. Nearby, Harry Barrett called Kina's name, his voice dripping with ice. "Did you seriously hand that corpse over to a child?" Harry growled, pinning the girl with a murderous stare. He tried to stay composed, telling himself a true saint must protect the host's reputation at any cost. But as he spoke, Relly's blood boiled. Suddenly, the sacred dragon let out a mocking roar. "What utter garbage!" This kid is the one who retrieved the corpse. You're all clueless fools, the divine beast declared with contempt. The revelation left Harry and Kina speechless. Memories of the treasury surged back to Kina, a nightmare she couldn't escape. Why didn't my holy art work? She'd wondered desperately, as the guardian demon unleashed a blood-curdling roar. Filthy vermin, it screamed, its crushing aura pinning the saint candidates to the ground like helpless insects. Perish. The demon shrieked, its massive arm swinging down like a hammer of judgment, ready to erase them from existence. Kina and the others could only scream as the force blasted them away. A violent surge of demonic energy consumed everything. The flashback ended with Kina waking up amidst the ruins. To her shock, a brilliant blue barrier was shielding them. She stared at her trembling hands in confusion. Blue holy art, but how? This power. It isn't mine. Reality hit her. This divine protection didn't belong to a saint, it belonged to that Eshwa child, Kim Isaac. Blasphemous priests, the demon bellowed. How dare you lay your hands on the great skeleton king's physical vessel? It launched a killing blow, but a fist wreathed in azure flames, fueled by Isaac's iron will, met it head-on. You piece of trash, Isaac roared, a massive shockwave erupting as he stood his ground against the monster. Have you forgotten who your master is? Back in the present, the audience erupted in whispers at the dragon's tail. Reli Eshua stepped forward, her eyes burning with suspicion. 14 elite demons. Why would you break the seal for children? The dragon smirked playfully before pointing a claw directly at Kina. That white-haired brat told me to do it. She forced us into the third chamber, the other candidates shouted, finally finding their voices to expose the truth. She nearly got us all killed. The accusations hit like a tidal wave, turning everyone against the Pope's own flesh and blood. Harry Barrett ground his teeth, his pride shattered. His family's prodigy had been utterly humiliated by their greatest rival. Watching from the sidelines, Reli Eshwa beamed with pride. You've exceeded every expectation, Isaac, she whispered. Meanwhile, elders swarmed Isaac, desperately trying to pry the bone away. But with a simple shove, Isaac sent one flying. How can a toddler be this strong? The elder stammered. Isaac just kept absorbing the delicious mana flowing from the remains. This energy is top tier, Isaac thought. Witnessing the boy's prowess, another elder shot a sinister grin toward Reli. Isaac is a miracle. The matriarch will be ecstatic. But then his expression twisted into a mask of pure greed. Now that we have this, he hissed his dark ambition, showing we can finally hunt down the Skeleton King himself. We'll use a tracking spell to find his soul. Kim Isaac froze the bone still in his mouth. Wait, what? Dread washed over him as the truth became clear. They didn't want the corpse for honor, they wanted it to find him. A mob of grinning elders swarmed him. Hand Isaac over, they chirped before the demons snatch his soul. Yisok's mind screamed they'd lost it. The head elder roared, declaring he'd finally end a century-long blood feud. But Yisok didn't hesitate. He gulped down the bone instantly. A thunderous burp followed, freezing the old men in shock. Clutching his gut, Yisok ignored the elder's shaking finger. That's when the young holy dragon saw its opening. Grabbing its master, the dragon bolted skyward, ditching the madmen. Moments later, we're in a chillingly quiet hall. Silence hung heavy. A masked figure hissed, "Is it found?" The answer was a crushing blow. Nowhere to be found, a mage groaned as his team collapsed. From the shadows, Yisok watched with a smirk. "Search forever, you won't find a thing," Yisok mused. His mind drifted back to the chaos within the secret treasury. Flashback. The Skeleton King's voice shook the walls. "Do you truly not recognize your master beast?" Crushed by pure authority, the guardian demon shrieked. But through the agony, a realization hit that familiar, terrifying energy. "This mana, could it be?" The beast howled. "I thought existence ended when you fell. But you're back." Subdued and trembling, the demon pledged its life. "I must serve my true sovereign once again." Kina Barit's scream shattered the memory. "Damn it, I have a million questions and you just vanished." Present day. Yisok pondered the rumors. The papal palace captured them. I need to dig deeper into this. The milk-chugging baby suddenly stopped cold. Reli Eshwa looked frantic, pleading, "Isaac, please, just poop for me." Beside him, a shadow spirit cackled like a maniac. "Laxatives, bring stronger ones right now," Reli screamed. Yisok gritted his tiny teeth. This family was toasted. Meanwhile, an elder whispered a terrifying, shaky warning. "If the matriarch finds out, she'll gut the poor boy." But Reli just tried to play it cool. The elder panicked. She literally sliced her own son open. Reli stood there, completely paralyzed by fear. She disemboweled her kid. Yisok's ears perked up. "Wait, isn't Melissa supposed to be on some holy pilgrimage?" He calculated his move. Absorb the mana, then bail before she arrives. Suddenly, a man burst through the door. "Reli, move it," the man barked. Reli turned confused, only to be hit with a bombshell of news. "The matriarch is calling for you." Yisok froze. Reli stammered, "Mother, she's home, already. She never returns this fast." Yisok's blood ran cold. "Damn it, is this happening because of me?" The baby clutched his stomach as the raw power burned. "I'm not done processing this mana yet. It's dangerous." Pure terror set in. Knowing Melissa, she'd cut him open without hesitation. Suddenly, someone gasped in awe. Look at this hoard of glittering treasures, the elder pointed, his jaw dropping at the mountain of gifts. All this for Isaac. Riley exhaled. Thank God the big boss wasn't actually back in person yet. His buddy laughed, calling him a total wimp. The brunette chuckled, explaining it was just a delivered message. The note said she was on the way, making Isaac fume. Just then, a knight rushed in with news. Sir, the papal palace sent a tribute. An elder immediately spat. Trash, sell it like black market junk. The knight sweated, whispering that the envoy was right outside. Then the papal representative stepped forward. His Majesty is deeply troubled, the envoy announced. He arrived bearing gifts as an apology and thanks. It seems our offering doesn't suit your refined tastes, he noted coolly. However, this will surely change your minds. Open the casket. As the lid rose, a blinding radiance flooded the room, leaving everyone breathless. This will be vital for young Isaac, the envoy declared. An elder gasped. No way. Is that the triple crown? Isaac was lost, but the shadow spirit saw the truth. It's just cheap metal, with a Pope sticker. Whispers rippled through the hall. Why would the Pope gift a baby such a prestigious medal? An old lady called for Riley as the envoy approached him with the box. Accept this. It belongs to Isaac, he said. Isaac frowned. If it's mine, why hand it to my uncle? Just give it to me directly. Riley's eyes narrowed as he pressed the envoy for the truth. Wait, the order was to give it to M.E., not Isaac. The envoy's grin turned wicked. Exactly, Sir Riley. Riley's temper flared, but the elder snapped first. He lunged forward, grabbing the envoy by his collar. How dare you, he roared. Handing the boy's medal to someone else is a death wish. The room turned ice cold. Every elder glared at the envoy, demanding answers for this blatant insult to their heir. Have you lost your damn mind, he roared, stabbing a finger toward the envoy. Do you realize the gravity of this? Handing this medal to our house is a death sentence. Kim Yisak froze, realizing the sinister trap being laid. Wearing a mask of fake piety, the papal envoy smirked. Now, don't twist the Holy Father's pure generosity. The ribbon says it all, the elder thundered. A sunflower medal? That's reserved for the dead, you bastard. Yisak scoffed internally. A gift for my casket. That geezer in the Vatican has finally lost his marbles. You dare mock our curse to our faces, the elder hissed. Sensing the boiling tension, Gol Eshua stepped in. Elder, please lower your voice, Goel pleaded, only to be met with a furious bark. Calm down, are you insane? Goel scrambled to de-escalate the situation, knowing one wrong move could bring the Pope's wrath down on their clan. Watching from the sidelines, a rival noble grinned. Talk about a low blow. Using a funeral gift to humble them. This smells like the Cardinal's handiwork, he mused. Perfect. This ruins everything for Relly. That brat is finished and my path is clear. Goel pivoted, fixing his younger brother Relly with a cold glare. Take it already, don't be difficult, Goel snapped. Seeing Relly hesitate, Yisak sighed. Tsk, guess I have to step in. Annoyed, Yisak made his move. The envoy suddenly jerked back as the gift box began emitting an eerie, pulsating blue radiance. Azure sparks exploded, wrapping the container in a violent, holy blaze. The force ripped the box from his grasp. The envoy let out a blood-curdling shriek. Goel watched, paralyzed with shock, as raw power detonated before his face. A massive sun of divine fire manifested in the hall's center, plunging the entire room into a stunned silence. Who would desecrate a holy metal with fire? The envoy stuttered, shaking like a leaf under the elder's stares. Suddenly, a tiny hand of flickering embers appeared. Kim Yisak grinned wickedly, his small fingers dancing to control the inferno. The envoy barked out accusations of treason against the Eshua clan. Treason, a female elder spat back with pure disdain. A literal infant did that. Are you really picking a fight with a baby? Flustered, the envoy tried to save face. He muttered about taking the gift back, but Relly cut him off instantly. Trapped, the envoy's face drained of color. He never expected such fierce resistance. Relly hoisted the melted hunk of metal, his voice dripping with venomous sarcasm. Must I treasure this garbage just because it's from the Pope? Everyone watched horrified as the sacred artifact liquefied completely. Terror gripped both the envoy and the elders. Desperate to fix the mess, the envoy lunged forward with trembling hands. Give it back, he stammered. This was a mistake. I clearly brought the wrong delivery. Too late. A torrent of emerald holy fire surged from the scrap metal, swallowing the envoy in a searing light. Agonized screams filled the hall. Meanwhile, the elders were busy cooing over Yisak, totally oblivious that the baby was the mastermind. Let go of me or you're next, Yisak fumed internally. Nearby, the envoy crumbled to the ground in a heap. Smoldering and broken, the man scrambled toward the exit, his curses drowned out by the elders' uproarious, mocking laughter. Good riddance, Isaac, an elder cheered, pointing at the wreckage. Throw that cursed trash out where it belongs. He cackled, enjoying the sight of the Pope's lapdog retreating. Then, inexplicably, the elders turned their beaming faces toward Relly. Brilliant move, Relly. Using holy fire was a masterstroke. Relly stood there, his jaw dropping in pure confusion. Patting Relly's back, the elder winked. Stop acting modest. We know you cast that holy spell through the kid. Mirelli blinked, pointing to his chest. I thought one of you did it. That single sentence stopped the elders cold. Confused glances were exchanged before a frantic debate erupted. Not a single one of them had touched the mana flow. An impossible realization dawned on the room. Simultaneously, they pivoted their eyes wide with shock toward the cradle. Since none of the adults were responsible, every pair of eyes locked onto the tiny, innocent-looking Kim Yisak. Could a baby really wield such power? Unbeknownst to them, Yisak was tapping into the legendary secret skill record. This forbidden relic granted instant mastery of any hidden art. Yisak smirked inwardly at his little secret. Glad I swiped this from the vault. It's a nerf compared to my Skeleton King days, but it'll do. Maybe it was his mother, one whispered. Impossible, another snapped. She doesn't possess a single fire attribute. This talent is unheard of, the bearded elder bellowed. Even the great saintess Melissa had to learn her ABCs first, before she could even touch holy magic. An assistant chimed in. Elders, don't forget the most shocking part. The brat literally shattered the Pope's personal blessing. The elder's eyes widened with a mix of greed and pride. Exactly. Sharp-eye girl, the old man barked. Quickly bring me that scrap metal. I need to see this for myself. A junior knight scrambled to obey. But as the lid flipped open, his expression shifted into pure bewilderment. It's gone. The elder froze his brain, short-circuiting. As he stammered about it being right there, Riley Eshua cut through the noise. I tossed it. That one sentence sucked the air out of the room. Besides, didn't you geezers tell me to scrap it? The elder's finger trembled with frantic rage. No way. That is absolutely crossing the line, kid. Deploy a search party now. Riley just smirked internally, as a dark, horrifying secret flashed through his mind. That infant actually liquefied the Pope's indestructible metal. He tightened his grip, swearing to bury the truth forever. The Patriarch can never find out. A sinister grin tugged at Riley's mouth. No evidence. Then it is just a rumor. Days later in the Eshua Westlands, black and blue capes danced menacingly in the rising gale. A heavy presence approached. Patriarch Eli Eshua led his elite guard, his cold gaze scanning the horizon as they skimmed the water. Target in sight, he commanded. Stay sharp until we breach the gates. A thunderous yes echoed back from his knights. My lord Eli suddenly halted his eyes, locking onto a distant point. The legendary head of House Eshua detected a disturbance. His eyes narrowed to slits as the grand estate shimmered under the blinding sun. Back at the mansion, the elders were having a total meltdown. How is this possible, they wailed. Meanwhile, Kim Yisak was buried under a literal mountain of empty bottles, rubbing his belly with a satisfied tiny grin. Why hasn't my Skeleton King form kicked in? Whatever that was, a top-tier meal. The elders hit the floor in despair. They realized that hundreds of laxatives and mythical fruits only resulted in one massive happy burp from the brat. The baby's eyes gleamed with malice. Gotta bond with these beasts. They will be perfect for wiping out the Pope later. Suddenly, a massive tail of pure energy whipped through the air. Every great family has a guardian beast, right? Yisak jumped, nearly losing it as a terrifying aura crushed the room. The Eshua guardian had finally manifested. Terran Bloom descended in a blinding pillar of holy radiance. The baby started sweating bullets at the sheer pressure. Maybe we just skip to the party. Before he could move, Eli Eshua kicked the doors wide open. The Patriarch has arrived. Every elder in Riley instantly hit the ground in a desperate, respectful bow. As Eli marched in, Yisak squinted, sizing him up. So this is the big boss of House Eshua. My grandfather, huh? The baby felt a powerful vibe from him. Suddenly, Riley dove in front of his father's path. Father, wait. Slicing the kid open won't solve anything, he begged, his voice cracking with desperation. Eli didn't even blink. Walking right through his son's plea, he leveled a finger straight at Kim Yisak. With eyes like molten lava, his voice dropped to a lethal chill. Incinerate him, Riley screamed, as Yisak went rigid. The baby's brain was screaming as his plan shattered. He grit his tiny teeth, while Riley continued to grovel. He's too young to be fried. While Yisak processed that insane logic, another noble jumped into the fray. I agree, that's way too much of a reward for a brat. Yisak's jaw dropped. Being burned alive is a reward. The baby stared into the void. A blessing. These people were high on some twisted noble logic. As a reward, Riley kept begging his desperation, reaching peak levels. Just a little more time, please. Or we could just gut him. Actually, how about we just drown Isaac instead? Riley blurted out in a panic. Yisak wanted to scream this family was a literal circus. Enough, Goel, Eshua barked, shutting them down coldly. Temple rituals are for awakening latent power. We don't waste such blessings on a talentless infant. Yisak breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, logic. Shuri is the one who deserves the blessing, Goel added. Riley lost it. Isaac crushed that demon. The holy dragon itself vouched for his power. The dragon was mistaken, Goel sneered. Don't be ridiculous, Riley shouted before dropping his ultimate trump card. He even melted the Pope's metal with divine flames, Riley declared. Goel didn't skip a beat with his retort. Please, you probably faked it with the elders. You have zero proof. Suddenly, the air grew heavy. Eli Eshua raised a mangled piece of gold. Looking for this, it was the sacred gold, a holy relic. A direct link to the heavens, personally blessed by the Pope. Yitzhak's mind started racing at Mach speed. Even in my past life, melting that thing would have been a nightmare. How did I pull this off? Did my reincarnation actually give me a massive power buff? Goel's jaw hit the floor. But how? Where was it? Eli's voice remained ice cold. I fished it out from the depths of Lake Eshua. Riley saw his opening. Behold, father, this child incinerated the papal crest, proving the Eshua clan finally holds all the cards. Rely and the elders were buzzing with hype. This kid's built different. He's destined to tank the Skeleton King's flames. As they tallied, the brutal losses dealt by the Skeleton King, Kim Yisak stood there, totally lost in the sauce. Wait, what? A phantom voice echoed in his mind. Someone's definitely out there posing as you, Master. The shadow entity dropped a truth bomb. Master, this all went down exactly 70 years ago. A knight burst in panicking. The Skeleton King has breached the manor to unleash his curse. Yisak was left speechless. Confused by the chaos, the knight roared in fury. That monster actually struck us. He swore to wipe out the Santos line. Meanwhile, Yisak did the math. 70 years back. Impossible. I kicked the bucket a century ago. The boy let out a confident, low-key smirk. To him, a low-tier demon curse was literally child's play. Then the knight detailed the curse's horrifying side effects. From performance issues to total baldness, Yisak grit his teeth, fuming at both the fraud and the cringe. A hair loss curse. How pathetic. Suddenly the clan head Eli Eshua locked his piercing gaze onto the boy. Red eyes, he's clearly cursed, he stated coldly. Eli immediately scrapped the outdated purification rituals. Fire and water are mid, he declared, stunning everyone. I'm granting him a Holy Spirit instead. Yisak's jaw hit the floor. This was unexpected. A Holy Spirit? No way. This was the ultimate cheat code, a path to god-tier power that even the heavens would kill for. A sly grin spread across his face. Jackpot. Time to give those arrogant gods a taste of my fist. Goel, the fifth son, stormed in seething. A Holy Spirit father, he does not deserve that kind of power. Holy Spirits are rewards for merit. What has this brat even contributed to the Eshua name? Burning that crest just started a war with the Pope. Goel spat, leaving Yisak looking totally drained. Eli's cold voice cut him off. Tell me, Goel, what have you done? When the church sent that insult of a gift, where were you? Eli roared, his eyes burning with fury. They disrespected us on our own turf, yet you let them walk, and now you're taking their side. Goel froze. Aside from hating on your nephew, what's your value? You're literally trying to sabotage his survival. Eli's glare sharpened. Even wild animals protect their runts. The Eshua clan is no different. We protect our own, no matter what. While Isaac gloated inside, Eli called him the runt worth saving. Instead, he saved our family's honor. Is that not glorious? Crushed by the verdict, Goel sank to the floor. The command was issued. Assemble everyone in the main hall. Standing before the clan, Eli made a grand proclamation. Isaac will receive his blessing. Days later, within the sprawling estate, Rely scrambled to keep pace with his father. Rely was a nervous wreck. Father, aren't you just giving him the spirit? What is with the mystery? Eli sighed heavily. Do you not get it? Using standard temple elements would completely cripple the boy. Purifying the Skeleton King's essence requires insane power. Normal holy elements would incinerate everything demonic within him. He would lose his talent for exorcism forever, he added coldly. The kid would never break past level 5. He would be hard stuck at level 4. Instead, I will let him decide his own path. Water, fire, or the spirit. A relative scoffed. I knew it, this is just a high-stakes test. He would never hand out a Holy Spirit for free. 3 glowing orbs drifted before Isaac as Eli gave the word. Choose Isaac. Rely held his breath, praying as the elements of fire, water, and the Holy Spirit pulsated. Please pick the white one. The entire hall went dead silent. All eyes were on the boy's hand. Then, to everyone's shock, he reached out and snatched the crimson fire orb. Isaac held the prize aloft, cheering like he had won the lottery. The skeptic from before just smirked. He nudged his disappointed buddy. Do not sweat it. Level 4 is plenty for a kid of our bloodline. He will still be useful. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted. The fire orb in Isaac's palm started to shatter. Pure raw energy surged out. Holy flames exploded with a violence that terrified the elders. What is this power? Is that the temple flame? Amidst the inferno, a majestic, ethereal figure slowly materialized. Rely stood frozen in awe. No way, an absolute beast of a Holy Spirit had been unleashed. Even Patriarch Eli was forced back by the pressure. Stunned, Goel begged his father for answers, but Eli's icy gaze silenced him instantly. I never claimed there was only one. Eli smirked, dropping a bombshell about their water-based lineage. Yet the child melted purple gold with fire, proving Shalak's calculated trap worked perfectly. Her cold mask shattered into pure rage as she roared with bone-chilling hatred. Eli Eshua, have you lost it? Summoning a spirit king to this pathetic mortal realm. The elders shook under her suffocating pressure, as her bloodshot eyes promised a total massacre. An inferno erupted, blasting everyone back, while the elders wailed in absolute terror. "Activate the shields," Goel screamed, fearing their entire legacy would vanish in the flames. "Not my doing," Eli coolly stated, pointing toward the child. "That boy summoned her." Eli looked amused, while Isaac, the true culprit, was busy sweating buckets. "I'm literally going to die," Isaac thought, as the majestic spirit king loomed overhead. Eli watched with fascination, but Isaac was low-key panicking over his accidental high-tier summon. How did a mid-tier ritual summon a king? A wild, dangerous idea sparked in Isaac's mind. Could his holy power bridge the gap? His shadow noticed the flames were magic-resistant. These flames turned mana into holy fuel. "Master, this is a total game-changer." Isaac agreed, but taming a literal deity was going to be a massive headache. As the hall crumbled, the boy played it cool, though he dreaded the divine realm's attention. The shadow prayed for mercy, while elders begged for the mad Holy Spirit to leave. This was the entity even the gods ghosted. Eli remembered the reason was totally petty. Apparently the gods just hated her hair color. Talk about ultimate levels of disrespect. "Shut up, ants," Shalak roared, launching a lethal blast of fire at the trembling elder. She demanded answers from Eli, who simply shrugged. "I'm not your master, lady." Eli pointed straight at the baby. Isaac could only offer a nervous, toothless grin. "A baby? You used an infant for a blood sacrifice." Shalak was absolutely livid. She shamed the Eshua name, disgusted that they would throw a child's life away. Isaac leaned into the baby act, babbling while plotting his next move internally. A powerhouse who hates the gods, Isaac knew she was the perfect addition to his team. "Let's test this brat," Shalak bellowed, preparing to see if he could survive her wrath. A massive fireball surged toward Isaac, who just sat there looking adorable and clueless. Eli screamed, reaching out in a futile attempt to shield the boy from the blast. Shalak laughed, expecting ash, but through the smoke, Isaac was still happily babbling away. Unharmed, Eli declared the proof was undeniable. "He is your summoner. Deal with it." "Contract or penalty, choose now," Eli ordered. Shalak's eyes burned with golden fury. "Penalty. Please," she scoffed. "I'll just turn this whole estate into a charcoal pit." She vowed to watch their home burn, but her monologue was suddenly cut short. Isaac had lunged forward, grabbing the now doll-sized fire spirit's leg like a snack. "Don't eat her," Eli panicked as Shalak turned pale with absolute paralyzing shock. "What kind of monster are you raising?" she shrieked, terrified by the infant's hunger. As Isaac chewed on her, Shalak struggled to escape the humiliation of being baby food. "I'll be back for your head," she cried, trying to activate her emergency teleport. Isaac's eyes flashed a predatory red. "Later, loser," he thought, as she vanished in light. A heavy silence filled the ruined hall. Everyone was too stunned to even breathe. Isaac went back to his doll, while his dark consciousness mocked the trapped spirit's fate. Shalak realized the nightmare was real. She was stuck in this tiny, pathetic form. The Spirit King was officially a chew toy, and her escape plan had completely failed. The Skeleton King's hellish aura coiled around her like burning chains, suffocating her mana, while the Eshua elder shrieked in terror. "What in the world is this foul energy?" Eli Eshua, unfazed, casually dropped the bombshell. "Oh, he just ate the Skeleton King's finger." Dismissing her son's panicked stare during a brief memory, the fire spirit confronted her own lethal vulnerability. As a creature of pure light, this corruption was poison. "Blast it. My strength is draining away." She winced bile, rising as the darkness violated her soul. Goel Eshua begged with desperation. "Make it stop," but Eli gave a frost-cold shrug. "Oops, my bad." Then another relative piped up. "Run that by me again. Aren't you always the first to charge in whenever that Skeleton King is mentioned?" Sensing an opening, Eli struck a deal. "Stay inside my grandson and cleanse every drop of the Skeleton King's mana. Only then are you free." When the spirit flared with rage, Eli smirked. "Fine, then I'll just let him eat you." "You're all insane, I loathe you," she wailed in despair. "I'd have ghosted this entire family ages ago. If you weren't related to the Saintess." Gritting her teeth, she finally relented. "Fine, I'll use this brat. To ruin that trash, Skeleton King's plans." Suddenly, Kim Yisak's grip tightened as a voice boomed in her head. "Damned what, repeat that." Spooked the fire spirit scrambled to negotiate. 4 more days. "Lock me in with this guy for 4 days straight." Eli mused, wanting more, then barked an order. "Swing open the East Castle gates. Escort Isaac and the spirit inside. Complete lockdown until the cleansing is finished." Goel Eshua cried out, "Father, wait!" But the East Wing, his father silenced him with a sharp "enough." Eli's icy stare killed the conversation instantly. No arguments. To the elder's shock, Kim Yisak was happily chewing on the fire spirit like a chew toy. The kid secretly celebrated, realizing his new prison sat right beside a massive stash of mana cores. Life in the East Castle began. Suddenly, a massive blast of corrupt energy rocked the entire estate. The staff gossiped, convinced the patriarch had discarded the cursed child. Young Master Isaac is officially out of the running. Is he actually cursed? Another asked. Duh, a servant snapped, paralyzed with fear. Peeking into his room birthed wild rumors, painting Isaac as anything from a bald geezer to a skinless corpse. A maid recalled, "Oh yeah, the master went in with that spirit. 10 years vanished amidst flames and agony. Time flies, huh?" Chaos suddenly exploded in the east wing as a manager sprinted down the corridor. Trailing behind were the maid's panicked yells. She skidded to a halt before a massive door hand shaking. "Lord Isaac, I'm coming in," she called out, her face tight with anxiety as she stepped inside. Scanning the room, she whispered, "My lord, are you okay?" She found Kim Yisak just chilling. He was sitting on the floor, enjoying a lollipop. She wondered, just how brutal is that curse? Why are you still so tiny? Meanwhile, Isaac smirked. "I'm staying small on purpose, obviously. An infant's body absorbs mana way faster." This was the ultimate shortcut to god-tier status. Shifting back, Shalak, the fire spirit, thrashed in agony, while a supervisor asked, "Sleep okay, Lord Shalak?" Shalak seethed, promising revenge. "I'll cleanse that little monster if it's the last thing I do." Isaac just smirked. "I almost finished yesterday," Isaac thought. While Eli watched from the shadows, Shalak barked, "Yo, how is your mana even higher today?" The boy's mocking grin sent her into a screaming frenzy. She couldn't fathom how the Skeleton King's darkness was still surging after 10 whole years. Isaac chuckled internally. "Because I've been draining the secret mana cores under this building for a decade." "You absolute clown." After 10 years, his mana peaked, leaving Shalak passed out from pure fatigue. The darkness inside him cheered. "Who needs school? I can cast level 6 holy spells now." He flexed internally. Back in reality, the manager spoke up. "Everything's under control, master. The Pope is moving his troops." Isaac whipped around, stunned. "The Pope," she scooped him up, explaining. "They're purging all 14 demons, those Skeleton King lackeys terrorizing the Empire." She tried to calm the panicked boy, but Isaac was fuming. "Are they nuts? I need those guys." She tucked him into his crib, oblivious to Isaac's inner rant. "Those frauds, I gotta move fast." A faint voice suddenly snagged Isaac's interest. Elsewhere, a noble praised his son. "Nice work, Shuri." The youngest ordained priest in history, his father beamed. "Even the princess is attending your ceremony." Shuri Eshua bowed his eyes, brimming with confidence. "It's nothing. I am your son, after all." "That's my boy," the father roared with pride. "You've finally grown into a real man." But before he could finish, Shuri vanished into a sudden vortex of blinding blue light. "Wait, Shuri," he cried. Meanwhile, Shuri screamed as he was hurled through the empty sky. He slammed into the floor, skidding to a halt right in front of a fallen child. "Hey, Shuri." A cold voice drifted down. Isaac loomed over him like a demon. "Wanna die?" Isaac sneered, still playing pretend. "You think that pathetic academy makes you a big deal?" "This crazy bastard again," Shuri cursed inwardly. Isaac smirked. "Your success. That was all my training." "I worked my tail off too," Shuri snapped. Becoming a priest isn't exactly a walk in the park. But deep down, he knew the truth. Isaac was the reason he made it. Isaac sat plotting. "Maybe I should start prepping for that too." Shuri noted that holy magic peaks after ordination. "You're going to help me, Shuri." Isaac lunged, his killing intent radiating like a physical weight. Shuri's bravado crumbled instantly. "Whatever you need, just name it." Isaac's smile turned predatory. Shuri turned pale. Isaac wanted the quiz prize money and every gift Goel had bestowed. "He's a literal devil," Shuri thought. He quickly hugged Isaac to pivot the dangerous conversation. "By the way, what's the deal with the Skeleton King's henchmen getting wiped out?" "They've stopped taking orders," Shuri explained. "They're just waiting for death, so they'll be executed." Isaac went silent, his gaze sharpening. "There's no other way. I'm doing it this year." Shuri's jaw dropped. "Isaac, a priest. Wait, you're actually serious about the ceremony? You aren't even enrolled." How Shuri asked only to receive a swift, painful reality check. "Am I a joke to you?" Isaac hissed. Shuri shook his head frantically, absolutely terrified. He explained, "You need a recommendation and legendary feats." Isaac's temper flared at the challenge. "This brat knows too much," Isaac thought. Shuri added, "You'd have to save someone massive. 1 month left." Isaac's hand shot out, grabbing Shuri by the collar with terrifying speed. "The princess is going to be there, right?" Shuri nodded, trembling as Isaac's grin widened. "She's the ultimate VIP, isn't she?" Meanwhile, back at the manor, a tense meeting unfolded. A silver-haired man stood like ice, ordering the 2 persistent guests to leave immediately. "Isaac isn't going to the capital," he barked. The teacher pleaded, "But he must attend the festival. That's where the next saint is chosen." But the family head remained an immovable fortress. In the shadows, nobles still whispered about the miracle Isaac performed 17 years ago. They hungered to see the boy genius, but were met only with cold, empty silence. The teacher wouldn't budge. "I've waited forever to teach him, plus the princess. It's her birthday celebration." Then she dropped the ultimate high-stakes bombshell. "The Pope himself will be attending." The family head froze. The Pope. The news hit like a blow. The Pope was personally bestowing the hero's title. It was a golden opportunity. "Isaac. He's still too young," the father stammered, wavering. Talent knows no age, the teacher fired back, refusing to let the moment slip away. Defeated, the family head sighed. The teacher cheered, so we have a deal. But the patriarch smirked. Fine, but you'll be responsible for the chaos he causes. Elsewhere, Isaac sat casually on a traumatized Shuri. His mind drifted back to the explosion. A mysterious figure watched the flames from afar, his eyes locked onto his target. So that's where he is. He sensed the terrifying power radiating from the recent blast. He summoned a king-tier holy spirit, a divine beast born to resist all magic. The spirit with the broken personality, he whispered. A dark plan was finally beginning. Those church elites are obsessed with hoarding divine spirits. He figured if he snatched it as a tribute, a high-ranking promotion was guaranteed. Little did anyone know he'd brought a secret weapon, a plant that kills holy power. The plan: sabotage Isaac's defenses, let the Skeleton King's corruption explode, and then swoop in like a hero. A muffled voice echoed from the hallway. "This is the spot, Professor." The doors flew open, revealing the guests. "We've been dying to meet the legendary Isaac." They crowded the crib, looking at the baby in total awe. Seriously, he hasn't aged a day in 10 years. Isaac stared back with innocent eyes, but inside he smirked. "Come to Papa, you beautiful letters of recommendation." The teachers were instantly folded by his overwhelming cuteness. They were literally clutching their hearts, screaming in delight. But the head of the house, he wasn't buying it. He glared at the kid, thinking, "You sneaky little brat, don't try that charm on me." Isaac just ignored him. He prepared to blast enough holy power to force the Skeleton King's darkness out of the man holding him. The boy focused every ounce of his will. "Go ahead, lose it," he screamed internally. But total silence. Seeing the fail, Isaac went full innocent baby mode, nuzzling against the man's chest. Wait, what just happened? His brain was short-circuiting. Why wasn't there a reaction? He knew for a fact the power used was massive. The fire spirit on his head was losing her cool. "Kid, what's the holdup? Just delete this priest already." But the man's face twisted into a greedy grin. A king-tier spirit, he gripped the dark-tinted handkerchief. Isaac played along, grabbing the cloth to wipe his forehead, but then he froze. That scent, it was off. No way. The realization hit him he'd been outplayed by someone even more cunning and professional. Suddenly, the fire spirit started coughing. Her body began glitching out like a broken simulation. She gripped her throat, shrieking as her holy energy turned chaotic. A pillar of pure darkness exploded out. The teachers were stunned. Sherlock had completely lost it, descending into a primal, fiery rage. Chaos erupted. "She's going berserk. Professor, get back." Meanwhile, the mastermind finally dropped the mask. He smirked, declaring, "Perfect. Now we just grab the spirit while she's losing her mind." He crushed his magic ring, whispering, "Now or never." A massive fireball ignited in his palm. He aimed a devastating pain curse directly at Sherlock. The explosion of energy swallowed the spirit whole. The snake pretended to be shocked, but he was literally vibing under his breath as the spirit burned. Sherlock let out a scream that would haunt your nightmares. But Isaac, he just sat there with a smile. "You really thought that would work," he thought. Suddenly, the butler and manager burst through the door. They were screaming his name in a total panic. "Isaac, young master," but the audience was finally here. This should be plenty of witnesses, right? Isaac mused, staring at the glowing orb in his palm. He closed his eyes, and like a vacuum, the demonic energy was sucked straight into the tiny crib. The room trembled under the dark aura. A teacher stuttered. "Wait, is he absorbing the corruption himself?" Isaac's eyes snapped open, his red pupils burning with pure main character energy and absolute confidence. He gave a casual snap of his fingers. Problem solved. Then he signaled the spirit to stand down. Instantly, a wave of divine blue energy washed over Sherlock, putting out her internal fires. Blue holy power. No way. The staff were absolutely losing their minds at the impossible sight. Sherlock hovered there dazed. The rage was gone. She looked at her hands, trying to process Isaac's power. The crowd went wild. He didn't just survive, he tamed the energy and quelled the spirit. The butler's voice was shaking with pure pride as he looked at his tiny master. Hearing a sound from the baby, he burst into tears. A miracle, he finally spoke. "I'm so proud." Isaac just sighed internally. Great. Why is everyone focusing on the wrong thing right now? While everyone celebrated, the traitor collapsed in the corner, his entire plan falling apart. How? How did he stop it? Sherlock floated above him, her voice dripping with pure ice. "I was going to ask you the same thing, you rat," she roared. "Who's the coward behind this?" The man tried to play it off. "Wait, it's a misunderstanding. I just wanted to see the kid." But the lie was dead on arrival. Who visits a baby wearing full fire-resistant tactical gear? "Run that back." A mistake, Sherlock roared, announcing that every fire spirit was officially cutting ties. "With the Vatican's priests?" she added with a smirk. "Oh wait, don't get it twisted. You nailed it, I just can't stand looking at your face." The observer reached out, gasping, "What?" "Hold on a second," he shrieked in total panic. "How can spirits break a divine blood contract?" Sherlock snapped back. "Forget those trash rules." Watching the chaos, Kim Yisak flashed a satisfied grin. With a final beat it, Sherlock pulverized the observer, leaving her broken enemy in the dust. She turned to her savior. Isaac, you rescued me, and even suppressed the Skeleton King's dark energy. I will stick around to repay the debt, Sherlock promised, clueless that she'd walked into his trap. The instructors nodded, agreeing to head back to the Holy See and report these wild events. The mission was a total win, and Kim Yisak couldn't mask his devious victory smirk. Riley Eshua burst into the office with news. Eli Eshua stated coldly, the Vatican gave the green light. Isaac is becoming a priest. Riley froze. Already, just because he saved some high-ranking inquisitors. And the Eshua clan, he scoffed to himself. No, it is because he commands a king-tier spirit. Zero objections possible, Eli continued. Plus, I made Isaac take a massive exam to test his brain. He revealed the scores with a blank face. The kid aced all 1,600 questions. Flawless. Riley was stunned, his face turning red over the boy's insane talent. He sighed, minus that attitude. The kid is perfect, Eli agreed. Now we just need the personality test results. Though it's probably pointless. Riley realized, oh, the one that uses magic to force the truth. Check this out. The first answer about the family made them chuckle. Conquer, it is all mine. But the second answer killed the vibe. After becoming a priest, execute every god. And the last one made Riley crush the paper. Wipe out this entire nation. Eli's eyes narrowed, his voice turning lethal. We are the only ones who saw this. Riley shook, realizing if Isaac retakes this test, he is dead for heresy. Eli slammed the desk, deciding right then. You will be ordained instead. Lock Isaac inside the mansion. He stood up, his eyes sharp, focus entirely on homeschooling him. Meanwhile, a door creaked open in another wing. A shadowy ghost drifted through the air. Whispering, Master, have you chosen? Absolutely. Isaac's voice rang out with total confidence. Isaac's small hand gripped his bags, his mind made up. Smirking, the boy swung his lute onto his back. Declaring time to bounce, the scene cuts to the massive Roman Imperial Academy in the capital city. Inside, the Holy Magic Wing, rumors flew. Word is a 10-year-old is actually becoming a priest. In the lounge, students were buzzing over the wild news, wondering if graduation would be a circus. Nigel Seffett, a stuck-up noble with red hair, scoffed. Just some toddler who can barely walk. Who does he think he is? Trying to be a priest, he sneered, looking down his nose. His friend asked in shock, and Nigel laughed. That brat hasn't grown an inch in 10 years. The Skeleton King's curse ruined him. Nigel glanced at his quiet friend. Right, Sherry. Another student tried to chill. It is probably just for show, making the friend breathe a sigh. But inside, he cursed that annoying jerk. I hoped he'd stay quiet. Nigel just kept talking trash. Must be nice living with a saint. Even a loser gets to be a priest. His friend snapped. Slamming the table, he screamed internally. This idiot won't shut up. Suddenly, a cold voice cut in. You're sleeping on the Holy See's priests, Nigel. Keena Barrett stepped out with a sharp smirk. Plot twist. The guy who actually nominated Isaac was your own dad, Duke Rion Seffett. Keena glared at the stunned Nigel. Didn't know you were dumb enough to disrespect your old man. Nigel turned red, screaming, shut it. You don't even go here. Why are you starting drama? The figure replied calmly. I am here because I was invited. I am the guest of honor. I am your new advisor and holy magic instructor for graduation. The stranger dropped the bomb, leaving Nigel and the crew speechless. The teacher turned to a nervous Sherry. I'm worried about you. Sherry Keena Barrett just twisted the knife. With Isaac's curse blocking his path to the priesthood, the Eshwa clan's survival rests solely on you reaching the patriarch's seat. But being offered a lowly, servant's role sent Shuri Eshwa into a silent, white-hot fury. Seeing this, Keena Barrett smirked, masking his bloodlust since the timing wasn't right yet. Keep your damn help. Shuri spat, rejecting that hollow sympathy. He stormed off, his heart heavy with bitterness, repeating a single mantra, stay out of my life. Deep inside the academy's elite dorms, a volcanic explosion of temper was brewing. A heavy tome slammed against the floor. Those absolute snakes looking down on me, Shuri bellowed to the empty walls, shaking with rage. His family abandoned his ordination dreams, all thanks to that runaway delinquent. Why did that failure have to stir the pot now? Useless trash. Shuri gripped his hair, drowning in misery. He hissed a curse, wishing the guy would go bald like the Skeleton King. Suddenly, a shadow stirred. An icy voice cut through the air. Repeat that. Kim Isaac manifested, looking ready to kill, sending Shuri into a total tailspin. Hair loss, you choosing death. Today, I'm here for my holy vows. Isaac stated coldly. Escaping was the only way since the patriarch and uncle tried to block me. Then his vibe shifted instantly as he toyed with a bizarre artifact. But moving on for a sec. Kim Shuri, you've really let your guard down, haven't you? Isaac brandished the mysterious item. Shuri recoiled in fear. Isaac's gaze flared with pure intensity. How could you let that bottom-tier trash from the Pope's clan treat you like a common slave? Shuri stammered an excuse, but the clock ran out. Shut it, Isaac roared, as a wave of invisible force slammed Shuri to the tiles. That parasite. dared to insult the Eshwa named Isaac, pounced without mercy, raining down a barrage of strikes. He screamed with crazed possessiveness, "Eshwa belongs to me, I'm the only one allowed to break them." Looming over his crushed cousin Isaac, dropped a chilling warning, "Etch this into your brain, Shuri." Pinioned to the floor, Shuri's mind raced with dark resolve. I'm the one destined to turn Eshwa into dust. Heaven help that lunatic. Isaac looked down at his broken relative and barked, "Quit being dramatic. On your feet. Move." With a devious grin, the boy set his sights on hunting the punks, who dared mock his kin. Shuri wobbled behind Isaac as they stormed into a grand high-end cafeteria. The crowded room went silent, as all eyes locked onto the mysterious kid. A girl with crimson hair whispered, "Whoa, that hair color is stunning." Isaac just hummed a dark tune as he strutted forward. "Who's the new guy?" Suddenly, his voice boomed, shattering the peace. "All right, which one of you clowns thought they could touch an Eshwa?" The redhead tilted her head, locking her gaze on the chaos. Terror gripped Shuri as he realized Isaac's endgame. A jagged memory pierced his brain. Wait her. This was a death trap. I've got to stop him. The Inquisitors will swarm this place if he starts a riot. Worse, that was Naki Sefet Nigel's own flesh and blood. A thunderous crash shook the hall as a table buckled. Shuri dove to intervene, but caught only air. Isaac was already standing atop Naki Sefet's table, looming over her with pure arrogance. Yo Red, he stood tall, casting a shadow over the girl. He pointed a finger directly at her eyes. "You messed with Kim Shuri, right?" Naki didn't even blink. "I haven't touched the guy. Nigel's the one who torments him." Isaac gave a twisted, intentional grin. "Oh, so you're confessing then." Shuri could only facepalm in utter despair from the sidelines. Without warning, a dark wraith hissed into Isaac's ear. "Master, I feel a strange resonance from her." A massive pressure exploded from Naki. It was the unmistakable divine power of a supreme god. Through the thick tension, a new voice cut in. "So you're the infamous Isaac everyone's talking about." Naki sneered, her eyes dripping with disdain for the duo. "A cursed freak and a puppet of the Pope." She laughed, mocking how the Eshwa clan would soon be erased from the 5 great faiths forever. Isaac mused that she was a textbook elitist brat. Shuri jumped in, trying to salvage the situation. "Isaac, stay away from those red-haired devils. We're leaving." But the blonde boy shrugged him off. "Pipe down, I've got a priesthood to claim." Naki's voice was like ice. "That's a pipe dream. Nigel will make sure the Holy See voids your application." At the mention of Nigel, Shuri's jaw tightened, his heart cursing that arrogant older brother. "Even without Nigel, you're finished," Naki added, as her hooded guard whispered about calling the Inquisitors. Shuri panicked. "Stop. 70% of them are in her family's pocket." Paralyzed by dread, Shuri grabbed Isaac's sleeve, trying to drag him back. "Isaac, let's go. Move it." Suddenly, a blood-curdling shriek ripped through the air, making everyone's hearts skip a beat. A monstrous limb, wreathed in sinister violet energy, crashed down and sent shockwaves through the entire floor. Right in the center of the hall, a nightmare took form. Pure chaos erupted as students scrambled in blind terror. "It's a demon." Amidst the carnage, Kim Isaac just flashed a wicked smirk. "Looks like my insurance finally arrived." Naki stood frozen, her mind racing, while her bodyguard reflexively lunged forward to act as a human shield. "Watch out, milady." But before he could finish, the beast's massive paw swatted him away like a pesky fly. The monster let out a bone-shaking roar, vaulting over the downed guard and lunging straight for a defenseless Naki. It was a blur of lethal speed. Just as Naki braced for the end, Kim Isaac held up a toy. "Yo, Tilda, chill." The monster skidded to a halt inches from her face, snatching the toy with a confused tilt. It bounded toward its master, slobbering all over the boy's face, while Isaac just sighed. "Took you long enough, slowpoke." Its massive weight settled back onto the stone floor, radiating an aura of pure, unadulterated power. The creature let out a low rumble, dark mist swirling. You absolute monster," the guard shrieked in horror. Shuri could only let out a shaky whimper. But with glowing crimson eyes, Isaac barked a single order. "Scram." The terrifying beast suddenly turned into a happy pup, wagging its tail before dissolving into thin air with a whine. Silence fell over the wreckage, leaving one student shaking on the floor. In the shadows, a voice hissed in awe. "Master is insane. Summoning a demon just for a show." Suddenly, the doors burst open as holy knights stormed in. "Identify the threat," their captain roared. Total mayhem broke out, and Naki shakily pointed toward the beast's trail. As backup was called and a high-ranking officer rushed over. "Milady, are you injured? Talk to us." Shuri's brain stalled. The Inquisition panicking, she scooped up Kim Isaac, trying to play it cool while backing away. "Okay, we're out, bye." But a steel-clad hand blocked her path. "Freeze. Nobody leaves until we get some answers. This area is under lockdown." Shuri's heart hammered against her ribs. "Oh man, we are so cooked." Shuri let out a nervous, high-pitched giggle. "We're just bystanders, seriously." But then, Naki's voice cut through the noise. "Taeho. Drop the attitude immediately." She stepped forward, pointing at the toddler. "This boy just saved my life." Dangled in Shuri's arms, Kim Isaac blinked in shock. This girl's personality flip was faster than a trending meme. Naki leaned in, her gaze softening. Wait, what did you say? Your name was Isak, right? Her face flushed a deep crimson. Look, I was out of line earlier. Sorry, but don't think I'm actually grateful. Shuri's jaw dropped at the classic tsundere energy. Meanwhile, the crowd began whispering about the mysterious powerful kid. A recommendation for a literal baby, one guard gasped. The rumors about his talent must be legit. A young girl wondered if this was the geniuses Princess Charlotte Alexia Hella of the Holy Kingdom had mentioned. Far away at the Eshwa estate, a magical orb flickered to life in Eli's office, humming with tension. For heaven's sake, Eli, why are you being so incredibly stubborn about this? The voice pleaded. He's a Blue Cardinal's grandson. Being ordained as a holy priest is the opportunity of a lifetime. Beat it, Eli Eshwa snapped, his voice cold enough to freeze fire. I couldn't care less about your traditions. My grandson stays under my roof until he's grown. Eli's jaw tightened as the voice threw out a final warning. The boy's ego will be totally ruined, they warned. Eli's eyes flared. Exactly, that's what I'm worried about. The voice shifted tones, dropping a bombshell. Wait, have you heard? A platinum-haired toddler is currently at the academy. Eli's heart stopped. Isak. He lunged for the balcony, screaming his son's name. Relly, get over here now. He didn't wait for an answer, grabbing Relly by the collar. Move, we're heading to the capital this second. Relly looked like he'd seen a ghost. Wait right now, but father, we need to be there by tomorrow. That's a 7-day trip. Eli checked his watch with lethal precision. We have exactly 23 hours and 48 minutes. The Blue Cardinal's gaze turned to iron. Then we run. Back at the academy the next morning arrived. Shuri was losing her mind, hammering on Isak's door. Isak, open up. What are you even doing in there? Why does a toddler with a head that big want to wear a holy priest's robe anyway, he wailed. Everyone's already waiting for us. Come on. He slumped against the wood, his soul practically leaving his body. We're going to be the laughingstock of the school. Can we just give up and go back home, please? He spun around, reaching out with raw desperation etched across his face. Please, Shuri, I'm begging you. Eshua went rigid, his skin turning ghostly with pure terror. Nearby, Kim Yisak flashed a wicked grin. Time to move, Shuri. Tension hung heavy in the air as the festival's final night culminated in the grand ordination hall. Nervous whispers rippled through the candidates until a commanding shout sliced through the noise, ordering everyone to stand. Shuri flinched in surprise as heavy rhythmic boots announced the entrance of the high-ranking elites. The legendary 5 patriarchs marched in, led by Goel Eshua, the arrogant heir destined to inherit the family throne. Goel straightened his collar, a cocky smirk playing on his lips. Soon the title of patriarch would finally be his. Suddenly, the Blue Cardinal Eli Eshwa burst through the doors, panting. Did I miss it? He gasped, lunging for Goel. Where's Isaac? Eli hissed. Goel blinked in confusion. He's back at the estate, right? Where else would he be? Riley Eshua sprinted over, gasping for air. It's too late. I'm pretty sure Isaac is with Shuri right now. The announcer's booming voice cut Riley off. Behold, His Holiness the Pope has graced us with his presence. Everyone bowed their heads in respect as the legendary Pope Julio Barrett made his grand divine entrance. Radiating pure authority, the Pope raised a hand to bestow a holy blessing upon the kingdom of Hela. As the elders bowed in awe, a sacred light filled the room. The blessing was sealed as his hand descended. Julio Barrett ascended his throne with regal grace. Once settled, a silver-haired patriarch scanned the room nervously. Isaac was nowhere to be seen. As the ritual officially commenced, Shuri gripped his glass, trying to steady his heart. When the name Isaac Eshua echoed through the hall, the Blue Cardinal's face twisted into a deep scowl. Stop saying his name, Eli grumbled. The boy isn't even here. But before the words fully left his lips, present a voice rang out. Eli choked, spraying wine everywhere. Goel and Riley whipped around in total disbelief. Standing there was a strikingly handsome young man. Kim Yisak stepped into the light, wearing a confident, devastating smirk. Shuri's jaw dropped. Isaac chaos erupted as Eli crushed his glass and patriarchs leaped to their feet in shock. What madness is this? Someone roared. Ignoring the uproar, the announcer called Isaac Eshua, step forward. The boy obeyed. Riley raced toward the family table, tears of joy streaming down his face. Isaac, you're finally here. Look at you. You're so grown up. And you're actually wearing the outfit I made for you. Whispers rippled through the hall like wildfire. Isn't he just a baby? Did the curse actually break? Even the other noble heirs were visibly shaken. How did he have such a massive growth spurt? Ignoring the judging eyes, Kim Yisak just flashed a chilling, enigmatic smirk. The red-haired patriarch gnashed his teeth, his grip shattering the armrest. Skeleton King, what the hell did you do to Yisak? Eli Eshua erupted in fury, convinced a puppet master was at work. That's not my grandson. He'd never smile like that. A silver-haired saint candidate watched the scene unfold with sharp eyes. Could the legendary Eshua curse have finally vanished? He whispered to his peers, wondering if this was a divine blessing instead of a nightmare. Yisak finally approached the high throne of Pope Julio Barrett, thinking to himself, so, this is the big boss. This guy's aura is absolutely monstrous. Suddenly, a reckless, dark thought crossed Yisak's mind. Should I just take his head right here? Detecting Yisak's bloodthirsty intent, Eli and Relly nearly jumped out of their skins. Panicked, Eli screamed internally, "I've got to stop him." He immediately caused a scene, shoving the red-haired patriarch aside. "Oops, my hand slipped," he muttered sarcastically. Another leader bolted upright in pure terror, screaming, "A cockroach! It's huge!" The brown-haired patriarch gasped, "Are you losing it?" But the man insisted. It was a cockroach the size of a human head. Amidst the mayhem, the priest barked for order. "Silence!" Shuri Eshwa stepped forward. As Shuri stepped up, Yisak scratched his head in annoyance. This delay was killing him. High above, Pope Julio watched the chaos with cold, piercing eyes. The priest then announced the ritual's most sacred phase, the divine audience. From the balcony, Goel Eshua watched with bated breath as a priest carried the Holy Grail forward, while the threat of excommunication loomed like a ghost. Eli whispered firmly, "A high-tier blue god is coming for you." Relly could only clasp his hands, praying for a miracle. He tried to stay calm, thinking, no matter how bad it gets, it couldn't possibly be an evil god, right? But Eli spat back, "If it is, we'll slaughter it," grabbing his son's collar. Eli stammered, "Destroy what Yisak." Eli's shout echoed as Shuri finally stood before the Holy Grail. The Grail is the problem, not the kid. Inside the hall, Shuri didn't hesitate, pricking his finger with a sharp sting. He held up his bleeding hand, bracing for the moment of truth. A single crimson drop plummeted, igniting the holy water into a swirling vortex of azure energy. Shuri's ceremony reached its peak, as a massive pillar of light swallowed him whole. "Yes, a high god has personally descended for my son," Goel roared with pride. But Yisak just watched with cold indifference. So this is the pathetic god of light they serve, a soft god for soft people. Yisak raised his own bloodied finger, his mind racing. Honestly, any god showing up now is just going to be a total pain in the neck. He let his blood fall into the grail. The high priest froze, his eyes widening as the droplet hit the surface. "What is this?" he gasped, sensing an ancient suffocating evil the moment the water was tainted. The holy water instantly curdled into a thick, pitch-black void. Suddenly, a violent explosion of pure demonic energy blasted out. From above, Relly and Eli could only stare in paralyzed horror at the nightmare unfolding below. Eli stammered, his voice trembling, "No, it can't be." Through the dark mist, a massive, bone-chilling titan rose. "The Skeleton King," Eli shrieked. The beast loomed over them, radiating an aura of absolute death. The Skeleton King was here. Eli collapsed, his eyes burning with a cursed red glow. Yisak stood there, totally stunned by the chaos. But Eli wasn't finished. He let out a low, predatory growl, his fist surging with divine blue lightning. "Die," he roared, lunging forward with a strike meant to kill. But the Skeleton King was faster. Abyssal chains shot from the shadows, wrapping around Yisak in a cold embrace. Trapped, Yisak's heart raced as a gravelly voice echoed, "I've been waiting for you, Saint." "Wait, what?" The Skeleton King roared a vow of destruction. "I'll level this holy kingdom, starting with this boy." Yisak just blinked, thinking, what's this guy's problem? But his own shadow entity was screaming in his mind. "He looks just like the old me, gross." It glared at the Titan. "Who the hell is this budget imposter?" It even took a jab at Yisak. "My master is a bigger loser than this guy," sensing an opening. The priest and the patriarch unleashed their full might. Two massive beams of destructive magic, one gold and one crimson, slammed into the beast. Amidst the carnage, Cardinal Eli Eshua braced for the shockwaves. "Get back," he bellowed, his eyes burning with an ominous crimson light. A menacing azure orb gathered in his palm, before a massive serpent of divine wrath surged toward the Skeleton King. The Azure Cardinal tracked the devastating strike with cold intensity, but the Skeleton King didn't even flinch. "Patriarch, that curse cripples you," the monster mocked. "Stay in your place." Suddenly from the shadows, the silver-haired patriarch let out a heavy sigh, worried the entire structure might collapse if he intervened. Then his eyes ignited with a lethal crimson glow. "You talk too much," he roared, detonating a second wave of power. Facing the dual annihilation, the Skeleton King's mouth twisted into a sickening, jagged grin. He snagged the terrified Kim Yisak, using him as a living shield. "Ready to watch your little saint perish." Yisak shrieked in pure terror. "I'm dead," a witness cried out as the chaotic energy peaked. The divine serpent closed in on both hostage and king. "Your own grandson is right there. Stop." Eli Eshwa just smirked coldly. "Relax. A true saint won't be taken out by something like this." Caught in the center of the storm, Yisak's final scream echoed before a world-shattering blast erupted. Blinding blue radiance consumed the room. Goel Eshua braced himself, shielding his head from the shockwave. The Skeleton King vanished within the inferno. The sanctuary couldn't take the pressure, and collapsed into dust. Nothing but rubble remained. Through the thick haze, Goel Eshua scanned the epicenter for any sign of life. "Is it over?" a nearby noble gasped. "By the gods, the Skeleton King actually returned." He'd been dormant since cursing the Joshua line 70 years ago. But then a sharp voice cut through. Wrong, Kim Yisak growled, battered but standing. That thing was nothing but a fake. Eli Eshua turned, relief washing over his face. Yisak, you're alive. The crowd began to murmur in shock. Shuri Eshua watched the boy confused. Didn't the king call him a saint? The patriarch knelt to offer comfort. While everyone celebrated the supposed victory of the Azure patriarch, Kim Yisak saw the truth. Yisak's gaze was sharp as a blade. He's still out there, he stated, shocking every person present. It was a mirage. A familiar shadow whispered in his ear, confirming his worst suspicions. A shadow clone, it hissed. Yisak's knuckles turned white as he felt the truth in his gut. It had drained his own mana. Did I lose my mana core too? Yisak wondered, his mind racing. He let out a dark chuckle. If that fraud has my core, I'll just kill him and rip it back. Meanwhile, Eli was drowning in old memories of his first confrontation with the Skeleton King. Pope Julio Barrett remembered too. If I hadn't moved, Yisak would have been collateral damage. As Eli stood silent and heavy, the Pope moved to comfort the sobbing Shuri Eshua. The little girl wept in his arms, but the Pope's mind was elsewhere, clouded by disbelief. He thought back even further to the ancient god his lineage had served for thousands of years, a deity above all others. Rage bubbled in the Pope's chest as he gritted his teeth in silence. He almost chose that Joshua brat, he seethed. The vision faded as Eli Eshua began to walk away. Back in the present, Eli and his companion approached the seated Kim Yisak. Yisak, let's head back home, Eli said, reaching out a hand to the boy. Suddenly, he gripped Yisak's head with a chilling, twisted smile. My grandson broke the curse so beautifully. Grandpa will get you some treats. Eli leaned in, looking like he was about to drag Yisak to slaughter. Duke, a freezing voice sliced through the tension. The silver-haired youth stepped into the light. Yisak isn't going anywhere yet, he declared. Suddenly, the entire ground began to tremble violently. Dark energy burst from the ruins as hideous monsters crawled out, surrounding them in a frenzy. Eli Eshua didn't blink. Looks like we have some loose ends to tie up first. The priests watched in horror, reporting that the situation was out of control. Then Yisak smirked. No need to rush home, he said, stepping forward to face the stunned silver-haired warrior. You arrogant brat, the youth snarled. You think a growth spurt makes you a saint? I'll show you what a real saint looks like. Yisak fired back, holy energy swirling in his hand. Purifying divine light, obliterate them. Yisak roared as the light tore through the demonic horde. The presiding patriarch gasped in pure admiration. That purification art is absolutely breathtaking. A century has passed since light this pristine graced the world, yet a bespectacled priest felt skeptical. Why stick to a basic cleansing spell instead of dropping an offensive nuke? In that moment, the Hellspawn weren't completely wiped out, fueling serious doubt about his endgame. Yisak smirked to himself. Remembering his mentor, he knew there was no other way. Salak was his only master, he pondered. But once this holy art hits level 6, he flashed a wicked grin, revealing the secret. It creates a massive AoE burn that melts everything. Suddenly, those beasts started shrieking in pure agony, more violent than ever. A silver-haired youth tried to intervene. Move. Your weak spell can't kill them. Silverhair scoffed internally, convinced even a genius couldn't push a holy art past level 5. He flexed on Yisak, bragging, your mid-tier talent is no match for me, just watch. However, the orb of divine energy in his hand literally crumbled into dust. Witnessing that fail, Yisak just laughed. Yisak mocked him. Aim for more than one spot, genius. Silverhair snapped back. Are you clueless about these? They heal instantly, but his desperate explanation was buried under Yisak's savage, non-stop cackling. Yisak crossed his arms, looking down on him like a total boss. Kid, you're literally clueless. He dropped the cold truth. These are all just decoys. Yisak's eyes scanned the wreckage for the heart. Blue divine energy pulsed from his hand, sweeping the room like radar. Found you, he muttered, spotting a tiny shimmering insect. The silver-haired boy was skeptical. It's just a bug, so. Without a single word, Yisak skewered the glowing pest with a pin. In an instant, a blast of pure malice erupted from the insect, slamming into the silver-haired boy and dropping him. Yisak grinned, holding the broken trap. It's a slow-acting poison. Right then, every other student hit the deck. Their bodies shook with agonizing spasms. The silver-haired boy bolted upright as the enemy's threat echoed back. That skeleton freak swore to wipe this holy nation off the map. Yisak's eyes narrowed into a wicked smile. These students represent the kingdom's entire future. While a high priest barked desperate orders through the chaos, Yisak just stood there calmly, observing his handiwork. Suddenly, a wave of golden light flooded the entire hall. Hold up, if you nuke them all together like that, Yisak yelled, panicking at the massive purification. Shadows still clung to the students. A dark voice hissed, Master, the opening is here. Yisak nodded deviously. You're a freaking mastermind. Pope Julio Barrett hoisted his staff, detonating a god-tier level of holy energy. The light swallowed, every toxin, bleaching the room clean. Yisak and his silver-haired rival spun around, completely floored by the sight. With a saintly smile, the Pope announced, "The toxic threat is neutralized. Those papal fossils are straight-up trash." Yisak grumbled, watching his play fall apart. Then, out of nowhere, a massive demonic claw slammed down. A colossal wolf demon emerged, howling. "You dare mock the great king. You're dead," it shrieked. "I'm taking one of you to hell with me." Yisak's red eyes glowed lethally. A crushing wave of invisible pressure flattened the beast. The wolf froze, gasping in absolute terror. What is this power? It was sent flying like trash, hearing only Yisak's cold insult. "Stop acting tough." As the dust settled, the silver-haired boy stood frozen. He couldn't wrap his head around the scene. Realizing Yisak deleted a demon with just a single glance, he gritted his teeth, fists trembling, stuck in total denial. "No way, how is that possible?" He lunged at another student, screaming hysterically. Only top-tier legends like the Pope can do that. Meanwhile, word of the Skeleton King's epic defeat went viral across the empire, shaking the nation. During a high-stakes meeting, Pope Julio dropped the news. "The holy water vessel we're tracking has hit a major snag." One patriarch piped up, "Is this because of the surge in outsiders?" But the Pope confirmed that was only the beginning. The real crisis was worse. The Holy Dragon's barrier was failing. Back at the Joshua estate, Yisak relaxed with the newspaper, piecing it together. So the invasion cracked the shield. And since the dragon is tied to the royals, the papal faction is just dodging the blame. Typical. A sarcastic voice chirped, "Look at my genius grandson reading like a pro." His uncle gave a fake clap. Riley Eshua beamed with pride, celebrating his nephew's official ascension into the priesthood with pure joy. With Isaac finally mastering speech, the time had come to force him into deciphering the Skeleton King's forbidden script. The heavy doors slammed open as Blue Cardinal Eli Eshua stepped inside his face, a mask of grim intensity. Scanning the room, he spoke coldly. "Glad you are both here. Isaac, beat it. We need to talk business." The moment Isaac exited, Eli's eyes sharpened. Without a word, he unleashed a powerful level 3 divine art. A void of total silence swallowed the room. Riley gaped, stunned by the sudden deployment of such high-tier magic. "What is so top secret that you are pulling out divine barriers?" his uncle asked, his confusion mounting by the second. Eli's voice dropped to a low whisper. "It is Isaac." His expression shifted, signaling a truly horrific revelation was coming. Back at the ceremony, "I am certain an evil god claimed Isaac." Eli concluded, his tone heavy with dread. That mark was no holy sigil. It was something never seen before. This bombshell left Riley utterly paralyzed with shock. Only the Pope and the Gold Cardinal witnessed it, Eli confirmed. And the Pope tried to delete Isaac on the spot. Goel Eshwa, Isaac's uncle, paced the floor, muttering, "There is no way the Pope moves like that unless it was pure evil." But what if it was not an evil god? Goel's dark hypothesis suddenly sent a jolt of terror through Riley. "The Golden Faith," Mark Goel noted. "Those purity-obsessed zealots have been itching for a reason to purge our family bloodline." Eli realized the Pope's panic meant Isaac had likely called upon a deity reserved only for the Golden bloodline. "He might have tapped into a god even they cannot control," Eli added, sparking a sudden surge of hope in Riley. "Isaac is the goat." Riley cheered only for Goel to instantly kill the vibe. "Not a chance," he snapped coldly. Eli barked out orders. Goel use a relic as bait. Dig up dirt on the Pope. Success means a massive reward for Shuri. And Isaac, Eli declared, "He stays under special surveillance until his internship kicks off. No exceptions." Eli's knuckles turned white. He knew the fallout would be catastrophic if Isaac choked during the upcoming trial of faith. The haunting image of a corrupted dark priest loomed in their minds, chilling the three powerful Eshwa leaders to their core. Panic flared. Goel and Riley could already see the nightmare, the entire Eshwa clan branded as traitors and executed. "Our children will not be exiled," Eli hissed through gritted teeth, his eyes burning with a savage protective fire. Cut to the academy, an instructor stood before the nervous recruits. "Listen up, your field internship begins now." Riley started a nostalgic trip, but Isaac cut him off with a massive eye roll. "Chill, you are making this sound like a draft." "Lock in, Isaac," a fellow trainee warned. "This evaluation literally decides if you are a hero or a nobody." Reminded about the life-altering task of forming deity covenants, Isaac just shrugged. "Oh right, that thing." When his uncle playfully brought up the ritual of sacrifice, a dark, menacing grin spread across Isaac's face. "I am hyped," Isaac smirked, "mostly for the chance to delete the Skeleton King's pathetic minions." His uncle beamed with pride. "Look at that burning faith," his uncle cheered, launching into an enthusiastic high-energy breakdown of the sacrificial rites. As Isaac and Shuri stood there like statues, the man spiraled into a never-ending rambling lecture on ritualistic theory. The uncle eventually lost the plot of his own speech. Isaac, bored out of his mind, just thought, "Man, he is really vibing." While the lecture droned on, Isaac leaned toward his demon companion. "Those low-tier gods better start praying to me soon, because I am going to rip them limb from limb." Misinterpreting the bloodlust for zeal, his uncle roared with laughter. "I love that energy," Goel shouted to his son. "The squad that tops the leaderboard gets the execution rights. The kill is yours if you win." Good luck, Shuri. But hearing the phrase group project made Isaac's soul leave his body. Isaac turned ghost white with pure dread. His uncle, misreading the panic, gave him a reassuring pat. Aim for the top, and get what you want out of this. Isaac let out a heavy sigh. Yeah, sure thing, uncle. No other choice then. Isaac thought, his lips curling into a bright, deceptively sweet smile. I will give it my all. Internal monologue, I will just wipe out the other teams and rescue my crew. Seeing that cute smile, his uncle finally relaxed. Exactly, there is no way this child becomes a dark priest. Suddenly, another man broke the mood with an anxious question. So, Isaac, back at the ceremony, which deity actually showed up for you? The question caught the boy completely off guard. Isaac froze, his brain short-circuiting. Inside his head, the image of a screaming, destructive dark priest flashed vividly. It was a revolting symbol. It made me want to vomit, Isaac muttered. The blood drained instantly from the older men's faces. That was definitely an evil god, his uncle stammered. They quickly pivoted, sweating. But hey, faith is all that matters, right? When told the Cardinal of Gold requested a meeting, Isaac simply shrugged it off with total savage indifference. Isaac's brow furrowed in pure irritation. What's that guy's deal now? The tension in the room became absolutely suffocating. Reli Eshua barked out the name of the boy sitting there with a defiant, arms-crossed attitude. Isaac Eshua. Reli and his brown-haired companion froze as an uninvited guest crashed the party. Kina Barit literally kicked the door open. His piercing gaze screamed that he had business there, while the others were busy spiraling into frantic, paranoid theories. Fearing Kina intended to murder Isaac, he lunged forward. Kina suddenly snatched the young boy's hand in a tight grip. He leaned in, his voice dripping with intense provocation. I genuinely thought you were trash. I'm dead serious right now, Isaac. Kina kept talking while Isaac ground his teeth, cursing internally. You crazy bastard, are you trying to catch these hands? Kina flashed a smug grin, claiming he'd realized Isaac spent 10 years hiding just to master his secret martial arts. He praised Isaac for keeping his elite skills untainted by commoners. During the ceremony, your god-tier talent was finally revealed. His words sent a chill down Isaac's spine. I'm actually getting spooked. This guy is straight up out of his mind. Kina reached out with a wild proposition. Train under my grandfather, and we will instantly dominate the professional world together. Grab my hand, Isaac. We'll decapitate the Skeleton King before a massive crowd and seize control of this entire empire. The brown-haired bystander stood there completely floored. Is this some twisted new way for the papal family to bully kids? No, he looks way too serious. These terms are actually insane. This whole situation is giving me major goosebumps. While the other guy was daydreaming, Isaac violently shoved Kina's hand away and snarled, "Get lost, you freak." Despite Kina's shock, Isaac maintained his disrespectful energy. Beside them, the brown-haired man couldn't help but smirk at the chaos. Exactly, he's always been a total lunatic. Kina desperately tried to convince him to skip the basic apprenticeship program. Isaac just stared back with cold eyes. I don't care. Then he pointed at the brown-haired man with pure contempt. If you want a real partner, take that guy. His power level is on a completely different planet than yours. Isaac's remark made the man's blood boil silently. Kina's patience snapped. You have talent so monstrous it repels demons. The shadow entity hissed in his ear, confirming his fears. I bet this jerk is only acting out to steal my techniques. That realization made Isaac want to cooperate even less. He shoved Kina back, shouting in pure disgust, "Beat it, weirdo. Just thinking about the Pope's lessons makes me want to puke." Kim Yisok's savage insult left Kina Barrett utterly speechless. Did you really just call my grandfather a disgusting old man who makes you vomit before the curse could land? Isaac thought I'd love to take his head right now. Suddenly, a massive hand clamped over Kim Yisok's mouth. This forceful intervention sent Reli Eshua and the others stumbling back. A powerful voice boomed, "My grandson is busy." Eli Eshua, the legendary Blue Cardinal, tossed Kim Yisok over his shoulder. Quit hanging around him, you little brat. Kina Barit screamed desperately as his target was hauled away. If you keep playing with that guy, Isaac. Eli tightened his hold on his rebellious grandson and growled. That kid's trashy personality is going to ruin you. Left in the dust, Kina and his crew stared in stunned silence. Meanwhile, Kim Yisok swore a dark, venomous oath. You Eshua filth, I'm going to personally dismantle your entire family tree. But first, the dreaded pentagonal test awaited. It was a brutal trial every trainee priest had to survive, overseen by cardinals from the 4 legendary faiths. Representing white, gold, blue, and black, Kim Yisok steeled his resolve. I'm passing this trial no matter the cost. Sliding into his trainee uniform, he looked around and asked, My squad is already here, isn't that right? He quickly saw the groups were split by bloodlines, a blatant setup designed to trigger a massive factional war. From across the hall, Shuri Eshua's arrogant voice rang out, bragging about rigging a team full of his own cronies. With a predatory smile, Isaac kicked the door open. Time to whip these losers into shape and save my men. He grinned, sensing his prey nearby. He's here. But ironically, Shuri himself looked confused as a voice ordered the crowd. Someone screamed, "Grab that bastard and tie him up." Before Kim Yisa could react, a mob of thugs surrounded him. They hissed that they'd heard he was the one messing with Shuri. The two leaders smirked, issuing a deadly threat. Think of this as a little game. If you snitch to Shuri, you're a dead man. Isaac just crossed his arms. He silently judged them. These guys are nothing but trouble. One teenager pulled out a baby rattle and sneered. Yeah, let's just call this a friendly social gathering. The entire group erupted into loud, mocking laughter at his expense. They say he's still just a little baby, so it must be true. Suddenly, crack, the rattle slammed down hard. The blue-haired ringleader stood paralyzed, watching in sheer disbelief as his comrade crumpled right in front of him. Bathed in blood, the gang erupted in a frantic chorus of screams. Who the hell is this lunatic? Unfazed Kim Yisak casually reclaimed his weapon. Friendship is the goal here, he sneered with a predatory grin, while his rattle pulsed with malevolent dark energy. So let's get nice and cozy, everyone. Through a cacophony of hopeless shrieks, Kim Yisak lifted the rattle like a weapon of war, as if it were a divine relic for execution. Suddenly, Shuri Ashua arrived utterly bewildered. Yisak, I'm only asking because I have no clue what's happening. He was met with a mind-blowing spectacle, Kim Yisak, lounging casually atop a literal human pyramid. Is this what you call a mixer? Yisak asked. The mangled bodies at the bottom wailed for salvation. Shuri, rescue us. He's your own brother. Shuri's cheeks burned with embarrassment. Tripping over her words, thank you for hanging out with my little brother. I'm literally begging for my life here, the victim howled. He shrieked in total agony. What is wrong with you? The theme is unity. Kim Yisak just tilted his head, feigning innocence. Unity. Can't you see them bonding into a perfect pyramid? That's peak unity. Kim Yisak deadpanned, sending Shuri into a panicked frenzy. They're only submitting because you're a terrifying monster, you freak. Kim Yisak brushed the comment aside, shoving a document toward Shuri. Moving on. Take a peek at this. Shuri's jaw dropped as she scanned the names. These are the leeches sucking the life out of you, Kim Yisak clarified. This mob has been bleeding you dry for 7 long years. A purple-haired punk tried to mount a defense. My clan has nothing left to offer you, he barked. But Kim Yisak silenced him instantly. Are you absolutely certain you're empty-handed? With eyes burning like demonic embers, he delivered a bone-chilling ultimatum. Your limbs are functional, and your organs are remarkably fresh. Within the crushing tension of the room, Kim Yisak voiced his icy demands. What I require from you isn't even that difficult. Listen up, you trash. I'm simply looking for a fair trade. He proceeded to dictate his terms in a haunting, hollow voice. So you'd better collaborate with total diligence. With pure innocence and absolute loyalty, he let out a low, predatory growl. Clear. From the bottom of the pile, a quivering voice whimpered. Understood. Fine, then our little party is officially over, Kim Yisak announced. The thugs bolted instantly, scattering like a swarm from a shattered hive. A brown-haired youth rushed to catch up, panicking. But what if we flunk the first evaluation? Kim Yisak just shrugged. Keep your cool and follow my lead. But the young man's anxiety wouldn't budge. The first hurdle is teamwork, right? Kim Yisak smirked with supreme confidence. Trust me, I've got the perfect strategy. He swung open a massive cabinet with a joyful flourish. Check this out. Crammed inside was another saint candidate, bound tightly with a gag in his mouth. His eyes were bulging with pure terror. Surprise, it's Tilda, Kim Yisak chirped, thoroughly enjoying his companion's look of absolute horror. The brown-haired youth lunged at Yisak, grabbing his collar and screaming, You absolute maniac. That's our teammate. He's our uncle's own flesh and blood. Kim Yisak dropped a bombshell with ice-cold composure. Actually, he's carrying a confession note, stating his resignation as a spy. Silence fell as they stared at the shivering traitor. Kim Yisak stepped forward and ripped the gag away. The brown-haired youth dropped to his knees in shock. Nigel sent you, didn't he? He demanded. The captive broke down into hysterical sobs. I'm so sorry. They gave me no other choice. Kim Yisak listened with a cold, bored expression to the shaky confession. His orders were to utterly destroy the Eshua team from the inside, the spy stammered, exposing the wicked plot to drain them through impossible demands, fully aware that Shuri's kindness would make her cave in. Then came the darkest revelation of all. It was Nigel himself who orchestrated the ambush on Yisak as a twisted, welcoming gift. Trembling like a leaf, the spy named the puppet master Nigel Seffet. Not only did he target me, but he's planning to eliminate my subordinates personally. A demonic grin spread across Kim Yisak's face, his eyes flashing with a lethal intensity. I think it's time I taught that brat a permanent lesson. Days later, a furious roar echoed through the halls of a lavish estate. Did I just hear you say you're quitting? Nigel Seffet exploded at his underling in a fit of rage. How hard can it be to play a simple spy? Why is everyone suddenly throwing in the towel? The minion stammered in fear. Sir, the social gathering. I just can't handle it. This only fueled Nigel's burgeoning fury. Disgusted and impatient, Nigel waved a dismissive hand. Whatever, just get your pathetic face out of my sight. A female aide stepped in to soothe his nerves. Don't stress, sir. We still have 3 moles embedded in the Eshua team who are completely loyal to us. Once those 3 strike from within their team is history. Nigel gnawed at his fingernails, his irritation reaching a breaking point. That little brat is testing my patience. I really should have erased him from existence ages ago. The memory of his father's interest in Kim Yisak only made his blood boil further. Invite that nobody to my manor. Don't make me laugh. Nigel bolted upright, his gaze sharp with murderous intent. Forget it. Everything comes to an end today. He wore a cocky, self-assured smirk. Nigel marched out with swagger, convinced that those Eshua losers were finally going to be tossed out on the streets. The candidates assembled in a grand arena, dubbed the Pentagon of Unity, as the supervisor droned on and on about the virtues of teamwork. Kim Yisak let out a massive disinterested yawn, at least until he heard that the first phase would be decided by a popular vote. He froze instantly. Nigel smirked, laying out the trap. A single no vote meant total annihilation for the squad. The game was afoot. Even with spies lurking, Yisak had a scheme to flip the traitors and save his team. Nigel's ego peaked as the supervisor stepped forward. The moment of truth is here, she announced solemnly. Her eyes locked onto the scroll. Green team, she called, while Nigel basked in his perceived victory. Nigel bragged about their loyalty, but the supervisor dropped a bombshell. You've officially conquered the Pentagon of Unity. Yisak shot back, a chilling, victorious grin. Suddenly, a frantic cry ripped through the air. Isaac, wait up. A brown-haired boy stumbled forward, gasping for air. No way. How did you get everyone to vote yes? Yisak played it cool. Remember how that greedy cardinal of gold has been desperate to see me lately? He dropped the mic. I told him, no elixir, no meeting. So the old man actually coughed up a golden pill. I just used that pill to buy off the spies, Yisak explained, leaving his friend in total shock. His teammate spiraled Yisak, bribed them before the vote. Yisak just stopped and flashed a devious, sinister smirk. Relax, I trust my team, Yisak chuckled. For a split second, his friend felt a surge of hope. Is he finally acting like a real priest? That dream shattered when blood-curdling screams erupted from the hall. The bullies were thrashing on the floor, clutching their guts. We did what you wanted, why are we dying? They begged for an antidote, but Yisak just tilted his head. Antidote, never heard of her, he joked, giving a thumbs up. I'm sure they'd never betray me, he mocked. His teammate wailed. Wait, was that pill actually straight poison? Technically, it was the real deal, Yisak shrugged, though his internal analysis told a much filthier story. The miracle pill was 93% flour, a massive dose of laxatives, and a microscopic speck of actual gold. Payback's a bitch for what they did to Shuri, Yisak muttered coldly, ignoring his friend's mental breakdown nearby. The bullies were sobbing, paralyzed by stomach cramps. Please, we passed the test, just give us the cure. Amidst the chaos, Yisak sighed. Fine, a deal's a deal. Let's see, where did I put that lifesaver? He gleefully waved a small, stained bundle. Aha, found it. Here's your precious antidote, boys. His friend froze. You psycho. That's a used diaper. Who keeps medicine in a literal pile of trash? As a bully crawled toward the cure, Nigel kicked the door in. Return my men this instant, you monster. He barked at his terrified lackeys, accusing Yisak of brainwashing them. But Nigel's rant was cut violently short. His subordinates morphed into snarling demonic beasts, lunging straight for their former boss's throat with primal rage. Shuri leaped in to intercept the carnage while Yisak inwardly groaned at her annoying hero complex. Yisak looked down at the trembling Nigel. Didn't you say humans only crave overwhelming absolute power? Nigel snarled, but Yisak's smirk widened. Wrong. Survival is the only instinct that matters. No one outruns the Reaper. As Yisak's eyes glowed, a murderous crimson, Nigel felt a cold sweat soak through his skin. No way, he stammered, paralyzed by an aura so thick it felt like physical weight. He stared into those voids, wondering if he was looking at a human or a literal god of death. Back at the Holy See, a high-ranking cardinal tapped his desk. 7 days just to see a rookie. Pathetic. An aide shuffled in trembling. Your Eminence. Isaac sent his regards. He is not coming. The aide gulped, relaying Yisak's blunt rejection. He said, if you want his time, bring a mountain of gold. The cardinal's face turned purple as a tide of holy fury erupted from his body. Drag that brat here by his hair, he roared, sending the aide scuttling away in terror. Elsewhere, Nigel Seffet was also fuming, his footsteps echoing like thunder through the stone corridors. He was obsessed with exposing Yisak's secret, until he ran into a suspicious group of outsiders. Who the hell are you lot? One of them snapped, catching Nigel completely off guard. What business do you have at the dorms? Nigel demanded, his voice dripping with cold suspicion. The leader stiffened, cursing his luck for bumping into a member of the hated House of Red. The attendants wanted this Red House pest gone. Suddenly, Yisak strolled out with a casual wave. About time, Yisak teased sarcastically. I've been waiting for my tea party supplies. You guys are cutting it close. The servants quickly played along, bowing low. Apologies, young master. Everything is ready as requested. Nigel stiffened, jaw clenching as he realized he was being sucked into yet another twisted game. Just as the servants turned to flee, Nigel's roar shattered the air, unleashing a torrent of purgatorial hellfire. The inferno consumed a screaming servant instantly, leaving Nigel looming over the blackened smoking remains. Locking eyes with Kim Yusak, Nigel Sefet let out a venomous sneer. "I've got words for you." Divine energy flared as he mocked, "Care for a little trial of faith." Shuri Eshua's heart nearly stopped. Execution or total family annihilation, those were the stakes as Nigel tightened his blood-red sash. "Touch this," he growled, "and see how it reacts. Consider it a little gift for now." A frigid, commanding voice cut through the shadows. High-ranking cleric Isaac Eshua stepped forward, towering over Nigel. "Refusing my summons for these petty games," the Cardinal of Gold boomed, his voice dripping with authority. Fury etched into his features, he seized Nigel's collar. "Do I look like a joke to you?" Cardinal Barrett Nigel stammered, paralyzed. The Cardinal sneered, unimpressed by the brat from the House of Red. "Touching my servant is a bold move." Nigel whipped around, staring at Kim Yusak in utter disbelief. The redhead dropped into a quick bow, cursing under his breath. "Forgive my insolence, Your Eminence." Kim Yusak clutched his chest, the picture of wounded innocence. "You see," young Master Nigel insisted, "that I shun anyone from the House of Gold. That's why I couldn't answer your call, sir." The lie hit Nigel like a truck. "I never said that, you absolute snake," he exploded in rage. Desperate to fix this, Nigel blurted. "Why would he want you? Trainees are strictly off-limits to bishops." Mid-training, Kim Yusak leaned in, whispering something secret into the Cardinal's ear, before flashing a devious smirk. "How amusing." The Cardinal turned his freezing gaze on Nigel. "Third son, you clearly lack proper work. I've tolerated you for your father's sake," he growled, cutting off Nigel's frantic attempts to explain himself. "Wait, please." But it was too late. The Cardinal of Gold had already decided his fate. Nigel wailed as Barrett issued his decree. "Your team will handle extra tasks involving the Sanctus seeds." "Follow me," Barrett ordered, but Kim Yusak masterfully sidestepped. "1,000 apologies, Your Eminence, however. The Cardinal of Red has requested my presence first." Nigel stared, paralyzed by such a brazen lie. Yusak spun his web effortlessly. The Cardinal of Red, Barrett asked, his voice laced with sudden suspicion. "Exactly, just now," Yusak chirped, leaving Nigel drowning in a sea of total confusion and shock. How did he know? Cold sweat drenched Nigel as he realized he was trapped in a deadly corner. "If Barrett loses respect for me, I'm finished." Desperation clawed at Nigel as he looked for an exit. Throwing an arm over Yusak's shoulder, Nigel tried to fake it. "Right, I'm here to escort Isaac myself. So we'll be going now." But the Cardinal's stare remained cold enough to freeze his blood. Nigel flinched, his plan crumbling before his eyes. He stammered frantically, searching for a new lie. Defeated, he surrendered to the chaos. "A prior engagement. Fine then. Get out of my sight." With a dismissive wave, the Cardinal turned away. Nigel exhaled in relief, but the nightmare wasn't over. "Since you've inconvenienced us, expect double duty starting tomorrow." The words hit Nigel like a physical blow. Nigel screamed internally, fighting for control. But when he looked back, Kim Yusak had completely disappeared. "Where's the rat?" Nigel barked. A bystander pointed lazily. "Oh, he's just taking a nap. Growing boys need their rest." Nigel's jaw dropped. "It's only 2 p.m." He hammered on the door. Behind the door, Yusak slept like a baby while his new pawns guarded the entrance. 3 days later, the only sound was the pathetic squeak of a damp mop. Nigel Sefet was busy scrubbing tiles. "I'll murder you, Isaac," he hissed through gritted teeth, eventually collapsing in a heap of pure resentment. 18 hours of cleaning. This was insanity. Broken Nigel turned to the only person who could help. He poured his failures and frustrations into a communication orb, pleading with his indifferent family for salvation. "I'll drag that brat to my father myself. First, I just need to catch him." He staked out the prayer room, waiting to strike. 6 grueling hours later, his patience finally snapped. Suddenly, a teammate barged in. "Get moving. Work isn't done." Nigel was dragged away, kicking and screaming. "Isaac, stay right there," Nigel screamed, his voice raw with desperation. But then his blood ran cold. A mysterious figure stood lurking in the shadows. It was Kim Yusak himself, wearing a triumphant smirk. He gave a mocking wave as his rival was dragged away in total ruin. Yusak's wicked laughter filled the air. "You're a straight-up monster," another candidate spat, watching the cruel display with pure disdain. "Did you come here just to flex on him?" the boy asked. Yusak shrugged casually. "Why not? It's more fun this way." Even his shadow entity was puzzled. Why choose the Cardinal of Red? Yusak's logic, however, was razor-sharp and calculated. "Cardinal Barrett will never let us reach king," Rank Yusak explained. "In this world, you're either an irreplaceable king or a trash-tier skeleton." The shadow hissed a curse, realizing the stakes. If they were branded as skeletons, they'd be tossed out like garbage. "A skeleton rank equals exile," Yusak muttered. "Barrett doesn't want to test me. He wants me 6 feet under." Then the bombshell dropped. Yusak's mother was once Barrett's fiancée. Yusak froze as the weight of an ancient blood feud hit him. His father had literally stolen the Cardinal's bride. Yisak watched, stunned, as his shadow poked its head out of a literal paper bag. Listen, his ally urged. If you want to chain Barrett down, you need the Cardinal of Red in your corner. The strategy was simple: sabotage Barrett's faction during the Red faction's trials. If they failed, the power balance would shift. An unspoken pact would be born. Yisak leaned back, a confident grin spreading across his face. Yeah, this works for me. But as he opened his mouth, a blood-soaked hand suddenly slammed over it. His teammate spun around, seeing only empty air. Wait, did you say something? The friend asked. But Yisak was gone, sitting alone in a silent prayer room, whispering Isaac's name. Meanwhile, in a hall of pure gold, a heavy knock echoed. The Cardinal of Gold sat waiting behind massive ornate doors. The second he granted entry, the doors vaporized in a spectacular explosion of fire. Through the swirling smoke, Kim Yisak emerged. Well, if it isn't the kidnapper, keeping well, Yisak sneered, his voice dripping with absolute sarcasm and venom. You act so holy, yet you send goons to snatch me in the night, Yisak laughed. The Cardinal's expression turned to ice. Mind your manners, brat. We have business, the Cardinal growled. Yisak cut him off instantly with a dismissive roll of his eyes. Oh, I bet. You summoned me because I've been ghosting your invites, right? The Cardinal finally snapped, using the boy's full name. Isaac, Joshua, I'm adopting you. You're joining the Golden family. Yisak's brain short-circuited. This offer was beyond insane. Adoption. Into the most powerful family. The shock lasted only a second before a white-hot rage flared in his mind. Is this some sick joke? Is he trying to mock me? Or is this just a new scheme to bury the Joshuas? No hidden agendas, the Cardinal insisted. Abandon the Joshua name and become a Barrett. That is my proposal. Yisak's suspicion only deepened. Was this because that fake skeleton king labeled him a saint? He couldn't trust a single word. Then he brushed the theories aside. It didn't matter why. Yisak looked up, eyes sharp. Let's talk shop. What's in it for me? The Cardinal blinked, caught off guard. This kid wasn't intimidated, he was actually looking for a payout. Yisak smirked, leaning in. If this is a contract, I need to see the receipts. What are the terms? A dangerous, knowing smile touched the Cardinal's face. A mere child trying to play chess with me. Fascinating. I will give you everything the Joshuas can't afford. Yisak didn't buy it, letting out a sharp, mocking laugh of defiance. My family has plenty, really, because I heard they're planning to cage you, the Cardinal countered, striking a nerve. He pointed toward a kneeling acolyte. The Vatican demands chains and sacrifice. They will restrict your every move. But the Golden family, we are your engine. We will fund and support every single one of your ambitions. Yisak narrowed his eyes, sensing the leverage. Still, not enough. Unless, you're planning to make me something more. Make me the next head of the Barrett family. The Cardinal went dead silent. I thought you wanted to be a saint. Now you want the papacy too. Joining my side is the only way you'll ever sit on that throne. Yisak just shrugged. I'm still a Vatican man at heart, but the list of bribes, land, gold, and total immunity was massive. After a long silence, Yisak finally gave a slow nod. I'll consider it. Excellent, the Cardinal purred, satisfied. We start the paperwork immediately. Wait, Yisak warned, not a word to the Joshua family. Keep this quiet. The Cardinal reluctantly agreed. Yisak's grin turned predator-like. Good. I'll be the one to reveal this little secret. But the secret was already out. At the end of the dark corridor, another saint candidate stood paralyzed with terror. He'd overheard the entire forbidden deal. He let out a muffled scream as he realized the Cardinal's shadow loomed behind him. The pressure was suffocating. His knees buckled, and he collapsed to the floor in a fit of pure, unadulterated panic. I didn't hear a thing, I swear, he shrieked, scrambling away into the darkness, fleeing from the golden nightmare. The Cardinal let out a weary sigh, his face a mask of total indifference. Without a word, the Cardinal of Gold turned and walked away, his heart as cold as ice. He sneered, dismissing Kim Yisak's words as mere noise. I said I'd consider it, Kim shot back, never, that I'd actually step foot in that place. Wearing a mocking smirk, the boy doubled down on his defiance. I wouldn't join the Pope's family if my life depended on it. The Cardinal's eyes narrowed. Even if you die. Exactly, came the unwavering response. The Cardinal ground, his teeth, his patience, finally snapping at the boy's blatant arrogance and stubborn pride. You're the spitting image of your mother, he hissed, a twisted grin spreading across his face. From that sharp tongue to your defiant, annoying gaze. He dropped a chilling threat, claiming a single word from his lips could excommunicate the boy, effectively erasing his entire future in an instant. Lunging forward, the Cardinal seized Kim's collar, his voice a low, dangerous growl. You know the consequences, yet you still dare to speak such treason. Kim Yisak didn't even flinch. Instead, his smirk only widened. Then I'll just build a nation that has absolutely no use for priests or popes. A kingdom doesn't need two masters anyway. It'll be my country through and through. The Cardinal froze, completely stunned by the boy's sheer audacity. What kind of monster are you? The Cardinal stammered, his regal facade completely crumbling into a mess of pure shock and confusion. Suddenly, Kim's intensity vanished, replaced by a radiant, almost innocent smile. Well, you need at least this much guts to take down the Skeleton King, right? He shrugged casually, adding, let's just act like that adoption offer never happened. Honestly, it's better for your reputation, too. As the Cardinal tried to stop him, Kim glanced back with a glint in his eye. Actually, thanks to your little stunt, I'm more interested than ever. He leaned in close, his voice a haunting whisper against the Cardinal's ear. I can't help but wonder what really went down at that investiture ceremony. What scandalous secret would drive you to desperately try and adopt the direct heir of your biggest rival family? The question hit the Cardinal's mind like a physical hammer blow. Kim capped off the performance with a razor-sharp, victorious grin, certain of his strike. The entire empire is dying to know the truth, he added. Meanwhile, back at the Joshua estate, a roar of pure disbelief shattered the silence. He cleared the 5-point unison. Elijah bellowed, his face contorted in rage. How did Isaac do that? He was destined to fail miserably. Joshua turned away, his voice trembling with bitter frustration. Damn it, my faith must be wavering. He sank to his knees, looking utterly defeated. The patriarch lifted the holy chalice, offering a desperate prayer to the Lord. But his moment of peace vanished as he snarled at the shadows. Get out, I want that grandson out of my sight. Benjamin Joshua, the second son, watched the chaos unfold in a state of total confusion. What happened to this family while I was gone? He asked with a hollow, sarcastic laugh. Since when do we use holy faith just to curse people? When Benjamin asked if Isaac was truly a troublesome brat, Joshua stepped up immediately to defend the boy's character. The boy is actually brilliant, kind, polite, and incredibly sharp, Rely explained, trying to talk some sense into the skeptical Benjamin. While their father continued his hateful chanting, Benjamin mused, maybe father is just overwhelmed. We finally have an heir with potential, yet I feel this strange dread. The tension was thick. Eli still couldn't wrap his head around how his grandson had defied the divine odds and cleared the test. Why didn't the blessing take hold? Eli obsessed. Rely watched his father, knowing full well the blessing was actually a malicious curse in disguise. Regardless, Rely said with a sigh of understanding, that child is now the most important piece on grandfather's chessboard. Just then, a clear, sharp voice sliced through the tension as Leah Joshua made her grand entrance. Greetings, patriarch and uncle. The girl immediately probed for answers. But seriously, how did he survive the unison? Eli only offered a cold, dismissive grunt in response. The Blue Cardinal spoke in a hushed tone, his worry plain to see. The Vatican is showing a dangerous, excessive amount of interest in Isaac. Rely kept his thoughts private, but he knew the truth. The boy's talent was simply too explosive to be ignored any longer. A suffocating dread filled the room, weighing heavy on the Joshua men. Suddenly, Benjamin's eyes locked onto a mysterious, strange envelope. Father who sent that letter, Eli Joshua let out a heavy, mournful sigh before dropping a bombshell that left his sons reeling. It's from your fourth brother, Eli stated coldly, his eyes darkening. This letter belongs to your estranged older brother, Noel. Eli was stunned, his mind racing as he thought of his long-lost brother. Had Noel really reached out after all these years? The letter's arrogant tone was like a blade through the patriarch's pride. Rage flared in Eli's eyes as he growled in fury. This is exactly why we need to break Isaac and re-educate him, he roared, turning his threatening glare toward a startled Rely. Benjamin quickly tried to de-escalate the tension, but the boy cleared the harmony test. Maybe there's still a glimmer of hope for him. The mechanical bird in Eli's hand suddenly screeched with mechanical fury. Hope, don't make me laugh. That's absolute nonsense. It transformed into the fire spirit Shallock. What's wrong, Shallock? Eli asked. That bastard is using a toy drum to beat other kids senseless, she shrieked. Shallock continued her frantic ranting, while Benjamin could only shake his head and sigh. Well, that sounds like typical Isaac behavior. Rely Joshua was left speechless as more reports came in. The boy had apparently used poison and blackmail just to breeze through the exam. As Eli tried to maintain his sanity, Shuri Joshua burst into the room, his face pale with pure terror as he screamed the news. Cardinal Barit has officially demanded to adopt Isaac, he panicked. The room plunged into a deathly silence as the brothers scrambled to defend him. Sherry's voice trembled as she dropped the bombshell. Father Isaac was still in Eshwa, and there was no way he'd just vanish. Perfect, he hissed. Relly's grip tightened on Sherry as a roar of pure agony erupted, demanding to know how Isaac had been played. While servants gossiped about Gold fixing their problems, Eli's thunderous rage shattered the air, silencing every soul in the room. I am still breathing and standing right here, he growled, yet they have the audacity to lay a finger on my blood. The patriarch's murderous aura choked the room, just as a shimmering chest creaked open, blinding everyone with its contents. Gasps filled the hall. The other candidates couldn't believe their eyes. That mountain of gold clearly bore the Barrett family crest. It was all for Isaac. The whispers turned into a frenzy. Maybe those rumors about Isaac's ties to the Pope's inner circle were legit. Isaac didn't buy the hype, though. To him, this was nothing but hush money meant to keep his mouth shut for good. The boy smirked at the treasure, his mind already spinning new webs until a candidate suddenly stepped forward with a flag. The banner read, "To Joshua Isaac, of the Azure Faith." Isaac froze. The gold was one thing, but this made zero sense. "What the heck is this?" he breathed. A messenger stepped out from the shadows and pressed a sealed letter into his hand. The patriarch sent this. That cheap old fossil sweat pricked Isaac's brow as he slowly broke the seal, his heart hammering. His eyes widened in horror. Inside was a drawing of Eli Eshwa, throwing a finger heart with the caption, "You are one of us." Isaac felt his soul leave his body. Why the sudden love? Before he could process the cringe, a new figure flickered into view. Isaac jumped out of his skin. Standing right there was his sister Leah Eshwa, looking as sharp and terrifying as ever. He went ghost white. The matriarch herself was looming in the background. "No way. She is here too," he whimpered, shaking like a leaf. Total panic mode. "Damn it, Melissa, why?" Now he cursed internally. "Do you have any idea how hard I tried to avoid you?" Desperate, he grabbed the nearest candidates, using them as human shields while his eyes scanned for the nearest exit. A brown-haired guy shook him back to reality. "Dude, chill. It is just a high-definition projection from the communication orb, right?" Isaac did not care about the tech. He just threw a snap punch right into the guy's face. "You absolute jerk. You nearly gave me a heart attack," he spat. "Snap out of it. I genuinely thought that monster had tracked me down." As the candidate crumbled to the floor, a chilling, authoritative voice boomed from the orb, freezing the entire room. "So you are Isaac." Melissa's image flickered. "Word on the street is you have been leveling up at a scary pace." She flashed a sharp, knowing smirk. "I guess the rumors were true. You actually broke the Skeleton King's curse." "Impressive," she purred. Isaac exhaled a breath he did not know he was holding. "Thank God it is just a hologram. If we are not face to face, there is no way she will sniff out that I am actually the Skeleton King myself." Melissa did not stop. "I heard his goons snatched you up. You must have gone through hell out there," she teased. Her eyes were like ice. Suddenly, a mysterious woman with emerald hair cut through the crowd, her gaze locked on Isaac. "Isaac," she barked. Kim Ye-sok's blood ran cold. "Wait, can she actually sense my power through a screen?" She radiated pure, unfiltered bloodlust. "Explain yourself," she hissed. "Why do I feel Isaac's literal essence coming off you?" His mind raced. It had to be that cursed finger of the Skeleton King he had gulped down 10 years ago. But reality hit him like a truck when Melissa and Leah Eshwa suddenly materialized right in front of his eyes. Melissa beamed at the boy who had eaten the finger. "Ah, Relly told me all about your little secret. Isaac is not even supposed to be here." Kim Yisak gritted his teeth, his head spinning with dark, reckless schemes. From the sidelines, another candidate watched with wide eyes, wondering why these heavy hitters were crashing the party. Nigel Seffet was busy trash-talking the Saintesses to his buddy when Melissa marched straight into his personal space. "I have got my eye on you, Little Red," she declared, before ruthlessly tearing apart every single one of his failures. An invisible pressure slammed Nigel into the dirt. As he wallowed in shame, Leah stuck her tongue out like a brat. After teasing Yisak, Melissa turned to Isaac with a look that spelled trouble. "I have prepared a very special reward." Yisak's eyes turned into dollar signs. A gift, is it cash? But what she had in store was a literal nightmare. "My ultimate move, the one that crushed the Skeleton King." The boy with the king's power felt his heart stop. He stood there, stunned by the priceless gift. Meanwhile, Nigel let out a pathetic howl of defeat as his team dragged him away. As they hauled Nigel off, the green-haired woman scanned the crowd, her expression hardening with deadly resolve. "This ends now," Melissa's voice boomed over the kneeling boy. "Did you really think I would ignore you poisoning your own team?" A disgraced applicant named Malik hit the floor, pointing a finger at Kim Ye-sok. "Saintess, I'm exposing everything," he shrieked. With a snake-like grin, Nigel's top spy played his part, claiming Ye-sok poisoned the team to cheat the harmony test. Malik faked a sob, begging for the crowd's pity, while the entire hall watched the drama unfold. "A candidate using poison," Melissa muttered, her confusion growing as the scandalous accusations began to catch fire. Terror gripped her at the accusation, but Kim Ye-sok remained chillingly stoic behind her. Nigel Seffat smirked from the shadows, whispering, "Perfect. Oust him and you're officially on my squad." Kim Ye-sok, the green-haired woman, barked. He froze, turning to find Melissa's vibe had completely shifted. "You think poison is enough?" she hissed. Malik blinked, stunned by her cold claim that poison lacks spiritual kick. Total failure. Panicking, Malik grabbed Melissa's hand, instantly flipping his script. "Wait, Saintess, he totally wrecked us." Melissa froze, before dropping some absolutely unhinged logic on Ye-sok. "Listen up, Ye-sok. Bruising skin is useless. Next time snap their bones instead." She almost broke her own arm for a demo until Leah intervened. "Stop, you'll kill him," Malik shrieked. Leah reached for the trembling Malik, grinning like a demon. "Need a hand, I've got you. I'll snap them in one go." As Malik's screams filled the hall, Ye-sok finally stepped in. "I've got this." Melissa watched silently as Ye-sok leaned in, whispering death into Malik's ear. He hissed at the cowering boy. You really should have taken my threats seriously when you had the chance. Yisak snatched Molek's collar, laughing darkly. Congrats. You're officially my personal meat shield and servant. The Joshuas are straight-up psychos, the spy muttered. Cut to a breathtaking mansion bathed in light. Sunlight flooded the room as Yisak sighed. Suddenly, a voice echoed Yisak. Do you want the throne? Sure, why not, he shrugged. Melissa Eshwa cut to the chase. And what's your first move as head? Yisak dropped a bombshell. Wipe out the Saintesses. Molek instantly lost it, screaming in pure horror. While Melissa probed, Yisak muffled the sobbing Molek. Looking her dead in the eye, the boy declared, I'll slay the Skeleton King. And you? You should retire from being a Saintess matriarch. Grandma Leah stood frozen, but Melissa just smirked, intrigued by the kid's massive balls. I've committed an unforgivable sin, Melissa whispered, as a haunting flashback began to unfold. A young Leah clutched a wooden sword, hearing Melissa speak of the one shot at killing the king. She spoke of a once-in-a-millennium chance that slipped away. But in the end, I just couldn't do it. Gently stroking young Leah's hair with sad eyes, she sighed. I just don't know anymore. God hasn't forgiven me. Back in reality, Yisak was left speechless by her crushing confession. I'm the reason the Joshuas are cursed. This is the heavy burden I have to carry alone. Yisak demanded the raw truth. What did you actually do? Melissa just gave a cryptic smile. Leah jumped to her defense. I'm sure she had a valid reason for sparing the Skeleton King. Rising, Melissa pulled out a mysterious box. Yisak, this is the real reason you're here today. They both gasped. Inside sat the Saintess's rosary, a legendary relic of immense power. Yisak's mind raced. Its weight hit him. This was the ultimate symbol of a Saintess, the only one in existence. He stared intensely at the artifact, a one-of-a-kind treasure representing the peak of divine authority. Meanwhile, a smug, silver-haired stranger smirked. Why on earth did she give this to me? He chuckled. I infused my power, since your spells are trash. Use this unless you want to die. Survive for me. I'll see you soon in the holy kingdom of Helen. He vanished into thin air. I'll teach you to kill the king. Yisak snapped. Beat it. Don't you dare show up again. I'm out too, Melissa stated, vanishing. Suddenly, Leah appeared right in front of the solo Yisak. Her piercing gaze sent chills down his spine. Tell me the truth. You have a monocore, don't you? That question cut through his secrets like a blade. Yisak's heart hammered against his ribs. Cold sweat drenched him. How even Melissa missed it. For a split second, he considered silence by force. Wait, am I wrong? Leah muttered. Yisak pivoted instantly, spinning a web of lies to save himself. Oh, you mean the core from the mansion? He played it cool, putting on a perfect act. Right, the core. Gripping the stone tight, he began weaving a totally fake narrative. I couldn't absorb it yet. I tried cracking the seal with a spell, but it was a total bust. Hook, line, and sinker. Leah handed over her necklace. This will shatter the seal. Yisak was floored. Clutching the coveted artifact, the boy celebrated silently. Mind blown. Not only is she magic savvy, but she can also crack the seal. Leah offered a soft smile. You're aiming to restore your lineage's techniques. Isaac stared at the pendant bewildered, while Leah pressed on with her interrogation. Once you've wiped out the Saintesses, what's the endgame? Isaac's eyes gleamed with pure greed. Becoming a filthy, rich, jobless bum. Leah erupted into giggles. Melissa Eshwa cackled along, bidding him farewell. Catch you after your internship. Stunned by her overwhelming presence, Isaac realized she was definitely no ordinary noble. The stern escort knight stood rigid by her side. Milady, it is time to depart, he urged, guiding her toward the opulent carriage while masking his anxiety. That necklace unlocks the family's forbidden arts. I am aware, Melissa snapped, cutting him off instantly. She climbed inside, ignoring his apprehension. The knight remained tense. That heirloom was a target for every heir. Melissa flashed a mysterious smirk. If he lets someone snatch it, then he's just a mid-tier talent. The knight feared Isaac taking the throne, but she casually noted it beat him joining the church. Moments earlier, Isaac had made a legendary proclamation, down with the Saintesses, I'll slay the Skeleton King. This sent Leah into hysterics. Sure, go get them, Tiger, she cheered with pure sarcasm. In reality, Isaac's eyes were literally dollar signs, as he drooled over his new loot. Suddenly the scene shifts to a gothic manor, drenched in a midnight downpour. A cheerful voice rings out. My lord young master Goel, it has been far too long. Goel Eshwa stepped inside, acknowledging the elderly servant with a frost-cold nod. Status report on Joshua. Still the same useless trash, she spat. Goel scoffed. What a collection of two-faced frauds. I might actually start liking them. Then his expression hardened, his gut told him the ceremony was cursed. A horrific vision flashed through his mind, picturing the priest who had overseen Isaac's rite. He envisioned the official's mangled corpse rotting deep within the monster-infested woods. Messy work, he hissed. They're erasing witnesses now, and the Burritt family wants to adopt the boy. Either they've lost their minds or something is very wrong. Goel ground his teeth in frustration. The anomalies were stacking up fast, but investigating further was a one-way ticket to the grave. Death waited for him.